Scheme is a game that has amassed a record 50 million players in concurrent online play, 400 million user years in total in the month since release. The dizzying success of the Scheme is due to one single reason. It is the creation of a perfect virtual reality that is addictive in its realism. Even those who turned their noses up and said it was impossible are already busy with their own world in the Scheme. The hero is also a former skeptic, but now sits in his tiny apartment and enjoys the sea breeze in Scheme. His name is Lee Kehoe. He's a Scheme player. In the game, his name is Mose. He's a slime janitor. Someone called out to our hero, dispelling his thoughts. The young man turned and answered. There were two guys standing behind him. One of them said if Mose wanted to stare into the void, he could find another place. He's interfering with work. A little confused, the young man apologized. The boy replied that they were janitors and there was no need to get in the way. When the Scheme reached unprecedented success, in-game money and items began to mean more than real-world currency. Currently, there are 3 ranks of artifacts in the Scheme: ordinary, magical, and rare. The ordinary ones are unremarkable and cost little. But magic artifacts are a different matter. They give you extra stat points. With each successive new stat point, you increase your level. Mining an artifact with a +1 is like getting a +1 to a player's level. Stat points greatly increase physical abilities in the game. A person will fight at the level of a professional boxer with +3 to strength. Therefore, magical artifacts, even with a single stat point, are valued at no less than 10 million won. What can be said about rare items is only rumours, for since the release of the game, no one has been able to find a single item. And it's not known if anything more than a rank above rare exists in the game. In other words, the magic rank is currently the most prestigious. Slimes are the simplest monsters to knock artifacts out of. Because of this, a huge number of players prey on harmless slimes in hopes of ripping off a score. They are called slime scavengers. But of course, the chance of knocking out a coveted magical artifact is extremely small. And now behind him, Mose heard the disappointed voice of one of the janitors that he had found nothing again. Our hero has been hunting slimes for 2 months, but he hasn't gotten anything magical. It's time to take stock. In the seaside town of Lindurka, there was a brisk trade. Our hero came to the market and was very upset. He was only given 20 silver coins for a bucket of slime. The fence said the slime is being actively carried, but too many people trying to sell it. Mose grimaced. Even so, the price had halved in 1 day. The merchant said that was all he could offer. The man asked if the guy would sell the slime for that money. Lee sighed, but said yes. The young man sat down on a bench and felt sad. He had hunted all day and earned 20 coins. That's 20,000 won. Also, due to the sheer number of slime hunters, there are fewer and fewer slimes. For 2 months, the guy lived in hope of knocking the magic item out of the slimes. And the bottom line is that he only made 5 gold from the sale of sundries. The young man looked at the sword, the usual weapon of a novice, and its durability was running out. The sword would break soon. I can see why Mose is so sad. 5 gold won't be enough to buy a new sword. Our hero raised his head to the sky. Tears came to his eyes. He thought, stupid game. No, it's a stupid game. It's all about luck. Mose felt resentful. He talked to himself, 2 months of trying to save for college. Seeing a happy guy and a girl nearby, he thought, if he had known it would be over, he would have given up trying to get the artifact. Maybe enjoy the game or spend more time working part-time. The young man looked up at the evening sky. Sighing, he said it was time to call it a day. But first, the inventory! He pulled out a clipboard and started looking for something. Mose looked at the 5 gold pieces in his hand. 2 months of hellish labour and about 500,000 won in the end. It was a shame for our hero to just trade his earnings for real money. The guy wondered, still quitting the game. Should he do something special before he left? The young man's thoughts were interrupted by a noise nearby. He looked around. There was a crowd of people gathered around one guy holding some kind of ticket, and everyone was yelling for him to open the artifact. The player was visibly tense. People were yelling that it was his 8th. He was whispering and begging for luck. And then instead of a box, he had a fish with a human face in his hand. Creepy face, not fit to eat. The crowd laughed. There were shouts from all sides. What is this? What nonsense? The young man cried with resentment. Our hero, watching what was going on, thought it looked like some kind of lottery. One person in the crowd said that if the guy had played a couple more times, he probably would have pulled something out, but he gave up. The man with the tickets and boxes said to the crowd, "Are there any more people interested? For 5 gold pieces, you can win a real treasure here." Mose thought 5 gold pieces for 1 try is a real cheat. Lottery dealer saw the guy's hesitation and called out to him. He said he could see he was anxious to try it. Our hero was silent, not thinking he was being asked, but the man pointed his finger at him and asked, "Will he try his luck?" Mose was frightened, waved his hands in denial, mumbled that he was just looking. The merchant said there's no need to be afraid. Our hero's special, he can feel it. The man said he saw in him the source of good fortune, the kind of man he'd been waiting for a long time. These words seemed to hypnotize our hero. A man standing nearby told Mose that the cunning peddler had already said that to others. Our young man thought, whatever, and told him to get a ticket. A second later, the man thanked him for the purchase. Back home, our hero was looking out the window and thinking about everything that was going on. After buying a ticket and pulling out the coveted box, he barely managed to get out of the crowd. He didn't open it right away. The gawkers shouted that he had garbage in there. The guy was thinking about the fact that he blew the rest of his money on this thing. He was both sad and happy that the end was near. The player thought that looking back he had nothing to remember. All he did was decided he'd check the contents of the lottery box and get out of the game. To Moses' surprise, his roll when he started to open it flew from his hand and glowed with a pink glow. When the scheme reached unprecedented success, in-game money and items began to mean more than real-world currency. Mystic artifacts are the most prestigious nowadays. Even items with a single stat point are valued at 10 million won. The young man was now very much surprised by the glow of the convolution. It had never happened before. The shell of the box cracked and the whole room lit up with a bright, blinding glow that burst out even from the window outside. The guy fell to the floor in surprise. An energy ball glowed above his head. A pendant appeared from the glowing ball. He took it in his hands. It was a rare Star of Florin pendant. Mose was surprised that he had gotten a rare artifact. Read the characteristics. Strength 7, Health 4, Agility 4, Intelligence 3, Health Regeneration. The Scheme TV news program started on TV. Ji-hyun, the second streamer of the Republic of Korea, was on the line. The topic of the day in the news was novelties among the artifacts in the game. The screen was showing an artifact that had recently been purchased. It was the largest sum in the history of the auction. The lot features Einas's ring that went under the hammer for 72 million won. The ring is said to have fallen from the boss of the northern region. Particularly notable is its health regeneration effect. Hilka is considered the rarest ability. This artifact has a 4th class of value, the highest today. The Ring of Einas surpassed even the Ring of Speed, and has become the most valuable artifact so far. Ordinary people watching the news marvelled. Restored health, +4 how's this, so much money and new car costs. The girl continued to narrate, moving on to the second item with top effect. It was a Cavalcade Langaroos necklace with 3 strength, bought for 39 million won, confirmed the popularity of its effect. Our hero looked at the artifacts and thought it was a piece of junk. He always thought that the world of such prices was far from him. Or was until last night when he won the Star of Florence lottery. Rare artifacts in other games are considered kind of trash because there are cooler items. But in the recent scheme, the opposite is true. The most valuable items in auctions are still magical. After picking up the necklace, our hero thought that it could be the first rare artifact in the game. At that moment he laughed like a child, clutching his treasure tightly in his hand, shouting that he had hit the jackpot. Cradling the artifact in his hands, the boy said, "Oh man," and tears of joy came to his eyes. Kneeling down, Mose bowed his head and thanked the star for coming to him. It was only now that our hero wondered how much his find might be worth. The value of the effects is much higher than magic artifacts. The popular health regeneration effect is 17 and 7 units per second. The price will definitely be over 100 million won, or even 10 or even 20 billion won. Now our hero won't have to worry about paying for college. He can buy not only a nice apartment, but maybe a car. Mose decided to go to the auction page and check out the speculation. But before selling his artifact, our hero wanted to test it. It has been said that even a trio of extra strength stat points makes the wielder a perfect level player. Our hero couldn't even deal damage to a normal slime. Thanks to the artifact, he could become a high-level player. Now Mose was wondering if he could play like the leaders. Thinking about everything the guy has been through in his shoes, someone else would definitely sell the suspension. Can't he enjoy himself for the first time in 2 months? Of course he can. He'll always have time to auction it off. Looking at his character's character set, Lee thought what a shameful build. Putting the necklace around his neck, Mose felt a strong energy sweep over him. The guy collapsed on the bed, thinking, so this is the pain of an 18-level upgrade. Why fake pain so believably? It's just a game. He realized that when he had to remove the suspension, it wouldn't be any easier. When the upgrade was complete, the young man was easily able to bend the coin with 2 fingers. He couldn't believe he could really do that now. That's why everyone's so crazy about artifacts. Getting out of bed, the young man thought he should test the artifact in action. From the center of the continent, you can easily reach any region. Finding allies to play with is easy. There are plenty of players here. It's in the center that the most popular town for players is located. It's called Asparagan. Upon reaching the center, the young man was surprised by the passers-by. As expected, everyone here was rich. Mose was confused as to whether he thought he had come here. Besides the star, all he has with him is an old sword. Finding a team with that kind of equipment won't be easy. Approaching the bulletin board, our hero began to look for solo quests. Behind him, someone called out to him, "Hey swordsman." When the guy turned around, he saw a red-haired girl. She was smiling at him. The stranger turned to Mose, saying if she wasn't mistaken, he needed a team. The young man was confused. He looked around and mumbled that he was. The girl grabbed him by the arms and said she had a place in her squad, asked him if he wanted to join. There were a couple of knights standing under the castle walls. They were obviously waiting for someone. One of them said, "Where did Sharon go if they miss a single raid?" The other suggested waiting a little longer. "Sharon knows what he's saying." Just then, they heard a familiar voice. The girl called out to the eldest knight, "Uncle." The second one saw her and said she was here. Satisfied, the girl said she promised to find someone, said to say hello to their hero. Uncle looked at his new comrade. His rookie sword gear was about to break. Our hero scratched the back of his head and said it was nice to meet you. The older comrade walked over and whispered to Sharon that he understood they were in a hurry, but she had brought a complete nub. Mose was getting to know his second mate Gale. Sharon said looks can be deceiving. He's the strongest player in the square. The girl explained that he looks like a green rookie. The gear leaves a lot to be desired. But the kid was clearly superior in strength to his surroundings. Sharon has a level 2 keen eye, which allows her to determine the level of ability. Someone called out to the group, saying it looked like they were ready. The uncle replied to Mr. Sior Silborn that their quartet was assembled. When our hero heard the name Silborn, he was surprised. He knew that he was the head of the Silver Guild and a famous mage. They say he has as many as 5 magical artifacts. Silborn was a blonde guy with glasses. He said everything was fine and it was time to move out. Lee couldn't believe he was going to be side by side with him. Silborn called attention to himself and thanked the gathering for choosing to join the guild-led troll hunt. Our hero opened his mouth to listen to the magician. He couldn't believe that all this was happening to him. Troll is one of the low-level monsters, but it has an aggressive character and a high regeneration ability. A creature with terrifying strength, capable of crushing a boulder with one hand. Such an opponent cannot be underestimated. Mose was afraid to see if he could do it. Gale said that the beasts were very vicious, and that it was better not to be seen by them. They would chase him until they were destroyed. Gale added that they move in groups. In short, trolls are a pain in the arse. Uncle told me that fire and spells terrify them, and they run slow. If a guy's hunted before, he'll find this kind of prey easy. Uncle explained that the main thing is that they can make money from it. Mose asked if they would make money. Sharon explained, anything you can get from a troll is quite expensive. For example, monster blood is used to make the highest grade potions. There is a demand for troll skin and bones. These parts are used to make cool gear, so it's usually the big guilds themselves that hunt these critters. Uncle said they were lucky to be on this hunt at all. Sharon confirmed that the rumours were true. The Silver Guild is really recruiting new members. That's why everyone is so tense. Gale replied that a few drops of troll blood would be enough. At least he could pay his tuition. Mose asked Gale if he was also a student. He answered in the affirmative. He said that he earned his tuition by playing. Our hero confessed that he also came here because of his studies, to make money. The new comrade summarized it as brothers in misfortune. Then they'll farm together. Sharon was sad. She said she wanted to go back to university. Uncle asked if she was having trouble at work again. She confirmed it. The conversations of everyone present were interrupted by someone asking the players to pay attention. The bald man in the green cloak asked everyone to come closer. Now the plan will be explained. Silburn, the head of the Silver Guild, told everyone to unfold their cards. He explained that for the past few days, members of the Silver Guild had risked their lives to set troll traps in several locations. The plan was to first lure the troll into the traps set in its path. When he gets to the last one, they all attack him together. Mission accomplished. Humans move faster than a troll, so they can catch one of them quickly and without risk. The crowd murmured. The famous guild had it all figured out as expected. Our hero hesitated. He wanted to savour his new abilities, but from the looks of it, he wouldn't have to fight one-on-one with anyone. Gale asked his companion if it was fair. The uncle replied that they could not change anything. Gale showed Mose that there were no Silver Guild members on the troll luring team. Uncle suggested they'd probably attack in the vanguard. They're probably trying to score points. They get more points for destroying them. Sharon was grateful that their group had been called. Maybe they'd find something magical. Our hero's a little confused, so being on the team doesn't mean you're going to fight everyone. Awards are automatically distributed based on the number of participation points. Silborn encouraged the participants to work hard. There were 3 guys walking in the 3rd trap area. One of them clarified their task was simply to find the troll. The second, checking the map, replied that as soon as they meet him, they must trap him. The first one smiled and said the silver ones were going to fight him. Buzzkill. He looked around and said to his companion that if they were accepted into the guild, they would probably only go hunting. The friend replied that it would be easy. Hearing strange noises from behind, both companions turned around to tell the third to watch their step. But he had already been captured and destroyed by a troll, and there was this monster with his comrades. The hunters were stunned with horror. They could only wonder how many of them there were. The trolls headed for the hunters. They screamed and started to run away. The first one was running and wailing about how they hoped they could do it easily. The second was yelling at him to get down and run faster. The trolls were chasing the hunters. One asked where the first trap was. The other said it was up ahead between the trees. The boys saw Silborn ahead between the trees with other members of the Silver Guild. The mage was calling them to hurry there. The young men ran with all their legs and screamed when they saw that they had finally found the trap. The first one did not reach the appointed place and drew his sword and wanted to show his skills on the trolls. But a second later he slipped and fell into something. Trying to move, it was viscous oil that immobilizes anyone. When he started to lament that it was him and not his comrade who had gotten here, he saw that the other had already been caught and destroyed by the trolls. The young man panicked and started calling for help, asking the guild members to get him out. But he saw that the guild members were only laughing at him. The young man couldn't believe it. In the next instant, Silborn used his staff to release a sort of fireball. On contact with the oil, there was an explosion. Taking off his glasses and smiling, Silborn told his guild members that he had promised them a quick and safe hunt, asked who was next. The boss of the next location was the troll Black Mountain. This was where Mose had gotten to. Our quartet walked at a leisurely pace. The comrades were talking. Uncle claimed he could handle the troll alone. Tapping his fist on his shield, the man spoke of the troll's attack power. He couldn't hurt him. Sharon laughed. She replied that then when they meet a monster, Uncle fights and they run away. Gale added that they would then tell everyone that the man had died a brave death. The friend started cursing that his comrades were already burying him. Gale made excuses that it was all Sharon's fault. A troll was already watching them from the cliff. He stepped on a branch that crunched under his foot. Mose heard the sound and turned in his direction. There was no one above the cliff. Sharon, noticing the young man's wariness, asked what was wrong. Our hero looked at the girl and pointed his finger at the cliff and said there was someone there. The very next second, a huge troll was flying at our group from the cliff. Uncle protected his comrades, who were stunned by the surprise, with his shield. From the huge monster's next blow, the knight flew aside. Our hero continued to stand still and stare at the monster. He whispered as if mesmerized that it was a troll. Mose was shocked that this is what it looked like. That's not what they've been told, and he's the one to beat. Everything went cold inside the boy. He felt the troll's bloodlust. He thought he was going to die. But then Sharon arrived. She fired several arrows at the monster. The next moment Uncle was on the attack. The girl only had time to call out to him. The man used a shield strike, hitting any target and pushing it back. The monster flew, but he didn't fall. He managed to hang on to the tree trunks. That made him even angrier. The knight was surprised that his attack didn't cause the beast much discomfort. Sharon asked if Uncle was okay. The man was surprised that the Dalmag was 0, even though the blow was full force. The girl said her arrows were useless too, asked what they should do. Our hero suggested he could lure the beast into a trap. Given the troll's slowness, they said it was easy. Gale explained, "This troll seems to be unusual. Judging by its size and appearance, it looks more like a quest boss." It's definitely true. Besides, he came to them alone. Trolls usually travel in groups of 4. Mose confusedly asked his comrade if they could destroy it themselves. Uncle asked Gale what he thought. The young man replied that even if he debuffed his regeneration, his strength and defense were still high. The knight stated there was only one thing left for them to do then. They must hold off the troll until the Silver Guild arrives. The beast was on the attack. The comrades managed to dodge the massive blows. Sharon shot at the troll with his bow, but that only made him angrier. Uncle commanded Sharon to fall back and Mose to distract the beast from his back. Our hero held his sword with shaky hands and obeyed his older comrade. The frightened guy looked at what was happening and wondered, what was he even doing here? These three have been playing together for a long time and work cohesively as a team. These are the kind of people who truly enjoy the scheme. He's just an idiot who's been living in hope of making a fortune and destroying slimes day in and day out for 2 months. But he really wanted to get into a real adventure right like this. The boy's thoughts were interrupted by his comrades, who called out to Mose to dodge the troll's attack. The young man thought he was finished, but Uncle jumped in front of him and fought off the monster's attack. The man shouted angrily for Mose to get ready and was already starting to move. Our hero panicked, wondering if someone like him could change if he started a little later than the others. Gritting his teeth, the young man told himself mentally that he had had enough. He would do it now, and he swung his sword into the air. But the guy's old sword broke in half, hitting the troll's arm. The monster's arm swung and our hero flew off and hit the ground. His health was less than 20%. His leather gauntlets were broken. Sharon shouted that a troll was coming and commanded them to move away. Gale barely had time to dodge the monster's direct hit and flew off to the side. The girl said that this troll could take any of them out in one hit. Sharon commanded the group to move away so the troll wouldn't get so aggro. Seeing that the knight was heading to attack, she asked if Uncle had heard her and drew the bowstring. The monster ripped the tree from its roots and threw it at the man. He barely had time to cover himself with his shield. Uncle shouted and jammed the sharp corner of his shield into the troll's leg. The beast howled. Our hero lay unconscious for some time. When he woke up, he was surprised that he was still alive. He had a headache. The medallion glowed and all its functions were restored. He marveled. This was the regeneration effect everyone dreamed of. Mose woke up from his senses when he heard Uncle being called out. He saw the man struggling to hold back with his shield the tree the troll had thrown at him. Sharon at that moment released her arrow, aiming straight at the monster's head. The arrow hit the troll in the left eye. He howled in pain. Uncle could not run away at that moment as he was already knee-deep in the ground. Continuing to hold the shield above him, the man thought this was how it would end for him. But the next moment our hero accelerated and with all his might hit the side of the monster to knock it down. Mose's plan worked. The huge troll tumbled to the ground. Gale, helping his uncle out, asked what that was now. A deflection throw. Mose was confused. He didn't think such a huge thing could be knocked over like that. Our hero asked if Gale was okay. He said he was fine, but here's Uncle. The necklace glowed again. Gale saw the rays of light touch Uncle. He wondered if it was a cure. Only now did Mose realize what the point of restoring the health of his teammates meant. A couple seconds later, the man woke up. The life scale was full. He was surprised at how quickly he healed. Sharon. When she heard Mose say the phrase, she wondered what he was talking about. Uncle wondered. This guy didn't look like a mere rookie at all. But a second later, a troll's growl sounded behind our hero. Sharon shouted that the monster was already getting up. This time she was going for the back of the head. Uncle shouted to Mose that this fight would be finished by him and threw his sword to the guy. Obtaining a two-handed steel sword, the young man rushed to attack the troll. Our hero accelerated and sprinted at the monster. The sword in his hand shone. Meanwhile, Silborn was looking at his inventory. He said it was nice to see that there wasn't a single empty slot. If it continues like this, they can probably make more than 100 million won in just 10 minutes. According to the rules, a minimum of 120 people must hunt a troll. There are 40 players in the Silver Guild. 80 others were to be outsourced, but Silborn had figured out a way to capitalize on that. He took some strong players for plausibility. The system of auto-distribution of awards is based on the contribution of the participants. Quest rewards will be distributed according to the difficulty of the task completed by the player. Silborn planned to get the highest participation rate by eliminating all the trolls. Deception could lead to rumours. He'll go into the shadows for a while if his reputation suffers. Then he'll be a little altruistic like the past never happened. That's genius. But then, to the surprise of the Silver Guild, the system wrote that the quest to hunt the troll had been successfully completed. The goal was to destroy the troll Black Mountain. Silborn, reading the system's message, didn't understand what was going on. The game has announced that it is launching an auto-distribution system. Group number 13 with the highest percentage of participation. Swordsman gets the title of MVP, a special title with one left. The player with the highest contribution to the team's healing. Mose, player with the highest damage. Mose. Silborn was angry at how such a thing was possible. Why not him? What's going on? He has no mana, no health. He was trying to get to that number 13 team that took away the quest victory. But his group was attacked by the Dark Guild. It had Silborn stumped. He didn't understand what they wanted. The attackers responded and Silborn doesn't know. The head of the troll hunting party can't escape anyway, so it's better to surrender. After completing the quest, our hero entered one of the shops in the square of Aspargan. When asked by the owner what the guy wanted, Mose put the bracelet on the counter and said he wanted to put the item up for auction. A few hours earlier, our hero and his companions had looked at the glowing orb that had appeared after the troll had been destroyed. Sharon said it was the right core. Uncle pointed out it's probably different than usual because it was the boss. A core is an item you can get after killing a monster. It's kind of like a treasure chest. The type of core depends on the monster. The stronger the monster, the bigger it is, and the higher the chance of getting a good drop. Those are the rules of the scheme, and our hero never thought he'd see a core this big. Sharon called out to Mose, who was staring at the core in fascination. She said he should open the core. The kid was embarrassed, but the comrades cheered him up, said he had the highest participation rate, and they asked him to open sooner. Our hero walked over to the balloon and took hold of the core. The group waited impatiently. The balloon began to emit a bright light. List of items obtained, 3 each of Black Mountain bones and Black Mountain skins. Round steel shield, steel longsword, Argon's mountain boots. While the young man read the list with his mouth open, his companions danced with happiness. They had not expected to receive such a bounty. Mose wept. All those days of slime hunting pale in comparison, and now Mose was filling out a card to auction, the Aragon Mountain Ring of Power. He wondered if the price was normal for a starting bid. In real money, it's 8 million won. It's hard to navigate. The prices are getting lower lately. Tired of thinking about it, the guy made up his mind and pressed the button to put it up for bid. Thought he'd just make it to the top. After a while he thought 80 gold pieces was not a small price to pay. Maybe the price should have been higher. Mose reassured himself that he wouldn't be accused of greed. The ring adds a +1 to the damage, so it's okay, he's good. After all that had happened, our hero was very tired and collapsed on the bed exhaling. Just think about it. How many things happened today? He destroyed the troll himself in his first group quest. Got some good loot. He also made his first friends in the game. If he hadn't won the Star of Floren in that raffle. Back in real life, Lee looked up the time, realised he'd been playing around. His phone rang, a text came in. It was his mum texting him to eat well and put some money on his card just in case. The guy smiled warmly at the message. He replied that he would have a paycheck from his part-time job tomorrow, so it wasn't worth it. But then one by one the messages about the charge for the phone transportation card sprinkled in. The young man was annoyed that he'd been ripped off, not even allowed to enjoy the moment. And then there was another alert. Our hero couldn't believe his eyes. A message from the auction. His lot was bought for 38,650,501. Likaho was surprised and then laughed. At that moment he realized that his future would be connected to the scheme. The young man visited the scheme's official office in the Republic of Korea to collect the money for the ring. Now Lee began to prepare for matters more serious. For starters, he took a semester off from college. In addition to the other things he had planned, he bought powder from a specialty store for scheme players. Powder is a nutritional supplement for the recovery and maintenance of nutrients in players. It is necessary if you play for a long time without a break. When the player eats in the scheme, he gets this supplement through VR glasses. All the necessary micronutrients enter the bloodstream through the facial skin. A boon for gamers, no need to be distracted from the game to cook. Though of course it's better to go offline and eat normally. With such thoughts, our hero took out his phone and read the messages from the scheme. The news was surprising. Dark Horse Mose enters the top of players. Silburn's body found. Silborn's respawn is Charlie and Castle in a week. It's amazing that Arthur's Trinity Guild is looking for Mose. They're offering 500 gold pieces for any information about him. Likaho dreamed that the representatives of the various guilds would now fight for the right to join him. The next idea was that everyone would seek to fight him in the PvP queue. The third guess was that now they would want to destroy him as a strong rival. Tired of his own thoughts, the guy hurried home to go to the game and finally find out what's wrong. Putting on his glasses, he thought that if nothing changed, his freedom and future in the game would go down the drain. Our hero decided it was time for him to get out of Aspargan, so he launched the game. Looking at the city from the high ground, Mose thought this was his chance in a million and he couldn't miss it. The young man decided he needed to get away from everyone and headed in the opposite direction of Aspargan. The boy went into the forge where he picked up equipment made from the hide of the troll Black Mountain. Mose was pleased with his new outfit. The blacksmith laughed that it was the first time in 20 years he'd had such a job. Our hero thought such equipment would be perfect for a wanderer like him. The boy bowed and thanked the master for the beautifully crafted armor. Satisfied with his decision, Mose realized it was time to start a new life, so he set off. After wandering around all day, the young man realized that he must be really lost. He collapsed to the ground in exhaustion. But then he noticed that there was something hissing in the trail left on the ground, as if blowing from under the ground. Our hero gently pressed the spot and light flashed around the perimeter of the crack. The ground shook beneath my feet. The ground shook beneath my feet, and the air began to be drawn into the nearby cave as if it were a powerful vacuum cleaner. A system message appeared in front of the young man. He was the first to open the Blackroot dungeon. Mose followed into the cave. It was very dark in there, and the boy took advantage of the shining glitter stone. The deeper into the cave he went, the darker and scarier it became. Hidden inside the cave was a tombstone. The inscription read, "Mortuary bones and skull. The depths of hatred for the one who imprisoned us cannot be conveyed." Dark forces ambushed their troops. The smell of rotting blood filled the air. Caught off guard, they bid farewell to their lives and found themselves bound by a dark curse. Finishing the words, "And find them no rest worthy of destruction," our hero did not yet suspect that behind him the skeletons of warriors stirred. The young man looked around and saw an army of walking skeletons coming at him. Our hero smirked. He knew there was going to be trouble, but he hadn't expected so many of them. Mose pulled his new sword from its sheath and began to crumble his attackers at him. Soon the player began to get tired. He wasn't of the fighting class and didn't know how to use a sword. There was no end to the attackers. Our hero cheered himself up, saying that he's able to resist such a crowd of skeletons. A moment later, the skeletons jumped on the guy and piled up so that he couldn't crawl out from under them. At this moment, the power of the armor and the energy of the artifact gave out an energy surge that destroyed all the enemies. Using the power was like a supernova flash. It would have been impossible to do such a thing without the support of the staff. Standing victorious on the pile of bones, Mose understood. This is what the union of a rare artifact with magical armor and weapons means. But then he heard a growl and saw more skeletons with weapons advancing on him from the darkness. The young man went on the attack, shouting that that it was time to end the battle, and killed another batch of walking skeletons. Staring into the darkness, the guy asked, "So that's it?" And then there were 2 system messages that he had a new level. The young man was overjoyed. He had only chopped skeletons, and he was already above the 10th level. That's cool. His joy did not last long. He heard a growl from deep inside the cave. Mose went on to see what it was. He called out if there was anyone else here. He thought the sound was coming from there and squeezed through the narrow passage. It smelled awful in there. As he moved on, he saw the remains of the travellers. Then a staircase appeared in front of him, going upward. The boy was surprised by the find, so he decided to go up the stairs. It wasn't so dark here anymore. The stairs led our hero to another slab. The young man came closer to read the inscription. Someone wrote that he hates them, hates the Imperial Army. They burned down a village using their own fuel, ruthlessly wiped out an entire family. Scoundrels hiding their faces. They attacked quietly like ghosts, cowardly deserters who disobeyed the Emperor's orders. They ravaged the houses with a smirk, so Morgatul, the shaman of that village, cursed them. They will never leave this place. They will wander here in agony forever, even when all that's left of them are bones. Mose thought these writings were significantly different from the previous ones. The Imperial Army looted the village, wiped out the villagers and burned everything, filthy bastards. At that moment, the young man heard eerie sounds behind him. A sign with a task appeared in front of him. This is a quest battle. You must destroy the leader of the deserters cursed by Morgatul. To activate it, you must speak the curse words. As soon as our hero uttered the words, Morgatul, skull bones, the wind blew again, and bones from all over the cave began to gather together. A huge monster grew in front of the young man. He shouted for all to burn with the flames of hell. He asked how he had dared to defile him with his pathetic words. The bewildered Mose stood at the monster's feet and opened his mouth in surprise and fear, feeling like a grain of sand compared to him. Our hero was dumbfounded. He felt his whole body trembling. The fear was so strong. The monster asked. He was the one who freed him by uttering the curse words. Our hero pulled himself together and said that the monster would be responsible for the deaths of innocents and the destruction of the village. Fury lit the monster's eyes with red fire. He threw Mose aside with a single blow. The head of the deserters said he dares to be judged by an arrogant, foolish man. Then he can't live. Monsters are divided into location bosses and regular monsters. Each location boss has a unique name. They are stronger than normal mobs. Even knowing this, Mose had no idea that battles with the first would be so difficult. The guy knew it wasn't going to be an easy fight this time. It's a good thing he can heal while he's hanging in there. His whole body aches and pains, but regeneration is almost instantaneous, thanks to the effects of Florin's star and his new armor. Seeing the recovered young man, the monster rushed to attack with a shout. What kind of dark magic is he using? The young man realized he had to react with lightning speed, faster before the monster caught up with him, and immediately followed by a counter-attack. The huge monster flew away from our hero's blow. Mose exhaled. He'd done it. The strength, health, and agility granted by the equipment allowed him to move as he wished. Thanks to such a set of effects, our hero can fight back even a boss. The young man smiled. This was what it meant to have a good staff in scheme. With a set of armor like that, he could win. Rising up, the monster said that even though his body was cursed, he would not fall at the hands of the newcomer. Destroy him and free himself from the curse. A confident Mose rushed to the attack, shouting that the skull could talk all it wanted. The monster replied that he would show the crazy bug what the class difference meant, and a dark energy began to rise around him. The monster managed to break the restraining seal. Giratin's level increased to 35. The monster drew his infernal sword and attacked, wounding our hero by piercing his armor. Mose was knocked to the floor of the cave. He was wounded, but still alive. Giratin said he couldn't cut the guy in half with one blow because of his magic, but now he's going to end his life. Mose squinted in pain. He thought he would have died 20 times over if he hadn't been wearing that armor. Rising to his feet, the guy thought that now he was not the same as before. He's got 300 units of health. He could regenerate over 100 units in a couple seconds. As long as he is not killed, he will always have a few seconds to fully regenerate his health. It was hard to imagine that the lottery pendant would play such a big role in his future. The monster was surprised that the guy was able to take a blow from his sword. He replied that he had taken his chance and was back in action. Mose said he would destroy the monster to avenge all the dead villagers. Shouting that Mose was an impertinent little brat, Giratin swung his sword again. Our hero fought off the attack and held off the onslaught with his sword, and noted the monster's incredible strength. The boy had clearly decided for himself. He would wait for the moment when the enemy would open up. With a moment to spare, Mose was able to wound his foe. Now he had to keep his momentum going and land a few blows. When once again Giratin brought his arm to swing for our hero's attack, he cut it off and the sword of the enemy fell to the floor. A few more attacks from our hero and the huge monster lay on the ground. Mose's sword was at its head. The guy exhaled, saying that was it. He took a breath, holding the monster at gunpoint. Giratin asked who he was, the one whom Bellica had blessed, the heir of Bernardor who had opened the chest of the dead. How the guy was able to overpower his former knight and golden predator of the great Imperial army. Mose replied unhappily to the Great One. He can hear himself. Giratin is a pathetic murderer, defaming the Empire. Giratin replied that the guy had no idea what it meant to be a warrior. Our hero replied that attacking a peaceful village where every living thing was slaughtered was in his opinion the act of a warrior. The monster said they had no choice. The war was in full swing, their army was out of supplies. There was nothing to eat. The soldiers were forced to ask for help from the villagers they were defending, but the people persisted in seeing them only as enemies and even decided to attack them. Not a bit of gratitude for the warriors' efforts to protect them. Those little bugs had no honour in trying to fight the Imperial army after all they'd done for them. Our hero summarised Giratin's words. It turns out just because of this they destroyed the entire village. The monster replied that not a single worm survived. Without Morital's curse on him, it would have been a good memory. Mose answered the monster's question of whether the guy knows what it is to be a warrior. He knows a lot more about it than someone like Giratin. Waving, the young man said he had served for 2 years. They bowed in the face of the nation and the people. They are the army of the Republic of Korea, and struck the decisive blow. The huge monster of the cave was finished. When Mose had recovered from the shock, he scratched the back of his head and thought, what a stupid thing he'd said about the soldier's oath. He was out of his mind. And then the system messages started coming in. Mose had risen 6 levels. The boy smiled, all thanks to Giratin. In addition, there is a new achievement. All stats poll 2 units. Behind his back, our hero heard some kind of crackling. He tiredly asked what else could be there. The young man saw a cannonball. It was red in colour. It was clearly different from anything he'd seen before. As soon as Mose touched the orb, it cracked and the entire cave lit up with a blinding light. Piles of artifacts, treasures and items appeared in front of our hero. He was surprised that it was all for him. The guy's eyes lit up. He thought he had to put the inventory away quickly, so he started packing it all up. Only now did he notice the sword Giratin held in his hand nearby. The boy came closer. It was Sharma's engraved sword. Unique. When used, it appears near the player and disappears when deactivated. Seeing the word unique, the guy became numb. Previously, the highest known rank was rare, but there is something higher than that. The young man thought that if the sword of Sharma was unique, then even in the future there would be nothing like it. Mose was the first in the game to get a rare artifact, but it had to be unique. In the next instant, the sword began to dissolve before his eyes. Our hero didn't realize where he was going. A cloud of dark dust left from the sword floated into Moses' hands and dissolved completely. A message appeared that the skill of summoning an engraved sword had been learned. Mose studied his first skill. Our hero can summon the sword or command it to disappear by speaking its name. It takes 1.5 seconds to recharge. The young man coughed, said it was time to put him to the test. Mose held out his hand and shouted the name of Sharm. Incredibly, the call of the sword worked. The coveted blade appeared before him. Our hero was as happy as a child. He took the weapon in his hands and began to admire it. After swinging it a few times, I noticed that it fits comfortably in my hand, and the weight is just perfect. Giratin wasn't exactly eager to share such a sword. Mose couldn't wait to try it in a real battle. During his manipulations with the sword, our hero felt that he stepped on something. It turned out to be the seal of the defeated knight of Giratin, a unique ring, one time used to start a hidden quest. Gathering all the items he had gotten after the battle, Mose pondered the hidden one. Whatever he meant, he wanted to get to it quickly. After collecting the loot, he wondered how much he could sell it for. It would probably be about 500 gold if he didn't go too cheap. The sun's rays penetrated the cave. The young man realized it was getting light. We should take the loot to the nearest village. Nearby was the art city of Toiko. Our hero thought that with this money he could forget about poverty for a while. Mose caused a stir in town. People couldn't believe all these artifacts were being auctioned off. The price of the posted items rose very quickly. Even more surprising was the fact that all the artifacts were put up by one player. When they read the name of Moses' salesman on the item cards, they all remembered that he was the guy who had been with Silborn during the troll hunt. Upon arriving at the branch of the Orantus Central Trading Committee in Toiko, the young man was surprised at the proceeds of the auction. He was informed that he had earned 8,726 gold pieces. When Mose heard the amount, he asked again. He sat down on the floor in shock. He thought he should be happy, but he still couldn't believe the reality of what was happening. In the dungeon, he earned 80 million won. On the table, in addition to gold bars, the guy saw silver coins and asked the bank employee what they were. The goblin clarified the young man is not aware of it. In front of him is an Ormakon token. One such token is equivalent to 1,000 gold pieces. Our hero took in his hand and marvelled at the currency with a magical rank. It displayed an Ormakon, a dragon with a golden skin. A bank employee warned the guy that he had to be careful for a while. Now everyone's going to want to know who Mose is. A dark guild has formed in the game. Members rob and destroy both players and non-players, game characters controlled by algorithms. Our hero was thinking hard. It seemed that he really should be very careful. There was talk on the streets about how much money Mose got from the auction. Moving through the streets in a black cloak, the young man heard the words that he was envied with black envy and would be robbed if he met him. This was more serious than he realized. Time to lay low. But the stealth effect of this hood would soon wear off. We need something better. When Mose came to the forge, he said he needed a strong armor that would completely hide his face and body. The craftsman said it would cost a lot of money. The guy said to just let the blacksmith show him what's available. He didn't care about the price. The master chuckled. He's loaded. The man laid out on the table the gleaming armor of a knight that covers a man from head to toe. Examining the offered goods, the young man thought that it was unlikely that he would be recognized if he equipped himself in this. The blacksmith was proud to say that this armor was a work of art. He made them in a competition. Mose asked about the price. The foreman asked for 200 gold pieces, said he knew it was expensive, but this set is his best work. He won that contest with it. Our hero, to the smith's surprise, put coins on the counter and said he was taking the armor, the whole set. An elven woman was walking through the city at night and looking around. A guy appeared in front of her and asked again on Kia's mission. She recognized Veyron. The girl confirmed that he had guessed. The boy said he could help her if she wanted. Walking by, Kia replied that he would be a liability. This mission took months of preparation. The offended young man threw after her that she wasn't so easy for a homeless mutt. The girl turned around and put her blade to her assailant's throat. He grinned, noting that she was as fast as ever. Veyron asked me to take it easy, or she wants to cut a co-worker in the line of duty. Kia warned him to think before he opened his mouth next time. Moving away from Veyron, the girl added to watch his sword and his words. The Elfess used a magic stone to open a portal and travel to Astani. Veyron grinned at him. He said again, "What a cheeky little mongrel." Left alone, the boy opened the package. He wondered where it could have been hidden so well. Veyron looked at the picture in the scroll and wondered where she was Star of Florin. The next day, our hero rode down a forest road on a wagon. The master said the knight was his saviour. Mose asked the man not to thank him. After all, he agreed to give our hero a ride, so they're even. The man remembered again that the monster had almost eaten him, and he was really grateful to the young man for saving him. They were talking about how Mose is a young man, a student, decided to earn his tuition, and now it's like this. The man suggested that the parents were proud of their son. The young man asked to drop the question and tell how he got into the game. The travel companion was fired from his job. Then he opened his own restaurant and failed. He decided that the scheme was a good way to make money. The wagoner master asked if the young man was going to a particular place. Mose said he would plan on getting to Silver Valley. The man said to let him know what he decides. He'd take the kid to the ends of the earth. Mose said he didn't want to impose. The travelling companion smiled, asked the young man to be calm. He was like a bodyguard to him. The comrades said goodbye at the city gates, having previously arranged to meet at the fountain in the centre of Silver Valley. The system said Mose needed to fix his armour. He decided he'd do it then and there. While the blacksmith was repairing the armour, our hero kept thinking that it was cool to get the seal of Giratin. I get the hidden quest, but what are the conditions? I wish they'd give me some kind of clue. He kept thinking about it. It seemed like a dead end. After taking a breath, he decided that first he had to meet his uncle the carrier. The young man received and put on the upgraded armour, decided to plan the next step later. Walking down the street towards the square, our hero wondered why there were so many people here. Mose saw his travelling companion being kicked by a man. Swears he warned him. He doesn't like being late. They're the Valley clan. The gathered people sympathised with the delivery man. They condemned the clan heir's behaviour. They said it was a violation of public order. The heir, however, was furious. He grabbed the defenceless man by the pecs and swung to strike him, threatening. At this moment, our hero intercepted the fist of the furious Valley clan heir. Holding the hand of his companion, the young man explained that sometimes things happen on the road. People are late. Does he think it's right to beat them for that? Pulled his arm back, the man insulted Mose, yelled if the guy knew who he was. With a snide look, the insolent heir declared that everyone in the valley must obey him. If he was in a bad mood, he would use force. Our hero clarified whether such a small thing was enough for him to hit a man. The enraged heir swung his fist and wanted to hit Mose, but he dodged the attack. Saying it was self-defense, our hero hit the guy back. He flew a few meters away and hit the wall. Mose then approached his acquaintance and inquired how he was. The uncle recognized his protector. An even greater commotion rose up around. They shouted that he was crazy for hitting the heir of the Valley clan. Another character appeared in the square. He shouted that he was the great Morik of the valley. How dare Mose hit his son? Turning to his knight, Morik ordered revenge for his son. Knight Python drew his sword and came at our young man. He swore he would take him down, and he attacked. At that moment, Mose uttered a shama and deflected the blow with his engraved sword. The confrontation ended with Python flying off and right into his young master. Great Morik shouted for Python to get up immediately. It was unacceptable for him to think he was a knight of the Lord. At that moment, our young man pointed his sword at Morik and said he would be next. The townspeople, looking at what was happening, suggested that the man in armour might be from the Order of the 14 Knights. Mose didn't know what he was talking about, but the people around him were already happy that they had come to help. The townspeople complained. Morik took away half of their income and called it taxes. He executed people who had nothing to pay. The people begged in the name of Bellica to punish the ruler of the valley. The clamour continued unabated. The young man hesitated. He had no idea who the 14 Knights were, but the way things were going. Mose asked Morik sternly if everything the townspeople had said was true. He began to mumble something inaudible. The ruler's excuse was that it wasn't exactly like that. They were just stocking up in case of famine. Fury flashed in the knight's eyes. He asked if he should go to Morik's house and see for himself. The man fell to his knees before Mose. He confessed that he had committed a terrible crime and begged for mercy. The young man replied, "If he admits his wrongdoing, he will not take his life. But he is obliged to make amends to all those affected." Without raising his head, Morik promised to do everything. The crowd cheered, and Mose read the message. His fame level had risen. He had completed the hidden quest. Reward: a hint to obtain a rare artifact. A hidden quest has begun. He needs to go to Foul, a city on the edge of the continent. Our hero rejoiced at such unexpected good fortune. Now he just needs to go to Fallop and look for a clue to a rare artifact. Someone from outside was watching what was happening in the square. He said he had not seen a knight with such a weapon as an engraved sword in a long time. Two men in white coats were watching from the cliff. One of them asked the boy if he would be arrested because he had pretended to be one of them. The other replied to calm him down. He had not forgotten the prophecy that one day a stranger would make the world a better place. And as the first one might have noticed, thanks to this guy, they have less work to do. The second asked who he was. The first said he wasn't sure, but he might be the Mose everyone was talking about. While our hero was contemplating his choice of path, these two decided to follow him. So the next place our hero went was the city of Fallop on the border of the continent. Mose went to the city employment office. For days he could not understand anything there. There is a secret class. Its players possess hidden powers and knowledge. These are not very common. These classes are so rare that nothing is yet known about them in the circuit's community. So even the bureau worker couldn't help Moses in any way. He had no idea about such people. Standing at the bulletin board, the young man considered that he would really have to search the whole town. But then our hero saw elves passing by, a guy and a girl. While the young man was looking at the elves thinking Fallop was full of surprises, he was almost knocked down by a man running past. Instead of apologizing, the insolent stranger also yelled at Mose to watch where he was going. The young man was astonished. The man had come at him. What's the use of yelling? He wished the rude man to get into trouble. The next second there was an explosion. Mose mumbled in confusion that it was too much. Rude ended up on the ground. The wall next to it was clearly dented by him. When the man breathed from the explosion, he saw a bag with coins scattered nearby and shouted that it was his money. But the man was prevented from collecting the coins by a man who stepped on them and said he was a dirty crook. Evil Man said he was trying to get him hot, figured he could get away. A gelatin-like seal flashed on the boy's finger. Our hero was surprised at what he saw. That evil young man had a lot of strength. Mose also noticed the seal, a familiar ring. Maybe it's the one he's looking for. The man sitting on the ground pulled out a knife from behind his back and with a cry of "You don't live," lunged at the man standing next to him. However, the other, without saying a word, instantly reacted by drawing his sword from its sheath and repelled the attack. The enemy struck by the sword fell to the ground and the guy put his sword away and said that he had only wasted his time. Our hero was in a kind of stupor from what he saw. He didn't even notice his movements. Who is this guy? Then Mose got a message that the hidden quest clue to the secret class reward had been completed. He found the clue. The next message said that the hidden quest secret swordsman class quest was running. You need to talk to the man in the black robe. Looking after the departing guy, our hero was running through his head. Secret class swordsman. Night was descending on the city. In a dark alley, Mose followed an unknown young man in a black cloak. Our hero thought at the time that he was just guessing because he'd seen it from afar, but now there is no doubt his ring was exactly like Geratin's. The monster said he was a swordsman, who knew his death would bring Mose here. Pursuing the unknown young man thought maybe luck was really favouring him. But then, peering around the corner, the guy was disappointed to realise that his target had disappeared. While Mose was wondering where the unknown man had gone, he was already behind him. He grabbed our hero from behind by the neck and dragged him into the alley. It was Veyron. He threw Mose to the ground and put a sword to his head, asked if the little rat was following him. The sudden movement caused a pendant to pop out from under our hero's armour. Veyron noticed and asked where Mose had gotten it. The impatient young man was angry and ordered a response. She deserves someone more deserving than our guy. Our hero realized that power was not on his side this time. He answered the truth. He won the pendant from the lottery. The stranger's sword swept lightning fast through Moses' armor. The system told him to be careful. His health level was less than 5%. Varen was even more angry. He didn't believe it and asked if he was joking. Barely getting up from the ground, our hero replied that he was serious. In the city of Lindruk, an old man was selling stone runes. He bought one. The stranger grabbed Mose by the pecs and asked what the old man looked like. The young man said he had a beard, grey hair, and a robe. Varen let our knight go, said as if to himself that he was at Lindruk. During this time, Mose's health was fully restored. He stood firmly on his feet and asked who the old man was. He is known in the criminal world as a top-class criminal, Lyro the card player. Varen explained he had been assigned to track down Lyro. He knows about one of the mysteries of the Aspargan continent, the disappearance of the Langarus cavalcade. Mose interjected, a cavalcade of Langarus. The stranger called him a moron, since he doesn't even know that. The cavalcade was considered the greatest fighting force of all, but one day it disappeared on its way to war. A search party found only abandoned ruins. It turns out this pendant belonged to Florin, the commander of the Langarus cavalcade. Mose twirled his pendant in his hands. He thought it was just a magnificent artifact. Varen noted, judging by how quickly the guy's wounds healed, the star is the real deal. The young man drew a second sword. Mose asked what he was doing. He said Florin wasn't here, so he's going to destroy the guy and take the pendant. Our young man guessed that he had intended to destroy him from the beginning. The unknown man replied that, of course. With a smirk, the rival explained the dead don't tell tales. Only now did Mose realize why his interlocutor had given it to him so easily, so he summoned his sword of charm. But the enemy wielded his swords with such speed that Mose had no time to counter him. In an instant, our hero was on the ground. His health level was less than 10%. The stranger said the pendant would be his. But our hero was on his way up with his health fully restored. The enemy could not understand how he even remained alive after such a blow. Asked the guy, he's immortal. Varen kept guessing what they called it. A user player. Something like that he'd heard before. It doesn't matter though. Even if the burden rises from the grave, he will seek it out to destroy it again and again. And he struck. Our hero gritted his teeth and thought everything was fine. We just have to wait a couple seconds. But the enemy was close by again, said he thought he'd watch the guy heal in silence, and threw another punch. The young man wriggled in pain. The system warned him to be careful. His health level was less than 3%. Our hero screamed in pain. Consciousness was leaving him. Just like that, he would die here. Our hero was brought to his senses by the words of a third man. He said that the swordsman kept the truth in the sword and devoted himself to it. Mose opened his eyes and saw two crossed blades in front of him. The voice said he should have been reminded more often that this was a top-secret mission. Fully back to consciousness, our hero tried to understand what was going on here, and who this man was. The man with grey hair and beard said that not only did he tell all the secrets to the immortal, but also gave in to temptation and behaved like a dog. The man was clearly angry. He said he was calling the young man a traitor and sentencing him to death. Varen excused himself. Turning to the man Master Robin, he began to say that it wasn't like that, asking for another chance. But Master Robin was adamant. He carried out his sentence and said that he would apologize in hell. Our hero was shocked that a man would just destroy a guy like that. As Robin approached Mose, he said he was next. He knows too much now, so he understands. Our hero thought the first one gave him a good scare, but this one's on a whole other level. There's a huge difference between the two. I thought that's how he'd end up. But he got up, told himself he promised to be different, decided to bet everything on the scheme. Master Robin saw the boy's attitude and was surprised. He wasn't going to give up. Mose realized the man belonged to a secret class, but even if he died and had to pay the fine, he wasn't going to back down. The man asked the young man recognizes the difference in their skills and challenges him anyway. The guy said that even if he died and rose from the dead, he'd still be after him, so he's going to give it his best shot. Robin marveled at the young man's resilience. He might be shaking, but he had the courage and will to live. Looking at Mose, the master realized that even among swordsmen it was not common to meet such a person. It was only now that the man saw the swordsman's seal on the boy's finger. He was amazed. Grabbing the young man by the neck, Master Robin asked what the ring was doing to him. Mose couldn't move from that grip. He said he got the ring after defeating Giratin. The man couldn't believe his ears, asked him to repeat it. The young man confirmed that it was Giratin. Master threw the guy to the ground, said he couldn't believe he'd fallen by his hand, but he could see in his eyes that the boy wasn't lying. Climbing up, our hero asked Robin Giratin was also a swordsman. The man said that several hundred years ago, Giratin defected to the Imperial army and betrayed the swordsman. There weren't many swordsmen in those days. No one could stand up to the Imperial army, and Giratin was waiting for his time. Now Mose realized how Giratin had gotten such an unusual ring. The young man apologized. Apparently he shouldn't have destroyed Giratin. The man said someone had to do it sooner or later. Robin explained that after everything Mose had learned about the mission, he wasn't leaving alive, unless. The master said that the guy has two choices: die every time after revival, or replace that Veyron guy and work for them. The man just started to speak in an ominous voice for Mose to choose as our hero happily announced that they were working together. This development made Master Rain stunned. He was surprised at such a quick answer, and a confident one at that. The man exhaled, not even a proper thought. It's the same unthinkable as if the sun goddess Bellica was suddenly covered in ice. The master patted Mose on the shoulder. Well, he had made his choice. Robin didn't know if he could really become a swordsman. The next second the man slapped the boy on the cheek that even his helmet flew off. The young man screamed, asking why. Losing consciousness, our hero heard the reply that it was a greeting. Mose came to his senses on a bed in a bright room. The system informed him that the new location was a sanctuary. Our hero was surprised. He looked around. The room was cozy, bright, with all the necessary furniture. The young man went to the shrine's training room. Here he was waiting to meet Kea. They started practicing with wooden swords. Our hero went on the attack, but his confidence was quickly shaken. The girl fought him back in a flash. Kea smiled past the guy, thought he could handle her one-on-one. And now she was on the attack. The young man barely had time to dodge and fend off the blows, thinking it was easy for her to talk. But Mose shouted that he could trace all the movements of her sword. Fending off the attacks, the young man realized he couldn't match Kea's speed and technique. The girl was number one among the master's students, and that's not just an empty word. The elfess shouted that the guy had opened up and slapped him on the shoulder. The blow was so strong that our hero recoiled and fell to the ground. Kea was very sweet and courteous. She smilingly leaned over and extended her hand to the boy. She said it wasn't bad, but he had room to grow. Mose took his helping hand and smiled too, said he needed time. He'd win the fight next time. Lee Kehoe returned to the real world. He received a call from his worried mother. She asked him where his son got the 4 million won that he had transferred to her. The young man did not stop practicing and explained that it was his present for his mom. He had been saving for a long time and had saved up. The alarm clock rang. The guy said he had to run, explained to the mum that the money was hers and she could use it however she wanted. Our hero turned off his alarm clock. I wondered how much he'd be exhausted at practice today. Guy woke up a few days ago when he passed out from a stroke at the sanctuary. It's this swordsman's secret hideout. They are mercenaries who swear allegiance to the blade goddess Adias. It is a small organization that handles international orders. The Robin who brought our hero here introduced himself as one of the 10 masters. Hearing the offer to join the ranks of swordsmen, our hero thought it was fate and joined them. But a little time passed and the guy had to regret that decision. He was forced to run on the rocks as if his life depended on it. Kea cheered up by saying that whoever forgets the basics will die first. You can't skip basic training. The workload was long and very intense. Mose wondered if this was the reason for the small size of the organization. In addition to physical activity, you had to learn as much as you could about all the countries, as many of the missions are national in nature. If you ask how the guy endured it all, the answer is Kea. Only thanks to the girl, Mose did not give up everything. The path of becoming a swordsman and the game itself. Kea asked what Mose was thinking about. He answered that he was just shocked that there would be the first official mission. The elf warned that it was okay to be nervous, but warned the boy not to screw it up. The young man was beating his chest saying who he was being held for. He's actually a swordsman now too, and he knows the rules. When Kea said goodbye, she asked her friend not to worry so much. She said she hoped to see him alive. Mose replied that they would meet at the shrine. Left alone on the path, our hero mentally commanded himself that it was time to go to Aspargan. Walking through the city, the young man reflected that he had completed the entire training course and was now a full member of the organization. To prove it, he received the Swordsman's Seal, their distinctive ring, a unique artifact that increases damage in combat. The guy needs to go to the northeastern edge of Aspargan to complete the mission. From here, airships fly to the snow wall. The young man noticed that there were more players. Nearby, some boys were testing magic speed shoes. On the other side, a couple of comrades were discussing the jump in the price of troll skins. The guy noted that a couple months ago everyone was beating slimes to find a magic item. Now the average level of artifacts has increased significantly. Then a guy appeared in the square, clearly beaten. He was begging for help. His artifacts had been stolen. They said they wouldn't give them back until he paid the ransom. There was talk in the shroud that the number 1 guild was taking over the lands of Vilinko. Only players with magical artifacts are members. They say the regular players were kicked out so only the guild could supply resources to the big companies. Poor guy had a bad luck. Our hero was very surprised at everything he heard. It's true that a lot has changed recently. There was a group of warriors standing at the entrance to the hunting grounds. They wouldn't let anyone in, saying that this place was only for members of Guild Number 1. At this time, another guy was being intimidated, asking if he would leave on his own or get help. One of the guild recognized the beaten kid, asked him if he brought money. The guard threatened the guy, asking if he even realized how much the artifact he scratched was worth. Mose stood in front of the guy. He said the hunting grounds are public land for everyone. Who are they to run this place? A couple of other big guys joined the conversation. They said it was Guild Number 1. They told me to back off then nicely. Our hero replied that at first they were occupying common land and now they were threatening him. Mose said it would seem their bottom has been reached. They're just trash, pathetic scum. The first guard lunged to strike the young man. Mose's training was not in vain. With a single blow, his opponent flew several meters away. One of the bandits shouted to the others what they were waiting for, ordered them to grab the young man. After assessing the impending danger, our hero decided that he didn't even need Sharma for such a skirmish. Mose easily defeated the guild opponents one by one. Looking at what was happening, one of the guild gang asked what was going on, who the guy was. Lifting one of his opponents with one hand, the young man replied that he was just a player who decided to hunt in these lands. The number 1 guild warriors didn't know what to do. Stand there and watch. Mr. Soxa, the leader and chief thug of the number 1 guild, came over. He asked what his subjects were yelling about. The first guard began to threaten. Does the young man know who's in front of him? It's the great Soxa guild leader and rancher. Now he's finished. The other warrior pointed to the bronze ringleader token. Only players from the top 9,000 receive it. Those who came with Mose to protect the poor kid started to panic. They asked what they should do. While Mose was practicing, a lot of things changed in the game. There was a rating system. The Information Guild has started counting on an official level. If rumours are to be believed, there are over 310,000 competing for the rating. Soxa shouted that there were 7 rankers in their guild, so we're done with the Babazar. They're already behind on their resource supply schedule. The rest of the guild leader ordered the rest of us to get out of here before he called the guards, pointed his finger at Mose the Socks and said he'd pay for raising his hand on his guys. Our hero hit the bully with all his strength that he flew a few meters away. After summoning Sharma, Mose told Socks to call everyone here, including the guards. The young man added, let them see his business crumble to dust. Our hero struck at the gathered enemies with lightning speed. They didn't even realize what had happened right away. The other members of Guild Number 1 saw the defeat of their comrades and scattered. Mose got a message that the airship he'd booked a seat on was leaving in 10 minutes. Concentrating on those freaks, the guy completely forgot about his main task and rushed to the airship. Our hero was in time for departure, and as he took to the air at Velas dawn, he was struck by the beauty of the view. While our young man was leaning against the window with his mouth open, someone called out to him. A man approached Mose. He asked the boy here about the mission. The young man confirmed. Seeing the swordsman's seal on the stranger's finger, our hero bowed and said, "Truth calls only to the sword." The interlocutor similarly bowed and uttered a salute. The truth called out only to the sword. To understand the aura of the stranger, our hero used insight, Mose's unique ability to see the name and level of another player or NPC. The young man determined the parameters and was amazed. This was a level 91 player. Walking through the airship, the interlocutor said he didn't think he'd meet a swordsman here. The stranger introduced himself, Callahare the swordsman from Lausvan. Our hero also introduced himself, Mose the swordsman of Aspargan. The new acquaintance suggested that something of Zeishurs must have happened in the north. Mose asked why he thought so. Callahare answered to make him think for himself why 5 important people had gathered on one airship. The young man didn't know who he was talking about. The friend said he was on his way to see them, asked if he was going. The 2 swordsmen approached the doors to the hall. Mose said he was curious now. They entered a bright and chic room. Mose marvelled at the opulence of the furnishings. Callahare beckoned him to follow. His comrade led him to a table where 5 people were sitting and told him that everyone was gathered, some of the strongest men on the continent. Our hero was amazed. He repeated in his head the words "best people on the continent." A mercenary of Triple Crown rank 201st level Aurora inquired. The kids on their mission had come to participate. Yvonne, a 5th-generation bin caravan merchant, said skeptically that they don't look like skilled fighters, thinks they can handle it. A member of the Order of the 14 Knights, Hare, replied, "Let them not make an impression, but one possesses the blessing of an immortal." Our hero was surprised. Apparently a member of the Order of Knights knows him. Swordmaster Tikris Gon said he heard of a traveller who became a swordsman, so it was him. Our hero was amazed to see Gon, he's level 244. Swordsmen are divided into Master Swordsmen and Grandmasters. Grandmaster of the Sword is the top rung in the swordsmanship. It is sought after by all who have been trained. Gon is a legendary Grandmaster. The young man thought he was the King of Kings. He bowed and introduced himself. Mose belongs to the Shrine of Aspargan. Gon turned to his companion. He introduced himself, Callahare of the Shrine of Luswan. He looked at the boys appraisingly for a few seconds. Then he laughed. He said that young swordsmen don't chicken out at the sight of a Grandmaster. They have a bright future ahead of them. Our hero got a message that he got a secret achievement. He met Gon, one of the 2 Ghost Blades, strength increased by 2. The young man couldn't believe his success. He was given 2 stat points just for meeting a Grandmaster. Looking at the rest of the team, Mose had no idea how strong these guys were. No wonder this mission is a Class S mission, because it involves people like this. The airship captain announced over the loudspeaker that they would soon be arriving at the snow wall to the north of Lanus. The passengers began to prepare to leave. The commander went on to say, "The journey is coming to an end, but I'm sure it's just beginning for them." The Grandmaster gestured for everyone to leave. He said they would discuss all the details in Langaroo. Mose received a message. Quest level changed to SS. Find the source of supernatural activity on the northeastern edge of Aspargan. The whole team gathered at the Snowwall Fortress. They were discussing that the quest level had suddenly increased. After a little thought, Gon said that if this continued, the mission would have to be cancelled. Aurora replied to his comrade that perhaps it was for the best. The newcomers here would surely move. Yvonne asked Care why the complexity had increased. He replied that the source of the supernatural activity had been identified. Many red lightning bolts appeared on several continents. They caused damage. At first, they thought it was because of the magic experiment in Olu. Aurora replied that since the lightning bolts were red, Gon finished the sentence. It must be Garnassus. Khair agreed. However, he said they didn't know how he got here. A 17th level catastrophe class monster. Arriving from an unknown continent, the Elder Dragon Garnus. Aurora inquired what the reward was for him. Khair answered 50 Ormacons of the Bank of Aranthus. Aurora laughed, as expected of an order of knights. Yvonne smiled slyly and said that she needed something else besides money. Khair asked what about the right to trade in Aspargan. The girl winked, saying he knew how to talk her into it. Looking at Grandmaster Khair honestly said that he didn't know what to offer Mr. Gong. The man said he wasn't interested in the reward, but he's in if these 2, pointed to the swordsman, join the quest on his terms. Mose received a system message that Grandmaster Gon had invited him to join his team. He couldn't believe his luck. Our team travelled to the northern city of Langaroo. We stayed at the Dragon in the Snow Inn. There they were met by a member of the Caravan of Sincerity, Cyrus. He greeted the saviours with the name of Bellica and Belus. Yvonne realised it was a representative of the Order of the 14 Knights. Gon replied that they did not deserve such high words. Our hero thought it was only worth looking at his level. Cyrus has 117th level. The entire delegation gathered around a table for further discussion. Aurora asked Cyrus how things were now. He replied that there were no red lightning bolts at the moment. The Grandmaster thought for a moment and then said that now was the lull. It's a good time to act. Aurora suggested that he should go in the vanguard and take the full brunt of the attack. The Swordmaster agreed that the first line is on Aurora. He said he'd take care of the swordsman in the rear. Mose realised from the conversation that they would attack from the back. Yvonne of Buck Caravan said her power would immobilise the enemy. Khair replied that he would join Mr. Gong at Mr. Gong. Sire said that he would provide magical support. Cyrus said he would cast a spell that would bring them closer to Garnassus without attracting attention. After a while, the whole group ended up on one of the snowy peaks. Our hero snorted and couldn't see anything because of the snow, but the next second a red lightning bolt flew past him. The young man looked at the trail of lightning in the snow and thought it was Garnassus moving his wing. What power! Seeing his comrade's hesitation, Kalahir called out to him and asked him to hurry up. Cyrus said that once everyone was assembled, we could begin. He took his staff and recited the spell. The members of the group were surprised. It became so quiet that even their ears were ringing. Our hero watched his hands shake and thought it was very powerful magic. He's all torn up. Cyrus continued to recite his spell in a low voice. Seer jingled the occasional bell. Sacred chanting increased strength by 34%, restoring 583 units of health per second. This effect will last for 2 hours. Yvonne said they could really use this. Mose felt the power filling him. Still, the skills of a sapper who had reached the pinnacle of mastery were excellent. Our hero heard strange sounds behind him. Gon said the enemy seems to be closing in. Prepare yourselves. The warriors took their positions. Our young man was standing with his sword in his hand, wondering where the dragon would come from. Suddenly, he felt someone approaching from behind. When the boy dared to turn around to see what was there, he saw the dragon's face beside him. The monster roared and our guy fell to the snow. He couldn't stand, his legs wouldn't hold him up. Looking at the huge monster beside him, Mose assumed that this was where he would die. The dragon drew in more air, and the young man saw flames rising in its mouth. Aurora had time to cover Mose with his shield. The man shouted to the confused boy what he was doing here. He ordered him to go to the rear. Yvonne came to the rescue. She deftly used the rope to bind the monster's mouth, told him to shut it for a while. Gon said Yvonne was good, and now it was their turn. Together with Khair, they jumped into the attack. After a few sword strikes, the monster howled in pain. Grandmaster said he thought so. This technique would buy them time. Khair agreed. Our hero was delighted. He watched with his mouth open as the strongest played. The dragon ripped the rope on his muzzle. Gon commanded everyone to get ready. Aror responded by telling everyone to rely on him. The monster let the pillar of flame go again. Aror said, "Screw him with his flame," and reflected the mirror shield of fire back at the enemy. At that moment, a representative of the Order of Knights recited incantations prayers for the gods to have mercy on the mortal and shed light on the enemy. An energy portal appeared above the dragon. The scattering skill was activated. All enemy characteristics were weakened for 2 hours. Aror said it was perfect, and the reflected fire beam finally reached the monster's mouth. The dragon snorted, choking on its own fire. Aror said he was a tough guy. Mose, watching the scene, noticed that Aurora's level had risen dramatically. He remembered that he'd seen something like this during the battle with Giratin, so the NPCs could increase their level just by picking up a special weapon. Suddenly, the dragon began to flap its wings. Aror assumed that it was going to attack from the sky. Yvonne replied that it could not be allowed to do that. The girl shouted, "Braid him with a white rose," and as if with a lash of roses she caught the monster. Keeping the monster tethered, Yvonne shouted that it wouldn't last that long, the dragon was too strong. Hare asked, holding on to it a little longer. He uses the enchantment only to take off. After these words, the boy grew wings behind his shoulders. He began to rise upward. Mose was amazed. Kaloa commanded Mose to go with him to attack. This was their chance while the dragon was tied up. The monster spotted the young men on his approach and with one growl blew them farther into the snow. Climbing out of the snowdrift, Kaloa asked if he was all right. Our hero replied that he was fine. Mose was angry. He hoped they'd make it. That thing knew they'd attack. Gon came up to the boys laughing. He said that the tension had stiffened the swordsman's shoulders. He advised them to speed up and strike harder. Grandmaster said to remember that the duo of sword and technique is a swordsman's main weapon. The man concentrated and saying that they were bound to become such masters once rushed to attack. After a few blows, the dragon began to fall. Our young man was stunned. Gong's level is now 388. He's even stronger than Garnassus. Ghost Blade, his technique is perfect. It's unrivaled. Mose thought he might have found his idol. The Grandmaster has commanded the boys that this is their chance. The dragon is wounded. Our hero figured this raid couldn't end until he did something. Gon was surprised to see Mose's aura. He thought it looked like this guy had a great future ahead of him. Our hero swung with all his might and hit the dragon with all his might. The blow did no visible damage. The beast became nervous and almost hit the boys with its wing. The young man only growled in anger. The Grandmaster advised the boy not to overexert himself. The man again delivered several blows that made the dragon fall to the snow in pain. Shielding himself from the snow flying into his eyes, Mose thought that nothing less was expected from the Grandmaster. Satisfied with himself, the man winked at the boys and asked, "Well, how will that do?" The next second, Kea commanded from above for everyone to move away from Garnus. Aror commanded everyone to quickly hide behind his mirror shield. Hare began to recite a spell and a huge fire blade appeared from the sky. The boy apologized to the ancient creature, but it was necessary to save millions of lives. The sword approached the monster and after that there was a huge explosion. When the light went out, everyone saw the breathless body of the dragon lying on the snow. Our hero rejoiced that they had won, and then he saw a large purple ball against the white snow, the core of Garnus. The rest of the participants were just chatting happily, discussing the victory. Our hero tried to pay attention to the orb. Mose realized that they couldn't see the core because they were NPS. A joyous Yvonne clapped her hands and said that the raid was over, and so ended the fierce battle against Garnassus. Our hero has risen as much as 25 levels during the battle, and he's very happy about it. Aror said he hated the cold and left the group as soon as he received the award. Yvonne summoned her men from the bin caravan to cut up the dragon carcass. She expected to make good money on the hide and bones. She left satisfied with the outcome of the battle as well as the spoils. She also reminded Care of his promise. Care thanked Mr. Gon, Mr. Calloway and Mr. Mose once again, and shook their hands. Smiling, the Grandmaster pointed at the boys and said that it was a reward to meet such talented guys. Care agreed. Our hero scratched the back of his head and thought it was a little hard, but Care seemed to appreciate his efforts. Standing in front of the boys, Gon said that someday the fame of their deeds would spread everywhere and reach his ears. And when that happens, he will welcome them with open arms. He will look forward to that day. Opening the portal, the Swordmaster went to the bin caravan. Only 2 swordsmen remained on the slope. Calloway said he had some urgent business to attend to too, so he had to go and said goodbye to Mose. Alone, it began to seem to our hero that there was no battle, but then Mose remembered he still had a colonel to deal with. Looking at the orb, the young man wondered if it was right to just take the whole reward for himself, even though he hadn't really done anything. But to give up such a luxury is foolish. He'd have to be much stronger to stand up to the real warrior. The core opened, and armor and a sword encrusted with red stone appeared before our hero. It was brandishing Artoria's legendary 2-handed sword. After destroying 100 monsters, the skill-destructive flame Solar Storm is activated. The armor of Atoria's Rising Sun is legendary. The new armor added 44% more strength in battle. Mose couldn't believe his happiness. It's true. This isn't some kind of hoax. There's no hidden camera. What fell from the core of Garnassus is as amazing as the dragon itself, a legendary set that surpasses any unique artifact. Ji-hyun was broadcasting again on all the screens in the country. She was rushing to tell the news that the Information Guild had posted yesterday morning. The Battle of the Rankers is coming. Everyone can participate in it. Until recently, ranks were randomly assigned based on player characteristics. There will be more emphasis on this process and vetting in the future. Rankers will be given national-level quests, so if a player is confident in his abilities, should come to the center square of Aspargana. After deciding to get stronger in Lee's game, go jogging every day to build up your stamina. This way you can stay in the game longer. After leaving the game, the guy got dizzy. He'd been playing too long. It was hard to accept the difference between virtual and ordinary reality. A young man wanted to change his real life and decided to do it with the help of the scheme, but the line between the two worlds blurred. It's funny. Only in the game Lee is able to earn fabulous money. Because of this, he decided to work on himself and take the game seriously. Looking around, the guy thought, if he had a normal life like all these people, he wouldn't be playing the game. The issue of lack of finances wasn't going anywhere, he caught himself thinking, and decided to go back to where he belonged. Walking through the game city, our hero thought over the order of actions. First, he handed over his armor to the blacksmith. Before he went to the shrine, he found a secluded spot. It's a place where no one will see him. Entering a deserted alleyway, the young man took out his legendary sword from his inventory. This wasn't a dream after all. As he picked up the sword, our hero felt a heat all over his body. Then came a flash of light. When the glow disappeared, the young man had a severe headache. The message came that the passive skill of Atoria's fighting style was obtained. A sequence of steps with the sword loomed in his mind. The boy understood now how it worked. Our hero heard someone behind him. He went to take a closer look. Mose looked out from around the corner and saw a kid chattering away on a crystal ball. He was very surprised. Remembering his first comrades from the game, the guy thought it was a useful thing and decided to buy one for himself. After a while, the young man walked down the street satisfied. He had taken the armor and bought the orb. Now it's time. Tossing a pebble to open the portal Mose commanded, the sanctuary of Aspargan. The young man found himself on the doorstep of the airship. A female employee greeted him and asked where he was going. The guy said the Bean Caravan. The girl said he'd have to check out Rowandel's white horse and invited him to follow her. Following the stewardess, Mose thought he was going to the shrine in person, and Robin decided to get away with a simple note indicating a bean caravan. Behind him he heard a familiar voice. The girl asked what was taking so long. Mose turned around and saw Kia. She asked if he would always be waiting for her. The boy asked Kiaya if she was coming with him. She answered in the affirmative. The girl explained that they were on a joint mission. Reaching the place and stretching, our hero walked and grumbled that they had gotten to Langaroo faster. The friend pointed Mose to a tall tower, the Bin Caravan. It's a place of general trade. The guy said it looked impressive. The comrades were greeted by Russell, silverhead member of the Information Guild. The new acquaintance accompanied by explaining they had already reached the 81st floor. From here to the 90th floor there were floors with guest rooms. Leading the guests to the door, Russell informed them that they would be located on the 88th in the melting room. The girl asked, embarrassed. Their master had sent him. The attendant replied that it was correct. He would give the details when he arrived. Closing the door behind him, Russell warned that everything he said equated to Master Robin's words. Mose and Kea bowed and said that the swordsman of Aspargan called to them here. Unfolding some paper, Russell said that the two of them had been chosen to carry out a mission assigned by the organization. The head said that recently artifacts that should not fall into anyone's hands were illegally brought into the Bin Caravan. They are called Rhapsodies of Julisinaya. Here are Rhapsodies 7 through 14 inclusive. They will soon be auctioned off on the top floor. The Bean Caravan is run by merchants, so no one can take back an item that came here as merchandise. This swordsman's job is to buy back the artifacts. Kea will participate under the guise of an aristocrat named Ariane Marie, and Mose will be her bodyguard, a knight named Maxim. At the appointed hour, the doors of the hall opened. The butler announced that the Ariane family of Peref was welcome. Our couple entered the room. Mose followed the girl and noticed that everyone was looking at Kea. They had to go all out to participate in the auction. That's a great start. A girl approached the comrades. She greeted the young lady of the Ariane family. She introduced herself, a Kazit von Rehme of the Akazit family. She invited them to their table. Kea bowed courteously and thanked her for the invitation. They followed their new acquaintance. Walking through the hall, our hero didn't understand why everyone around him was laughing. Leading Kea over to the table, the new acquaintance giggled and introduced her to those sitting there by mangling her last name. Lady Ariak. The girls who were there also started giggling, telling their sister that this was not allowed. Mose in his knight's armour began to growl in anger, but Kea gestured that it was all right. Wiping away tears of laughter, Rame apologised, saying that she wanted to show respect by using the Perif dialect. Said she heard Maria's homeland is famous for grapes. They have vineyards. Kea calmly replied that they did, and quite a few. One of the girls at the table asked, "That's how their family got the title, by farming." The second hurriedly told me that the Akazit family had a rich history. There were many wizards in the family who served in the royal palace. Ariane's family should find something better to do, not to mention the elven blood. How does it feel to look like one of the slaves for sale from the lower floors? The second added, she wondered why Marie was wearing her necklace backwards. Turns out she's a bit of a simpleton. Rame commanded that they be so kind as to fix the lady's jewellery. It's painful to watch. With the words, "I obey my lady," a huge knight began to approach our girl. Holding out his hands, he said he hoped the girl wouldn't blame him for this. He was just following his mistress's orders. At that second, his hand was intercepted by Mose saying how dare he touch his dirty hands on his mistress, to doom-seeking. All the girls at the table opened their mouths in surprise and anger. Our heroine, flirtatious fan, asked, "All the knights of the Akazit family are such jerks, or just him?" The sisters at the table started yelling at the girl. How dare she? What she said lousy. Kea called them arrogant fools. The noble lady honoured them with her presence and wants to resolve the situation as befitting an aristocrat. She's been the victim of a grave insult from the Akazit family, so she challenges their knight to a duel with her knight to defend her honour. She asked if Maxim was ready. Our hero answered, my lady, that he was ready. He is a knight of the Ariane flower family. Taking out his flaming sword, the young man said that he would win the battle for the family's honour. Those in the audience continued to giggle. A duel on first appearance means the Akazites couldn't be dealt with that easily. One of the sisters ordered her knight to defend their family's honour. The 32nd level warrior replied that he was a knight of the Akazit family, protecting the honourable name of this family. While our hero thought his opponent's level was low, he tried to attack. Mose only crouched down to let the sword pass over him. Too slow. Mose's armour broke with a single movement of his hand. The knight collapsed to the floor. Rain was shaking with anger. There were voices behind her. That's power, one blow. She screamed for Lonshell, her loyal knight, to deal with this garbage. Lonshell, the Wind Knight, came forward, said he had orders from Lady Akazit to deal with our hero here and now. The enemy tried to overpower our hero from the rear, but Mose's lightning-fast reaction was not long in coming. One movement and the opponent was already sitting on his knees in front of our young man. He asked Lonshell, "Is that all?" The Wind Knight replied that Maxim was a monster and fell backwards. There was a dead silence in the room, only the sound of our girl's footsteps disturbed it. The young lady said that she, Ariane Marie, is deeply disappointed in what's going on here. They chose to mock a race that came from faraway lands. What kind of prejudice is this? Hopefully in the future their event will welcome guests from afar in a much warmer way. It should not be forgotten that Bin Caravan is a place where all cultures and peoples of this world meet and interact. After these words, the guests who had been silent and bowed their heads began to clap for the girl. Lyro the gambler appeared in the crowd. He saw Mose and said to himself, "Finally, the moment has come." How long he'd waited for this. Back in the room, Kea said that their mission had finally begun. The reception went well, but the main spruce was the auction. The young man was staring at his friend like a mesmerized man. She asked what he was staring at. The boy replied that Kea was getting into the role well. The girl grinned. There was nothing to play for, especially when she was dealing with the nobility. Our hero got curious. He flooded his friend with questions, what to know when serious. Kea revealed that she used to be a slave in an aristocrat's house. Their behaviour, their thoughts, it's like it's ingrained in her. She added that frankly, as a half-blood elf who had been a slave, she wanted to finish him off on the spot. But she's a swordsman now. The Kea that suffered because of her position and status is gone. Mose apologised. The girl slapped him on the back and said it was okay. Why is his face so scared? It's been decided. Kea said that the master had promised to let them rest well after the task. The girl added, so the mission should end successfully. There were carriages travelling along the road. In one of them our heroes reasoned. There were 25 Ormacons and another 7,000 in gold, if they buy the artifact for less good. But it doesn't end there. As we approached the auction building, Mose said someone else was after the scores. Do we need to get rid of these people? Kea agreed, so we're going to have to haggle to find them. It was unusual for our hero. He had never worn a three-piece suit, and here comes Eden Auction Hall of Bean Caravan. An entertainer from the stage called, "Ladies and gentlemen, to attention. Only here and only now will more valuable artifacts than any jewellery be presented. From treasures that hold the secrets of the world, to artifacts that will raise their level and leave them undisturbed." The host announced that they were starting. The lights came on in the hall. Everyone present applauded. Lot number 1 was brought on stage. Something small was covered with a white cloth. The auctioneer announced, "A fingernail from the index finger of the last princess of the ruined kingdom of Ezrandel," and threw off the cloth. Our heroes were so tense that when they saw the first lot, they exhaled and relaxed a bit. Mose received a message with an item card. The nail is unique. The owner gets a quest. That is, there is a quest attached to the item. The auctioneer mysteriously offered a starting price of 3 ormacons. The bidding began. One by one, the eager bidders raised the price. In the end, the nail was sold for 17 ormacons. Our hero started complaining that he was already tired. Keir said to pull himself together. The auction had just started. They started announcing the next lot. Our couple tensed up, the work of the most talented and at the same time the most vicious composer. The rhapsodies of Dulcinea from the 7th to the 14th were presented to the attention of the audience. Mosey marvelled the window with the artifact card was black. Perhaps the item wasn't so simple. The auctioneer announced a starting price of 4 ormacons. The bids began to rise. After a bid of 10 ormacons, to the surprise of those around her, our girl raised the price to 25 ormacons. The auction host asked if anyone would give more than 25 ormacons. At the last second, an offer of 50,000 gold, 50 ormacons, was heard from the hall. Our hero got nervous. He asked someone for money, 50 ormacons. The young man wanted to turn around and see who it was, but Keir asked him not to move, and raised the bet to 75 ormacons. The auctioneer started counting down. Mose asked the girl if she was out of her mind, such a sum. Keir explained that she was waiting for a reaction, and then came the offer of 100,000 gold pieces, or Makanami 100. The auctioneer exulted. This was the largest price for the lot in the history of the auction, 100,000 gold. Keir was pleased. She turned to Mose and stated, "She had told you so." As he stood up, our hero looked around, saying he had a buyer to catch, and froze. Keir called out to him. The young man recognized the buyer, the A-list wanted man, the gambler, Lyro. The fleeing Lyro was blocked by our heroes. The man said they had been staring at him the whole time, and now they were chasing him. The criminal's aura glowed with a dark light. He told Mose that way, but he was waiting for them to meet. Our hero couldn't figure out what that aura was. It felt like one wrong move and he'd be wiped out. The man introduced himself. Up. Mose pulled Keir aside and told her to be careful. She couldn't see his level and realized the danger of the situation. Our hero saw that this 102nd level man was a true monster. Lyro turned to Mose and said that this is a truly historic moment. The girl was surprised and asked the comrade if he knew him. The guy answered that the one in Lindurk had sold him an artifact. The young man asked if the man remembered him. In a second, he was right next to him and said that this meeting was fated. Mose wondered how the man moved so quickly, but then Keir stepped in between the two. She said she didn't know what their fateful meeting was, but she wouldn't just stand by and watch. The girl claimed to be Keir, a swordswoman from Aspargan, and her sword will help us discover the truth. Lair was again at our hero's side in lightning speed, said he'd show him something, and they both disappeared. They found themselves in some other space. There was nothing but darkness around them. The man said Mose's friend can't find them now, and they need to talk face to face. Our hero was surprised at the words that the gambler Lair needed to talk to him. The man laughed at the question. Mose was afraid of him, and he answered that he was to be feared. His eyes glowed red. The interlocutor said that during that lottery he chose over 1,000 immortals. For some reason they rushed to sell artifacts without even trying them out. But Mose wasn't the type. That's why Lair had a plan just for him. Our hero listened with his mouth hanging open. He could not understand what it was all about. The Carder asked to remember, before Mose became a swordsman, whether the encounter with Girateng was accidental, why that John Doe's mission in Felupa was to capture the criminal Lair. The young man thinks it's a coincidence that they ended up together in a bin caravan during his assignment. Guy thinks he's lucky, but this man's got it all figured out. Our hero was togsted at what he heard. Why was it so this was not luck, but a plan by Lyro? The bewildered young man fell to his knees and dropped his sword to the ground. He couldn't understand what was happening or why. It was as if his strength had left him. The interlocutor sighed and explained to our hero that he wants to conquer this world with the hands of immortals. Lair came close to the boy again, and he began to talk to him, asking him to let his anger fall upon the Empire. He could do it. He asked if Moses would rule the world and help avenge Lyro's family on those who took it from the man. The young man was astonished to hear the word revenge. The interlocutor was convinced that he must destroy everyone who wore the golden crown. He said it was in the boy's hands. To do that, Lyro chose Mose. Lyro was a man who hated the world that had deprived him of his family. He was angry at everyone, and now he wanted revenge. What about Keir was meeting her part of his plan too? Mose stirred as if awakening from a dream. He drew his sword and realized it wasn't like that. It was his choice. Rising, the young man replied that he was not a pawn in Lyro's game. The decision to become a swordsman was his own, as was the desire to train for that goal. Though of course he's grateful to the man. The pendant he got gave the boy a future. Fully erect, Mose said he was now making a choice according to his desires, and the sword went up in flames. The interlocutor didn't expect such a reaction. He questioned what the guy had said. Mose has a card. Quest battle to defeat Lyro the card player. Reward a hidden ability. And our hero was determined to attack. The man easily dodged his blow. A black haze began to appear around the gambler. The young man didn't understand what it was. Lyro said it was his power. It's limitless. He can give it to a guy if he wants it. The man said it was the young man's last chance to choose whether to join him or die. Mose boldly looked at his opponent and stated that he wasn't choosing anything. Lyro was furious as to why this was so. Everyone would bow before the guy if he accepted the offer. Why should he refuse? If the young man destroys these vile minions of the Empire, the whole world will be at his feet. Our hero replied that he was sorry to disappoint the man, but he didn't need it. Lyro said if that's the case, he'd have to destroy the guy with his own hands. Our hero smirked and wished his opponent good luck. The confrontation began. Catching the blade of the sword with his hand, Lyro said he knew immortals were different from them. They see and know things that others cannot. And the man knows they come from a world of their own. He had to sell his soul to the devil for knowledge of the immortals. Mose came here to have fun and find meaning in existence, didn't he? He was the one who gave the guy everything. A new dream power and a sense of fun and enjoyment. That's why Mose refuses. All he seeks in this world is fun and pleasure. He doesn't care what's going on around him. Our hero replied that he did. He came here for the money, like many others. But thanks to Lyro, he gained incredible power, and with it he was able to recognize the world. The young man traveled the continent. He's been to many places, and now he's well aware of how many beautiful and undiscovered places there are. His heart beats with joy every time he finds himself in a new place, and his gratitude to Lyro knows no bounds, and he understands how he feels. The guy apologized, but he can't fulfill Lyro's wish and he won't destroy the world. When the man asked why, the young man said he didn't know too much, and he thinks he doesn't want to ruin everything here. So Mose made the decision to take the man's pain and carry the heavy load himself. The interlocutor laughed. The guy wants to say that he doesn't want to see the destruction of the world, having dreamed of retribution for years. How can Mose even talk that kind of crap? If he won't listen to it, then the man will finish the guy here and now. The battle had begun. Mose's health level was dropping rapidly, already 30%. The exasperated man told the guy to watch as his hatred and revenge. His health level was dropping. Mose didn't understand why he couldn't strike back. But if the enemy isn't stopped now, Lyro will be plunged into an endless cycle of destructive desires. The young man knew he couldn't let that happen. He had to think of something. Suddenly, the sword in the guy's hands shone more brightly. The system reported that the effect of Atoria's brand was activated. The new skill Solar Storm has been obtained. At the same second, the hero used the new Sunstorm active skill. The enemy was hit. Mose saw Lea's memories. His wife and children were killed by the vile soldiers of the Empire, and the man was able to take revenge on them. He destroyed the knights one by one. But at the last house, a frightened child ran out towards the man. Lyro realized what he had done, started to convince himself it wasn't his fault. It was the Imperial rats. He knew what he'd done was wrong, but there was nothing he could do about it. And even though a lot of time had passed since then, Lyro thanked Mose for stopping him. Disappearing, the man said perhaps deep down he wished he had done things differently back then. After apologizing to Mose and saying goodbye forever, Lyro vanished. The young man thought he had redeemed himself, albeit unintentionally. Kia saw a flash of light and then Mose appeared. She ran to the boy. He looked up at the sky and thought he would remember Lyro. On the way back, sitting in the airship, the young man studied the card with the Lucky Destroyer ability he received. The ability unlocked skills: successful destruction, create spheres from items, unification of the destroyer, store and unify spheres. Maybe Lyro used them when he handed out items to the players. It's like he left them to Mose as an inheritance. Our hero now intended to act so that no more unfortunate people like Lyro would appear here. After talking to the card player, it became clear that in the virtual world NPCs have human feelings such as anger or sympathy. They're just as human as the players. They exist on a par with those NPCs who just follow the algorithms, but are noticeably different from them. So can the scheme be considered just a game? It's more like a parallel reality. Kia interrupted the young man's musings. She asked if he was all right. He replied that he was fine. The elf friend wondered what the guy planned to do on vacation. After a little thought, Mose said he didn't even know. No plans yet. Asked where Kia was going. The girl shared her plans. She wants to go to her relatives during the vacation. Looking out the window, a friend told me that she came from a small village in Adjarusa, invited Mose to visit sometime. Wandering through the streets of Aspargan, our hero sighed sadly that he had no mood at all. After saying goodbye to Kea, the young man realized it was time for him to rest. Suddenly something jingled. It was his crystal ball. Pulling the sphere out of his pocket, the boy saw that it was Sharon. The girl was glad he finally answered. She asked him how he was doing. After a while, our hero was already sitting in a local pub with his acquaintances. Sharon asked what he was doing, that he was famous throughout the game. The young man embarrassedly replied that he was moonlighting here and there. He got some publicity, so they started talking about him. Humming Gale told Sharon that then her youngest would tell her what he'd had going on in the meantime. Satisfied with himself, Gale showed the ring on his hand for people to check out. He announced that he had gotten a pair of magic rings with his girlfriend. Sharon was surprised and pleased, saying it was cool, uncle approved, quality stuff. Our hero also congratulated his younger comrade for having a girlfriend. Sharon said quietly what she heard the elf girl say. Gale has set the bar pretty high. Mose choked on his drink when he heard about the elf woman. It was the first time he had ever heard of such a thing. But if you remember the conversation with Lyro, those who traded reality for the game don't distinguish between NPCs and real people. But so far, Mose has seen that people like him are very surprised by Gale's words. Though it was hard for our hero to decide for himself how to perceive such a thing, Gale addressed Mr. Mose, but he scratched the back of his head and said that it sounded strange and asked if he could be addressed simply as Mose. He agreed, a little embarrassed. The guy said he didn't do anything special back then, but thanks to Mose he was able to pay for college. The comrades listened as Gale told them that at that moment he had not had much money, but things are much better now. The young man sincerely thanked our hero for the help he had given to the stranger. Mose replied that if Gale hadn't been with them then, they wouldn't have been able to rescue the wounded uncle, and they wouldn't have gotten out of the trap. Our hero patted the guy on the shoulder and thanked him. The rest of the group thought that, frankly, such meetings were possible thanks to Mose. Sharon said that if it hadn't been for Mose, they would have fallen victim to the nefarious Silborn's scheming. Uncle said he'd heard of people who'd been hurt by such personalities. Everyone quit the game after that. They also defeated the boss, couldn't have done it without Mose. Our hero remembered Lyro again. The chance he had given him had affected other people. Sharon happily announced that she was quitting. The job wasn't going well, so she decided to concentrate on the scheme. The girl also showed off her new bow. She was proud to have bought it herself. She showed everyone her artifact and told them it was rare. Mose was surprised that she bought a rare item. Who better than Mose to know how much agony it costs to earn such a weapon? The young man wondered Gale Sharon. Both of them had normal jobs. What about him? Even though the guy's been trying ever since he got his star, he's just been lucky. And he got high-level artifacts and skills more easily than the others. Instead of growing on himself, he relied on luck and Lyro's help. He took everything for granted. He used to try, asked for a chance, promised himself he'd enjoy the game like Gale and Sharon. And what he does in the end, it's worth going back to the beginning and giving it your best shot. And then Mose suggested that the guys who hadn't seen each other in so long do a quest. At the time, he didn't know how this would turn out for all of them. The group ended up on the edge of a cliff surrounded by a mob of monsters. Gale shouted, "I didn't think it would be like this. There were too many monsters." It was a quest. It is destroying a colony of monsters in the mine of Mount Demint. We had to destroy more than 1/500 Varans. Namedni comrades were riding in the carriage and discussing the quest card. In the mine found a colony of monster Varans. The colony is expanding. Our hero asked, does anyone in the group know anything about these creatures? Gale found information in a book. They belong to the Deep Mountain monster family. They live in packs of up to 100 individuals. Uncle remarked thoughtfully, 100 in a pack, and they have a whole colony to wipe out. Sharon noticed that if the quest has a Wyvern class, there will be more than 500 monsters. Mose added that someone else must be in charge of the colony. If they got rid of the leader, the remaining individuals would not be a threat. Uncle confirmed that usually the leader is in the rear watching the battle. To lure out the leader, you can take control of areas key to the colony's life. Gale suggested that we decide on roles. Sharon will go to the top of the mountain and find traces of the colony. Gale said since he had magic at his disposal, he would help Mose in battle. Uncle replied that he would shield them. Our hero wondered why everyone cared so much about him. Sharon explained that Mose was the backbone of their team. Gile added, it may not be easy for a guy, but with this plan their chances of winning are the highest. Everyone in the carriage was counting on Mose. He was shocked, but he agreed. Then there was a long descent into the bowels of the mine. A steep ladder led the comrades down, and then they heard some sounds. Uncle said it looked like they were there. The road ended here. The stairs led to a small flat area. Then there was a cliff. Gale shouted to his companions to be careful not to fall. Just then, a Varan appeared behind him. Sharon shouted to Gale to be careful. The young man didn't even realize what was going on. Mose managed to intercept the monster approaching his comrade in time. And only now our friends noticed that thousands of red eyes were watching them from the ceiling of the mine. There was a roar overhead. Mose saw the task sign. There were too many monsters, 1,550,000. Sharon commanded the team to get into position as agreed. The battle began, but after a few minutes the Varans began to push the group back to the cliff. Mose noticed they were in a bad position. They can't build as planned. Sharon has been cut off from her group. If she was blocked, she couldn't be rescued. Mose shouted for her to get to the others. At this time, our hero took a hit to distract the monsters and clear a path for Sharon. The girl managed to rejoin the group. Mose thought that they would have to destroy these monsters for a very long time. Sharon saw that Gale was panicking. She ordered him to pull himself together. The frightened boy kept saying there were too many Varans. The young man said the plan failed. They have nowhere to retreat to. Sharon asked, he's offering to surrender. They should at least try. Uncle supported Sharon, you can't just put your hands down. And they haven't seen the leader of the monsters yet. We should at least find out what he is. Our hero considered what he could do, try to break through the crowd. No, he'd take too much damage. And then the system reported that he could use the skill Destructive Flame, Solar Storm. Uncle said he'd protect the kid to the best of his ability, so he can try to break through. Mose replied to the team that he would do anything. Uncle needs to hold the shield tighter. The young man took a step forward. The monsters came at him. There were so many of them that the boy was out of sight in a second. The comrade screamed. But then there was a huge explosion. The force was so great that Uncle could barely hold up his shield. When the fire subsided and the comrades were able to open their eyes, they saw Mose surrounded by the bodies of the Varans. The team leader commanded forward. The system showed that 415 Varans had been destroyed. With each step of our hero, the counter of destroyed monsters kept increasing. The team followed their leader and marveled at his strength. Sharon marveled. She knew he was strong, but she didn't know he was that strong. After seeing the statistics, Mose said that half of them had already been dealt with. Asked if his comrades were all right. They were fine. The whole team moved forward with confidence. Everyone was encouraged by this success. They were able to stop the attack of the Varanas. Mose even reminisced about the old days. But then the system gave a message that there must be a boss somewhere. Uncle said, finally, boss. Gale looked around, trying to see where he was. And then Sharon prompted everyone to look into the depth. All the team members looked into the darkness of the cave. The team was shocked. In the midst of the crowd of monsters, they saw a man. He came out of the depths to meet our heroes. He pointed his finger at Mose and said with surprise that his arms and legs were normal. Our hero asked the man who he was. The man began to twitch as if he were dancing and replied that he was a fallen man. Mose said he didn't understand. His interlocutor explained that he had a hump. So there, he's a fallen man. A new acquaintance told me that Mum threw the hunchback off a cliff. Our friends were surprised. Uncle said it was inhuman. Gale asked why. Mose asked if there were any other people here besides the hunchback. He replied that they had turned to bones. The hunchback pointed his finger at the men, said they looked like his mum and dad, asked who they were going to leave this time. Gale shouted that this was not what they had come for. But the hunchback said he didn't believe it. That's what his mum used to tell him. They also destroyed his friends. The Varans took care of the abandoned hunchback, and he taught them to live in peace. His friends said they would grant his every wish. Mose asked again, a wish. The hunchback explained that he wanted to destroy the hole, to fill in the cliff. Gale tried to explain that if the mountain collapsed, the rocks would pile up all the nearby villages. People would die. The hunchback explained that there are more bones here than there are people living in the area. The king of the village throws everyone into the hole, those without arms, those without legs, those with a hump. The team was shocked by what they heard. If the villagers don't obey, the king throws down and destroys both dads and mums. The uncle realized that the viceroy was threatening and made the parents disown their children to make the village look good. Sharon said that's why the local people weren't happy when they took the case. Gale added that they were scared. The hunchback shouted that if people meddled in his business, he'd get very angry, and the Varanas rose to his defense. Mose observed his comrades. Regardless of the reward, they don't like the idea of deciding who lives and who doesn't. This is probably the first time they have been faced with having to make such a difficult choice. Our hero himself could not think that he would face such a dilemma in an ordinary quest. My uncle said that the Varanas endangered human lives, but do they have to exterminate everyone? Sharon supported that it was horrible. Mose asked his companions what they could do. Uncle suggested that they try to talk peacefully with the hunchback. Mose approached his new acquaintance and apologized. They had to destroy his friends. The Varans had attacked them. The young man explained that we shouldn't get rid of the hole, then the village would collapse and his mother would die. But the hunchback wanted to destroy her. Our hero said they'd deal with the bad king, and then people like him wouldn't be thrown in the hole anymore. The hunchback clarified, the bad king won't do that to anyone else. He doesn't want anyone to be turned into bones and his friends to be set for the dead. Mose told the hunchback that he and his friends should leave here. By leaving the mountain, he can help other sad fallen children. The guy explained that the hunchback would help other people, and the warriors would punish this king. The hunchback replied that if Mose promises, they will do as he says. Our hero extended his little finger towards the exposed little finger of the hunchback. The new acquaintances sealed their promises with such a shake. Rising to his feet, Mose announced to his comrades that he had an idea. Our hero travelled to the Information Guild near Mount Demunt. He called someone on a crystal ball and said he had a job to do. Knight Maxim would be the guarantor. At this time, the rest of the team showed the inspector that they had cleared the mine of Varanas. He praised the guys and handed over the honestly earned 6,000 gold pieces. When the inspector left, the friend said that since they were done with business here, they would go to Demount Castle. Guile hesitated. He hoped that Mose really did have things under control. 2 hours ago, the team decided that they wanted a quest reward and revenge on this king who ordered the children thrown off a cliff. Mose said there's a way. Everyone knows that Scheme is popular because of the freedom in terms of gameplay. By freedom, it is meant that within the game, any event they are able to imagine is possible. The goal of the quest was to destroy all the Varans. Uncle now understood why Mose had told the boy to leave the cave. The young man said that if everything went according to his plan, they could take revenge and get a reward for completing the quest. 2 horsemen appeared in the village square. There was a whisper among the people that they were from a band of knights. The king will finally be punished. The first rider drew his sword from its sheath, called Lari, ruler of Castle Demant, shouted that now he would answer for the evil he had done. Our hero was pleased. It was Kea. She arrived just in time. Larry, the king of the castle, came out to meet the guest, said it was unexpected, what the noble lady had forgotten in this godforsaken place. One of the locals threw himself at the guest's feet and begged her to listen to him. He said, "There are no eyes more beautiful than those of his little daughter." The man wept. He was threatened with destruction if he did not throw his daughter off the cliff simply because she was an invalid, threatened by the king. The one who came with Kea said the proof of guilt was just handed over on a platter. When the rider removed his hood, our hero recognized Kea, a member of the Order of 14 Knights. Kea asked Lari what people say is true. The king clarified the riders of the Order of the 14 Knights. The ruler began to justify that he was more devoted to his country than anyone else. A healthy population is the future of an empire. Our team went wild upon hearing the words, "Those who have been cursed from birth have no right to walk this earth." Larry explained that he used his position to solve the problem. Politics is not to be condemned, not if the emperor intervenes. Kea replied that there was only one problem. He hadn't come for that. Rumours had brought him here. The Information Guild said there was a task for a swordsman. When he heard that the mission was to take revenge on a gentleman from the castle, Larry got nervous, asked who dared to do it. Without waiting for an answer, ordered the guards to arrest everyone here and now. The people in the square were terrified. Everyone shouted that it wasn't him. The people were shaking, fearing the wrath of the ruler. Kea was stunned by this. He asked what Lari was doing. The young man was hired by the Order of the 14 Knights. He serves the shrine faithfully. Anything the village governor says now is against the laws of the sanctuary. Kea couldn't help himself. Said it's trash like him that's poisoning this continent. He doesn't realise who the trash really is. Larry shouted, "How dare the guy insult his castle master?" Lightning began to flash around Kea. He said the man's behaviour was beginning to irritate him. He advised him to take a closer look at who was standing in front of him. But after a couple seconds, the guy calmed down. He said in a calm tone that since it wasn't his assignment, he wouldn't interfere. The next second, Kea swung her sword and Larry was finished. He didn't even realise what had happened. Realising that the Lord is gone and they are saved, the villagers rejoiced and cried, thanking the glorious knight. All teammates received a message that the remaining quest point in the Damnut Mountain mine had been completed. Mose was right about that. Sharon called out to Mose and handed him the letter. She said she found it in the mine. The hunchback must have left it for him. The young man was surprised at the letter and immediately began to read it. The hunchback wrote as promised, left the cave. The guy made a diagram that showed where the ship was. He didn't know what was inside. He was afraid to go in there himself, but Mose could. Our hero wondered, a ship? From where? But then a disgruntled Kea called out to him. The girl indignantly said he had no idea how long it had taken her to get here, and it wasn't an easy trip. Would he really have a conscience? But then the guy came up to his girlfriend and said he missed her. It's been a while. The girl was confused and relieved. After a while, they were sitting in the tavern discussing the letter. Kea asked if Mose needed an assistant and thought it would be her. Suddenly, Sharon asked Mose who the girl was. The Elfess thought for a moment, didn't know how to explain. Then she answered that, in short, they were colleagues. That phrase hit the guy like a shoe on the head. He choked on his drink. Uncle began to encourage Mose, seeing the young man's reaction. Kea giggled and said it was what the immortals would call their relationship. Mose, hoping for something more than a colleague, calmed himself. He thought he still had to find the ship before he could leave the location. As we descended back into the mine, our hero noted that the place was quieter, probably because the Varans had left. The young man approached the water. This was the place the letter had mentioned, but there was no sign of a ship. But as soon as he took another step toward the shore, a frigate suddenly emerged from under the water. Message: the ruins of the celestial ruler's ship have been discovered. The system asked if Mose wanted to use the Lucky Destroyer skill and turn the find into a core. The young man confidently confirmed by pressing the yes button. There was a huge flash, then the core in which the ship was sealed appeared in front of him. He now had a legendary transportation celestial ruler with a maximum of 850 passengers. On the way out of the mine, Mose met Kea. He said he was surprised and intrigued. It was the first time he'd seen an immortal so often. Our hero said, "I didn't think he would be here too." The knight replied that Demant Castle was of interest to both of them. Mose timidly asked. They would probably blame Kea for the destruction of the king. Kea replied that he didn't, according to the code of the Order of the 14 Knights. Ruse interrupted. Kea had broken the law. But the young man reassured him. The Order does indeed act according to the established principles. What Mose had said was true. But our hero needs to know that Kea is as human as he is. Rayabta did the right thing. He hates those who torture and keep people in fear. The knight has said he wanted to thank him and that young swordswoman, and that was all. After saying that, Kea left. Our hero long looked after the departing member of the Order of Knights and in his head replayed the words that he is the same person. When Mose returned to the village, he found his friend in a bad state. The girl said that the last few cups had been too much yesterday. Kea laughed and said that she had made some new friends yesterday. He was glad to hear that she thought they were. Kea explained that she likes immortals. They have no prejudices about this world. She is treated as a human even though she is half-elf. Walking down the stairs, the girl looked back and said so she liked Mose. Our hero was a little confused. He froze, scratching the back of his head. He couldn't say anything. On the way down, her friend brought the guy to his senses and told him it was lunchtime. He should hurry up. The dining room was crowded. The comrades asked Mose what his plans were. He was thinking of finding a new quest. Uncle and Gale were delighted at our hero's offer to join him. When Giles said he wasn't afraid of anything with Mose, Sharon stepped in. She said the guy had to earn his own fame. Arguing among themselves, the companions finished their meal and left. Mose and Kea remained at the table. The friend asked our hero where they would go this time. The guy said he hadn't thought about it yet, probably back to Aspargan. The girl became visibly sad, but our hero held out his hand to her and offered to go with them. Kea was glad and agreed. The comrades were given a big surprise. They were headed for a trip on a ship. Everyone was amazed. I could only hear the exclamations, "Chic glitter." "What is it? You're kidding." Kea wondered with surprise where the boy had gotten the ship from. The young man replied that it had come by itself. A creature appeared in the room. Mose introduced Elsha, the fairy of the shining tree, the guardian spirit and backbone of the ship. The fairy greeted the guests. She announced that she was steering the ship on the orders of her new master. They would soon reach their destination on the continent of Aspargan. Our hero was surprised at the speed of the journey. They just sat down and arrived at their destination. Kea asked Mose if he was a wizard of the White Fortress or something. The young man laughed and said that of course not. Mose beckoned his comrades to follow him. They headed towards the Information Guild. There was a crowd outside the guild building, all clamouring and jostling. Mose made his way closer to the door. A guild employee stood on the doorstep and apologised. All the Information Guild offices on the continent had closed. The team was shocked how all the offices in Aspargan could close down at once and why. A man appeared and announced that everyone should gather in the square. Our hero thought it was a bad thing. Running up to the square, the young man couldn't believe it. It was a live broadcast of Scheme TV. It was a live video blog. Everyone saw the bodies on the screen. There were whispers that if it was a hoax, it was a bad one. A man appeared on the screen. He reported that the scheme was under their control. The Immortals cannot stop the broadcast on their own. The NPS addressed the Immortals. As predicted, they came to this land, but who let them? The sun goddess Bellica, or Belus the moon goddess, is not. They entered this world without permission. No one likes this presence because Immortals have invaded this world to destroy loot and cheat the locals. The outsiders really thought the villagers would just stand by and watch. Behold, in a moment the lives of these invaders will be cut short, but they cannot return to their world. Mose clenched his fists in rage. There were innocent people being bullied on the screen. The knight on the screen claims to be Lidorn, Prince of Logis. He declares war on the Immortals. Lidorn was calm, but some players were inhuman. He decided to confront the Immortals who were committing atrocities. There was panic on the forums. Some expressed sympathy for Lidorn. Some were concerned that the AI was too intelligent. In no time at all, nearly 1 million players rallied to fight back against the tyranny of Lidorn. Mose and his mates set out on their ship. The girl came up and treated her comrade to a mug of tea. Looking into his glass, our hero asked the girl what she thought about all this. Taking a sip of her drink, he replied that she didn't have any particular thoughts. She was just surprised. After a little silence, she added, "It's probably because she's been in war since she was born. Whether it's a war with fate so you don't get abandoned by your parents, or a war with the wolves so you don't become their prey, a slave girl's desperate struggle for her survival, or the war against those who make fun of her for mixing blood. Kea had to defend herself all her life, so other people's squabbles were left out." Our hero started to apologise, but the girl looked out the window and said it's all in the distant past. Everything's fine now. A magician once said that their world was unstable. The passages between dimensions are constantly opening and closing. Every race that doesn't belong on this world came from another reality. And elves are one of those races. Our hero replied that he didn't know all that. At first, the elves were persecuted, but now the two civilizations have finally found common ground, although half-bloods are treated with contempt. Now there were immortals like Mose, bright and brave individuals. Sometimes they caused trouble. The truth is, civilizations have evolved because of them. Many of the locals have grown to love the immortals. The young man timidly asked, what did the girl personally think of people like him? Kia replied that she likes immortals. They don't call her a half-blood subhuman or a half-elf. To them, she's just Kia. Looking with a smile at the boy, Kia said he was one of them. Mose thanked her for saying that. Kia added, I wonder what would happen if everyone looked at the world the way he and his friends do. Mose thought some didn't understand or accept the players. Lydorn, for example. Maybe he has his own motives. It's always hard to watch other people's grief and suffering, except that the method of fighting he chose is harming the innocent. The problems don't get any smaller. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what drives him. It can't be done, and our hero will put an end to it. The sky was covered with clouds, and it was raining. There were countless bodies lying on the battlefield. The wounded young man lamented that an entire army of players and NPS had been wiped out in the blink of an eye. Lydorn was impossible to defeat, he commanded. Black Griffin cavalry forward. Our team listened to the latest news. The Rose Riot Guild was the first to head to the inventory battle, and was completely annihilated. Lydorn has sent his cavalry to besiege the castles of Toika and Megis. Kia said the situation was getting worse. Mose replied that we should help. The uncle asked if our hero was planning to fight now. The young man replied how else could he? He has to do something too. Mose asked what the other guys thought. He's not going to force anyone. Let them decide for themselves, but it's very dangerous out there. To the great surprise of our hero, the comrades, as one replied that they also wanted to join. The uncle explained that Mose was obviously stronger than any of them, but if the young man agreed to lead them, they would follow him. Sharon added that the team must have a leader. No one can do it better than Mose. Gale was also supportive. The young man was confused. He began to explain that he was not the right person to command them. Seeing Kay's reproachful look, Mose pulled himself together. He said if his comrades really believed him, they would be his comrades in this fight. The friends replied that they had nothing to fear if they were led by Mose. They would follow him to the ends of the earth. The Elfisters said she was Kea. The swordswoman of Aspargana promises to help Mose until the very end. Our hero thanked each of them and promised that he would always go forward. Meanwhile, one army has 20 warriors left on the battlefield. 10 of them have low health. The balloon was called by King Tiger. He had most of his warriors dead as well. There were almost no warriors left. The armies could fight no further. It was decided to join forces. The squad was about to move towards the river to help King Tiger, but one of the warriors caught the commander's eye. There was an army of black griffins closing in on them. The commander was shocked that they had gotten here so quickly. He commanded his warriors to run as fast as they could toward the plain. There they could join the others. The commander himself stayed on the battlefield to buy time for his comrades. The end was near. But suddenly the battlefield was illuminated by a bright light. The griffins retreated. It was a knight in a white cloak. He was using magic to hold back Lydorn's army. He ordered the others to flee. The warriors recognized him, the guy who first entered the White Tower. It was him, the third in the official ranking of mages, the famous Kellyan. Then there was an argument in the camp. The troop commander was angry that almost 11,000 users and NPS had been wiped out. Kellyan said they were lucky to be alive at all and able to get out of there. The commander was raging, shouting what they were doing while they were killing soldiers on the front line. One of the squad captains rushed to the commander, grabbing the insolent man by the chest. Kellyan said, "It's not time to get into a fight. We need to build a camp as soon as possible and set up for defense." But the discussion of plans was interrupted by some noise outside. Everyone looked around. An enemy attack had begun. One of the commanders shouted, "All tanks to stand in the first line of defense, DDs to the rear, put spells on the tanks." Kellyan watched as everyone listened to the orders to replenish mana supplies move. The young man looked in the distance at the approaching black cloud of the opposing troops and wondered if they would be able to hold out. At this time, Lydorn turned to his loyal comrades. They followed him, renouncing country from throne from honor. Their loyalty to their lord is such that not even the sun goddess Bellica can outshine it. Lydorn said he had foolishly entrusted his soul to the Lord Aina. He commanded the knights to follow the angry prince forward. If he can take a fraction of the enemy's dishonor with him to hell, he's willing to die 100 times over. The prince ordered the black griffins to spread their wings, and they flew to attack the army of foot. In this battle, Kellyan's forces were running out. If this went on, their entire army would be wiped out. He wondered what to do. Then Kellyan got a message that an Elsha player was requesting 1,000 mana. He was surprised. but there was no time and approved the request. To everyone's surprise, a huge ship appeared over the heads of the troops. Here a shower of light began to fall from the ship's cannons, covering nearly 2,000 men. The warriors were confused. They could not understand what was happening and who was coming to help them. The commander commanded to go on the offensive while the enemy was confused. The battle was on. Meanwhile, on the deck of the ship, Moose asked his crew members if everyone was ready. "I've given orders for them to march. Their group is to march against Prince Lidorn." Lowering himself to the ground with a light beam, Mose commanded his team into battle. The comrades joined the battle. During the battle, unexpectedly, the enemy crept up on our hero from behind, but the enemy was struck by a magic beam of light. The young man saw this mage. He introduced himself, Kellyan. He thanked Mose. Thanks to him, Kellyan had escaped death. Mose introduced himself and said it was a pleasure to meet you. Kellyan helped him up and replied, "I didn't know there was a player with such a huge flying ship." At this point, Kia, fending off her enemies, nervously said that now was not the time for pleasantries. The guys agreed that they would talk later and went back into battle. Mose realized it wasn't as simple as he thought. Each of the opponents was equal in strength to a small squad of ordinary warriors. Our hero decided that in this case he would have to use the sword of Atoria, and the fiery battle began. After a few blows, our hero realized that he was suddenly too far away among the enemies. Kia was next to him. The young man asked if his friend was all right. He asked her if she was all right, and when she answered in the affirmative, he told her not to be afraid, that he would protect her. But the mischievous elf replied that she could handle herself and rushed to the attack, telling Mose to watch himself. Our hero thought there was something he could do now and took up the flaming sword again. Above the cliff, the young man saw Lidorn. He thought they had met. Our hero jumped up, and the next second the enemy jumped towards him. Lidorn was so strong that Mose realized he would not withstand the onslaught of his sword for long. The enemy threw our hero back a few meters. The guy fell to the ground with a thud. The young man couldn't get up right away. Everything around him was floating. The system reported that dizziness was applied. Lindorn had already swung his sword over Mose's head, but suddenly he was covered by Uncle's shield. The enemy asked if he had decided to get in his way. That's very presumptuous. The prince asked if they knew why he was called the White Wolf of Logis, because those who oppose him are killed by his wolf fangs. And then, as if from the sky, a sword appeared and struck Uncle from the back. The man was surprised that it hit him with one blow. He said how painful it was and fell to his knees. Looking back at our hero, Uncle said that apparently he was the first to leave. The young man shouted for Uncle, but he disappeared like a hologram, leaving a bright trail. Lidorn announced that our hero would be next and got into a fighting stance. Mose was seized with rage. He activated the effects of Atoria's solar rage kit, screamed that he would destroy Lilorn with his own hands. It was a fast-paced confrontation. During the fight, the opponent noticed the guy seemed to be getting stronger by the second. Our hero managed to throw the enemy away. Sitting on the ground, he thought that, apparently, immortals also have feelings, and the death of a comrade in arms hurts them. The enemy staggered to his feet, but Mose was already on the attack. When the blades met, Lidorn asked if the dead man was also immortal. A tragedy too. The prince said the young man can imagine what went through his mind when he was forced to say goodbye forever. Fury swept over the prince. His level began to rise. Mose thought he was strong before, but now it's just brutal. Lidorn shouted that the players were immortal criminals. They have no right to walk this earth. The prince has told our hero to look into the eyes of doom. He carries the sword of vengeance and has come to punish. And then an enemy blade flashed behind him. Mose didn't have time to fully dodge, and the sword struck him in the shoulder. The young man fell to the ground. The enemy said they are not masters of this world. They think they can do whatever they want. Lidorn shouted, who gave them the right to dispose of the lives of those he cared about, demanded the immortal answer. Our hero heard someone calling him and said that they were here. He looked back and saw Sharon and Gale running to his aid. The enemy said apparently Gale has someone close to him. Our hero yelled for Sharon and Gale to run away. But in the next second, Gale was already pierced by an enemy blade. The insidious enemy said to make Mose feel his own powerlessness while he destroys the people close to his heart. The young man shouted for Lidorn to stop, but a blade was already approaching Sharon. The next second, someone said to wait a second. Sharon pushed away from Kellyan's sword. The enemy's sword slammed into the ground, and Mose's comrades were gone. Kia, meanwhile, fought her opponents on the battlefield. Suddenly it started to rain. The girl looked up and said that it was not a good time. And then she saw the confrontation between Mose and Lidorn in the distance. Our hero grabbed the knight by the chest and asked him to stop all this. But the prince replied that they were selfish hypocrites, real monsters who profit from Belika's blessing. The grief of the immortals is a mirage of self-delusion. It lasts a few days, then they return to their world again. But the flame of his beloved Ain's life was forever extinguished because of the likes of Mose. These men always came again, he always destroyed them, And does the guy know that one day they said enough is enough, they were sick of playing? That's how everything that happens here for Immortals is just a game. Our hero remembered how in his world people were having fun discussing the game, going through a couple of territory capture quests or ranked fighting games. The prince knew that not all players are like that. However, those who break the laws and commit lawlessness are always immortal. That's why Lydorn's here to solve this problem once and for all. Mose still thinks he has the power to stop him. There's enough power. What could they do to counteract his anger? Our hero mentally recognized Lydorn's point, but he couldn't back down. For those who fight hard and for Kay, he's the only one who can defeat the prince, and let the son's rage not work, he must cope and put an end to it. During the scramble, Mose noticed his opponent's weak point and wanted to attack. Lydorn replied that the guy thought he'd found his weakness, but he's in a hurry, so Doom opened its arms to the player. The opponent's sword dealt enormous damage to Mose. He had 20% left. The guy thought he was going to die like that. But then our hero heard someone calling his name. That voice was Kia. The girl ran as fast as she could. She shouted to Mose to hold on, she was coming. Lydorn was surprised that this girl wasn't one of the Immortals. When our hero saw his girlfriend, he panicked. He yelled for her to leave now. The prince asked if she knew the guy. When she answered in the affirmative, he was surprised that she was willing to sacrifice her only life for some player. Mose shouted in desperation to Kia no, but the girl confidently replied that she was ready. This man is dear to her. Kia said it doesn't matter to her that he's immortal. She can't let his eyes close for even a second. She would die for this man. She doesn't care if he's different. Lydorn didn't understand why she even. Kia replied that she had nothing to object to his desire to get his way. He had made his decision after all. He could judge her. The enemy said it was fine since the girl chose to die. The enemy's sword began to approach the elf's head. Our hero could not allow it, and from the last strength threw his blade to repel the attack. Lydorn screamed that even now, how dare he, and brought his blade over the unarmed Moses' head. At the last second, our hero managed to summon the Sword of Charm, and the enemy, not expecting such a thing, was struck by this blade. The prince said the kid thinks it's over, but Lydorn is just the spark that will start the fire. Others will step into his shoes and start a war. Kia and Mose looked in silence at the knight lying in the rain, dead for his ideals. Mose said they did it. I got a message that the Prince of Rebellion quest is complete. The young man has a new level. Mose ran up to her friend and began to shake her, shouting, asking why she was risking herself. Exhaling, he whispered if she had died. The girl touched his face and replied that it was necessary to defeat Lydorn. The two men hugged each other tightly. The rain washed away their tears. The boy asked her never to do that. The girl agreed. Kia quietly suggested that Mose pray for Lydorn. He agreed, and the two warriors prayed for the soul of their former enemy. The tragic story of Lydorn changed a lot of things in the world of the scheme. In the kingdom of Logis, the Lydornians appeared hostile to the players. They decided to continue Lydorn's work, and the innocent players suffered again. The White Tower soon established the magic of branding. This allowed both NPCs and players to detect trolls. The Information Guild has set a bounty on the heads of such personalities. A real hunt for internet trolls in virtual reality has begun, and our hero became the object of no-nonsense controversy, as he was considered the heavenly ruler because of the ship. Now he couldn't move around without attracting attention. It was a good thing people were still absorbed in arguing about whether he was an NPS or not. However, if he is unlucky, everything will turn out so that About Quiet Travel can be forgotten. After Lydorn's death, Moses' heart was heavy, but Kia was able to persuade him to take a vacation and go to her homeland. So now, they were on their way to the girl's hometown of Adjara. Elsha reported that preparations for Moses' training have been completed. The internal walls of the ground floor have been further reinforced. The young man took Sharma in one hand for practice, and in the other, another engraved sword that he had received after defeating Lydorn, Karma. Taking Karma in his hands, our hero thought that with this sword the prince was destroying his companions. With the receipt of Karma, Mose learned the new skill of 2 engraved swords at once. The strength increased by 8%. This skill allows him to use runes to direct his swords at a chosen target. The young man can now use ranged techniques, which is very convenient. Needless to say, the attack power has increased substantially. But there was one thing our hero couldn't handle too yet, and when he caught them, he always fell to the ground. Once again, getting up off the floor, the guy was angry and thought it sucked. This way he couldn't protect anyone. And like a fool, he'll stand by and watch the people he cares about die. At this rate, he'll lose them all. Clenching the sword in his fist, he thought he had to practice more. You can't stop. The young man shouted that he would try until he succeeded. He wouldn't budge. A visibly frazzled Mose came out of the training room. He grumbled that he could barely catch one sword, and he had 2. Kia was already waiting in the guy's room. He was finally done. The guy was filthy just to look at him. The girl tossed the comrade some clean clothes. He was a little surprised. The system reported Ajaris's linen shirt was rare. Kia explained that the boy would wear it when he got himself cleaned up. They're clothes from her town. He should dress up. They're going to her. The young man thanked and said he would do it now. The girl was in a hurry. But his thoughts did not leave him. He clutched his clothes tightly in his hands and said mentally that he had to become stronger. Meanwhile, somewhere on the continent, a gentleman asked a servant if he had brought everything. He told the director that it was still warm. He handed over a small balloon. The man smiled gloatingly and said that's why he couldn't stop playing. Arriving in the free city of Ajaris, our hero was amazed at how huge it was. The girl replied that he was. The elfess narrated, "Rumour had it that in the White Tower of the White Tower, Ruse's alchemists, secret servants of the Empire, were conducting experiments with oil without restraint. The place became a wasteland. However, Geyser, the wisest of the elves, blessed the land by sacrificing his soul. That's how the free city of Ajaris came to be." Mose asked why it was free. Kia explained that they had no specific ruler. The boy wondered how criminals were dealt with. Kia explained, "A conglomerate. Representatives of each race participate in the discussion. So Mose will be able to hear a lot of different opinions from different races in town on any given subject." The young man reflected. Not so long ago, this game had been his chance to make ends meet. He had gone through many hardships, made new friends, and even completed a team quest for the first time. During my travels, I managed to join a group of swordsmen. Being both Mose and Lee Ki-ho has been fortunate to start building relationships with wonderful people. So in his last battle with Lydorn, he made an important decision for himself. It is his duty to protect those he cares about. Kia called out to her friend and asked him what he was thinking about. He replied that it was nothing. The girl took the guy's hand and pulled him along, saying she had a lot to show him. But Mose never left his thoughts. Looking at her smile, the young man vowed to protect Kia no matter what it took. Walking into a pub, the friends tried a local drink. Our hero was pleasantly surprised. It was so tasty. A red-haired, bearded man who looked like a dwarf came up to Kia. He said hello and said it had been a long time. The girl rejoiced at such a pleasant encounter. They clapped each other's hands. His name was Lorad. Kia introduced her buddy Mose. She recommended that although he was small in stature, his ears were definitely the biggest in all of Ajaris. The words about his beautiful voice that didn't falsify at all made the man stiffen. Our hero gladly extended his hand and shook the new acquaintance firmly. When he noticed the ring on the young man's finger, Lorad realized that he was also a swordsman. He asked what brought him to Ajaris. A friend explained that they're not here for work. They were here on vacation. The girl laughed and said, "A lot of people think that swordsmen only show up to stir up trouble." Her acquaintance replied that he too thought the swordsmen were here on the same case. Kia wondered what this case was about. Lorad unwrapped the package and showed the girl a small black sphere. Kia didn't understand if it was marble or medicine. An acquaintance explained that this stuff is called vanetic, a new psychotropic substance that's absorbed through the skin. It's easy to get it at Ajaris. Even children have no problem finding a portion. But the elders of Ajaris had banned such substances. Kia confirmed that they couldn't allow it. Many immortals came to Ajaris. The city began to grow with the construction of new factories, and everything was fine. Until every local bar started selling vanetic. No one knows when that happened. And then, a group of people came into the bar. Lorad said they were vanetic dealers. They have their own guild and a giant potion factory. The villagers assume that's where the forbidden substance is made. Mose looked at the boys carefully. They were all players. Kia inquired as to the name of their guild. Lorad answered Pickup Boys. The guild held a nightclub in one of the local castles. It was loud and crowded. The director approached the waiter and asked who was on the night shift tonight. He answered, 3 half-elves and 6 limpets. The headmaster wasn't happy. He shouted that he needed at least 5 half-elves. The receptionist came out to the noise. He asked me to keep the noise down. He said that tonight's guests were from Valum. The director was quiet. Half-elves from Valum are nothing to be afraid of. All right, then. He had the waiter bring them here, take them for the night, and to make sure they didn't get a scratch on them. One of the guys our friend saw at the bar walked into the principal's office. He asked the principal if he had already made up his mind. He answered in the affirmative. Sitting down in a chair, the guy told me that he had seen something interesting in the bar last night. A half-elf in the company of a strange player. When the director heard about the half-elf, he asked if there was a picture. The boy took out a photo of our friends and showed it to me. When the director saw the photo, he shouted that it was exactly what he wanted. He ordered me to bring it over right away. In the morning, Kia treated her guest to an Ajaru-style stewed rotto. The young man was amazed that the girl had made it herself. When he tasted it, he said it was delicious. Kia was glad he liked it. The girl said that her friends Shira and Farah would be here soon. She wanted them to meet Mose. But the peaceful breakfast didn't last long. Lorad burst into Kia's house. He was worried about something. Mose asked his new friend what had happened. He replied that something terrible had happened. The guys need to pack up quickly and go with him. Lorad welcomed the comrades to the hospital. The doctors were running around terrified. They didn't understand what the poisoning was, but it wouldn't stop. Kia recognized her friend Shira on one of the beds, and the guy wriggling on the bed asking for a bathtub. The girl wailed, "Farah, poor man, the elf was not like himself. His whole body was covered in spots. He was delirious." Our hero saw the veins in his neck, tried to figure out what was going on. Kia was horrified. She asked Laura to explain something to her. The friend said that the two men had been forced to take the substance by those guys. Mose remembered those guys he saw at the bar last night. They were pickup artists. Our hero gritted his teeth in anger. The strangers not only started distributing illegal substances, but they had forced Kay's friends to take it. The girl was crying looking at her friends. Seeing Kia crying for the first time in her life, our hero decided that there was no forgiveness for them. Mose said those who did this to her friends would be punished. He'll take care of it personally. The guy said he'd go to any lengths to make it happen. The friend asked if he swears on Bellica's name. He said he did. The boys changed their clothes and went to the place Lorad had told them about. Sitting in the hospital, a friend told him that Shira and Farah had managed to tell him that they had received an invitation from a troll minion. Lorad was crying, telling me that a friend's birthday was coming up. A favourite bard was coming to town and they were so excited about the invitation. The redhead friend was complaining that it was all his fault. I should have stopped them. As they approached the building, Kia thanked Mose for coming with her. The girl said she wanted to chop those inside into small pieces, even if she has to sell her soul to the devil to do it. Mose agreed they're unforgivable. They're the reason the Lidorn show up. Our friends went to the door of the club, but the security guard wouldn't let them in. Tonight is for VIPs only. The place is reserved for this evening, but an exception is made for half-elves. The girl can use any room in the castle. Mose got nervous, but the guard said it was the organizer's order. The guy explained that he was escorting a girl, but the guard didn't care. The security guard explained that the young man was not a half-elf, so he should just leave peacefully. Mose was getting angry and was ready to swear. At that moment, Kia started to go inside. Mose was shocked. He started to rush in and yell for the girl to come back. The elfess walked over and told her friend not to worry. She would just see what was going on and come back. Powerless to do anything in such a situation, Mose looked at Kea in horror and said if anything happened to her, he wouldn't stand for it. The girl walked over and took her friend's clenched hand in a fist. She asked him to give her 2 hours. If she doesn't come back in that time, Mose can do whatever he wants. Reluctantly, the guy agreed. In parting, Kea bowed and said that truth is revealed only to the sword. Our hero bowed similarly. The girl said, "See you soon," and the doors of the dreaded castle slammed shut behind her. Mose thought he was tempted to turn this place upside down and take the castle apart brick by brick, but we have to wait. I mean, he trusts Kay. The girl, meanwhile, was advancing through the bustling hall. There were many bright lights and cheerful people, but as soon as our heroine crossed the threshold, she was followed by the guy who was assigned to bring her here. The girl walked between the guests in concentration. She wondered where they were who had done this to Shira and Farah. Suddenly someone called out to Kea. He said hello, asked if she came here alone. Looking around, the elfess saw the very same illegal substance dealer who was in the bar then. The girl laughed heartily, confirmed she was alone. She started to say that it was so interesting here. The man grabbed her by the waist and said that since she was alone, he'd show her around, if that's okay with her. Her first thought was that someone was about to be left without an arm, but it was too soon, and out loud she sweetly agreed, saying that would be great. Meanwhile, our hero outside was not finding a place to be. He waited for the appointed hour. When he heard a familiar voice, he rushed over to Kea. He asked if she was okay. She said her ears were numb, but she was fine. The girl pointed behind her and told Mose that this young man had graciously agreed to tell them everything he knew. Tied up on all fours was the same man. He was cursing and saying that the guys had no idea who they were messing with. He demanded to be released, threatened that they wouldn't be able to stay alive after that. Our hero wounded the criminal's left shoulder with a single swing of his sword. He wailed in pain. Mose threatened that he'd better tell the truth. Otherwise, he'd be in for a personal trip to hell. Gritting his teeth, the enemy thought he'd have to cooperate. The cunning one began to play the panic game. He apologized and said it wouldn't happen again. Our hero ordered the hostage to straighten up and look at him. He produced a balloon and asked if this substance was theirs. The enemy began to sneak around. Mose put his sword under his nose and said he knew what he was thinking. The hostage started yelling that he didn't know anything about the manufacture. The Venetic is made by a man named Jason. Our hero asked, "He's a player too." The man confirmed, "He's a level 57 alchemist. He works for Director Choi." Mose asked who Director Che was. The opponent said that the representative director of NG Tech is Choi Sofo. Kia heard it was one of the player companies. Lorad told her about them. The hostage began to bang his head on the ground and moaned that if they found out they would bury him alive, begged to be let go. Kia turned around and said they'd found out what they wanted. "They're going to leave the bio-waste here." Mose agreed. "They're on their way." The enemy was angry and thought he had them memorized. Now they're finished. He will destroy them both. Mose took a couple steps back and asked casually, "There are a couple of joints behind this guy, right?" Our hero looked back and told him not to think about revenge. He would deal with him now. He'll just answer for everything. Meanwhile, the club director was waiting for his assistant. He grumbled that as soon as he gave him a little leeway, he went off somewhere. The administrator asked the principal not to worry. He would have it soon. He scolded and asked when. The director asked unhappily, "The guy thinks he'll get away with making a Vanitic. Why do we have to wait so long for delivery?" The man started yelling that he told me to bring it in right away. Now he's just going to sit there and do nothing. The young man apologized and promised that he would order his boys to take care of the delivery as soon as possible. The waiters were the next to be scandalized. The director asked what they were doing here and sent them away. Meanwhile, a former hostage was found on the street. He kept apologizing and asking for forgiveness. They did not understand his comrade. He had made up his mind. An insane guy had some blue liquid poured into his mouth that cost a lot of money. He coughed and regained consciousness. He told me that he had been kidnapped by a half-elf and a player. One of the criminals realized they were the ones Director Choi was talking about. They seem to have left a while ago, so they can't be far away. This man ordered me to contact the people in the village, have them destroy everything in Azarus, make sure there's not a stone left unturned. The perp said they'd pay for everything. Now it's war. When our friends returned to the village, it was chaos. Houses were on fire and people were injured. The boys did not understand what was happening. Kia ran straight into Lorad's bar. There was a sign on the wall saying that if they wanted to save the dwarf, they had to come to the Troll's Tongue. Mose asked, is it really because of them? The pickup men decided to massacre the village. The girl says she will not forgive them, praying for Lord Ediat and promising to tear those things to pieces. The guys went to the enemy's lair, saying it was time to visit the Troll's Tongue. On Scheme TV, Jihyun talked about the location where the holy treasure will be brought. It was announced that soon the eye of the new humanity would show its power to all. Jihyun said that the holy treasure was on the roof. Everyone saw that a sphere had risen above the tower's spire. A glow appeared around it. The girl said they were about to find out what it could do, as a huge flash of light appeared, screamed what it was. The glow faded and some symbols appeared over the city. They're about to be deciphered. Jihyun read the message. I have grasped all the secrets of this world. You people will see the greatest thing you have ever seen. Players got a message that everyone would now see the hidden rankings. It's revealed that Mose is number 1. In Troll Tongue, all players received messages with popularity rankings too, and Mose was recognized. The criminals were also discussing the information about the holy treasure, and they were considering the new ranking system. While the 6 were discussing the first place that this man had nothing at all to do from the balcony, came the scraps of phrases, "It will arrive here." The principal got marks on his neck like the guys at the hospital. He asked when. The receptionist said the package was on its way. The deputy reported hearing it a little wild. It's going to take a lot of effort to tame. The director poured himself a drink and said that taming was his specialty. He could do it. It's boring when they're obedient. Choi was just about to tell me to bring someone else to him, but then he saw our guys coming into the club. He said he looked cooler in person. The man looked at me with a grin, said he expected less, but this was a gift, doesn't want to wait any longer. To a crowd of his henchmen, the principal ordered our boys to be dragged to him. The first to come out was the assistant director. He introduced himself. Jason is the master of the pickup guild. The guests seemed to be having a good time with their boys. He said if our heroes go where they shouldn't, he'll tell us what the consequences are. He sent his henchmen to attack the boys, shouted that the boss wanted the girl alive. Jason saw the message, NG Tech and Mose get potential enemy status. When he saw the familiar name, he realized who was in front of them. Mose is the most popular player. Watching the guy deal with enemies through non-contact combat, Jason started to get angry that the first of the ranked players was doing here. Seeing what was happening, the enemy realized it was time to leave. He didn't stand a chance, but Moses' sword was already flying toward him. Jason put up a barrier, but as soon as the sword touched, the entire defense collapsed. A message about the Sword of Karma appeared in front of him. He couldn't believe his eyes. A legendary artifact, but it was already but flying towards him. Jason had just had time to think they'd messed with the wrong guy before the sword did its thing. This time our hero managed to catch both swords. Go's skill level has been increased. Mose wondered where Choi Sopyo was. He was the only one left alive. The man, meanwhile, was running down the corridor of his castle, wailing without realizing what was happening. He was swearing that this guy was first on the list. What's a rancher doing in this dump? How dare he? A man got into the car, shouting that he was Choi Seop Ho, the head of NG Tech. This guy thinks he'll get away with it. Driving away from this castle, Choi summoned the NG Tech's emergency security system. He ordered a team to be assembled right away. He hit the gas and shouted that he was on his way to them. If they don't get ready in time, he'll blow their heads off. When Director Choi entered the building, the guards were already standing on both sides of the hallway and greeted him. The head of security asked if he woke everyone up in the middle of the night because he was drugged again. The principal started being rude, said he wasn't going to listen to a lecture. The head of security asked how long this would last, because if the president finds out, Choi grabbed his tie and shouted that he was nuts. The principal told him to shut up, asked if he had a hearing problem. The head of security asked if the director was aware that the Information Guild had announced that pickup artists were to be eliminated. Choi told Director Park to cut the crap. The company is on the verge of collapse for various reasons. He can't figure it out. Then his business partners will go on fertilizer one by one, ordered to deal with the problem and not to push it. Approaching the vault door, Director Choi ordered it to be opened. Park obeyed. Following Sofo, Director Park ordered to stop anyone trying to enter there. Choi found an artifact in the vault. He said it was made for this kind of thing. Even Mose can be defeated with it. He was holding the earring of Varabarden, a legendary artifact that gives you an extra pocket. Our heroes approached the building. The guards were standing at the door and Puck said that they would not go any further. Mose replied that in that case they could bring Choi Sofo themselves and still be alive. The security director presented our friends with a suitcase full of Ormacons. The man said it was a lot of money, hinted at an amicable solution. Kia screamed that Choi would be held accountable for everything. He made her friends addicted to Vanitic. She's thinking of paying him off with money. Peck asked them if they had proof. They made a serious accusation. They need proof. The man explained that the boys could bring their company down. Mose said he didn't care. He demanded to see Choi Seopo alive. The head of security changed his tune, said the guys need to know their place. Why would the director come out to talk to them? Kea replied that he was a nasty piece of work. Beck replied that the world was a better place. But how would an NPC like her know that? Mose yelled at him to shut up. He'd make him eat dirt if he said anything like that again. The guards started giggling whether the young man's parents knew what he was doing. If the problem gets more serious, can he solve it within the law? Peck clarified. He's talking about the game as well. One of Ajaris's elders is on their side. If he attacks them, he can kiss Skemmer goodbye. Our hero pulled out his fire then and asked. The man finished his speech. A message popped up in front of Peck. Mose has declared war on NG Tech. They get enemy status. Peck grinned what war with the two of them. Who do they think he is? But the people around him were already starting to fall. Kia swore to the god of blades that she would destroy every one of them. Her level flashed to 101. All the guards were on the ground. Peck turned and saw that Mose was already behind him. The man started telling the kid to stay out of things he couldn't figure out. He'd regret it. Mose said that's exactly what Peck is doing. He thinks he's going to fix it because he can re-log in. He's wrong, because there will be nothing left of their organization. At that time, Inside Choi put on an earring. He said he didn't want to do it, but it seemed like he had no choice. The man picked up a lighter, said all the evidence had to go. That's where Lorad sat tied up. Setting fire to a box, said they'd blame the player who broke into the factory. Elder Swamp Sage will investigate as he's covering for them. Looking at the gnome, asked with a smile how he liked this plot. An unexpected turn of events, isn't it? Wandering around the factory, our comrades finally found Choi in one of the pavilions. Smiling wryly, Choi said it was the famous Mose. He honoured them with a visit. And what a cutie with him. The elves they brought in yesterday weren't half as good as her. Key was furious at those words. She shouted that Choi was a bastard, and then she attacked. There was a flash of light. The enemy grabbed the girl's sword with his bare hands. He said Kea was fast. It's nice to have a powerful weapon. The girl didn't understand how he did it. At that time, the opponent shouted that it was his turn and was about to attack. But our hero managed to repel the blow intended for his friend. The enemy flew aside. The incident caused chaos in Azuruz, and the local chapter of the Information Guild launched an investigation. They've investigated everything from the attack in Ash Village to the spread of Vanitic, including the arson at the NG Tech factory. A series of these events shocked the public. Because of this, the Information Guild was willing to meet with the Azkaris elders. Then Mose and Kea were declared suspects in the Vanity case. They were shocked when they found out. During the meeting, Mose was angry. They caught Choi but accused them of making the substances. Gaia said they wouldn't even touch them. Residents discussed that we first need to find the distribution channels of Vanitic. The Bush Elder thought the same thing, but the Bog Elder was interested in arson. At the trial, they announced that they wanted to hear from those who were in the building at the time of the fire before making a final decision. They said the older Swamp Elder would ask the first question. Mose didn't like the way he looked at them. The Swamp Elder asked what the guy's connection to the pickup artists was. They set the building on fire at the behest of the guild. The older man also asked that if he was not mistaken, both defendants were swordsmen. There's talk in the room that pickup artists are the guild of those immortals, and if they're swordsmen, then Mose admitted they were swordsmen. I wanted to explain that it didn't mean anything. The older man deliberately made it clear that they were on secret missions, and turned it around so that this time the swordsman had to start a fire at the NG Tech factory. The guys were in denial. Kia screamed that it wasn't true. But the Swamp Elder replied that he didn't expect any other answer. After all, for them, the mission must be secret. The man outlined, the case was that 2 swordsmen had been tasked by the pickup men to set fire to the factory. Mose shouted that it was baseless. And then the boy realized that Director Pack had said that one of Agioros's elders was on their side, and it was him. The prosecutor continued, a resident of Ash Village was attacked. Do they know who's behind it? Those present confirmed that all the witnesses pointed to the pickup artists. They said that all the attackers were from the same guild. Crowds clamoring that it's all the pickup artists' fault, and they hired these 2 to set the fire. The older one said that the pickup guys were cooking up a van and needed someone to divert the public's attention. Kia couldn't stand it and shouted that they dare not insult the swordsman. They would not tolerate such vile accusations. The man wouldn't stop, said swordsmen always cover their secrecy, even if it cost their reputation. The Bog Elder turned to the villagers and asked, isn't it clear that the swordsmen are guilty? They deny guilt because there is no proof. The prosecutor demanded that the boys be brought before the tribunal of Barwood and insisted that the medium's magical sentence be carried out. People started shouting that the guys had no proof they were innocent either. The young man didn't understand how it was possible. I wondered if they had already passed judgment on him. Someone showed up with papers in his hand, said that there was really no evidence. The guy who came in said he'd heard some snippets. They think that once they've talked it over among themselves, it's settled. He was in a hurry because the situation is serious and a special investigator is needed, but it seems like everyone here has decided to forget the chain of custody. The person who came introduced himself as Zyke, the Platinum Head of the Information Guild. Everyone saw the 211th level. Zeke said he familiarized himself with the case on his way here, could say it requires a thorough investigation. He said he thought it was too soon to pass judgment, or someone has a good reason for the rush. Mose looked at Zoik. The atmosphere in the court had changed. Everything was said clearly and to the point. It came out very effectively. Our hero wondered, his level and position in the guild. This is hardly an ordinary man, but why is he helping them? The Swamp Elder was furious. He shouted that they had everything they needed to convict him. They were the ones who destroyed Agiorus. Zeke asked the older man. He could provide proof, right? The Swamp Elder shouted, doesn't what they did already prove guilt, also a secret mission? Zeke asked the guys if they were on vacation. Kier confirmed that they had recently finished all their work and had been given a vacation. The head clarified, what were the guys doing at the factory when the fire broke out? Is this how it is customary to rest on your days off? Kier revealed that her close friends had been affected by the Vanitic influx, so she started her own investigation. It's personal. A man inquired about the result. The girl said that NG Tech was covering up for the pickup artists, so they went to Choi, who was in charge of everything. They later learned about the fire. Zeke asked about the evidence. Kier replied that everything was burned. The Bog Elder grinned that they had no proof, it was all made up. Zyke said it's serious, no jumping to conclusions. He thinks the swordsmen need to be questioned in more detail. He said that at the request of his seniors, he went to the special investigator, only there was no investigation. So the guild leader decided to start from scratch. The other elders said it sounded logical. A guard approached the boys and informed them that they would be going to the Information Guild of Agiorus. They explained that it wasn't their fault. Lorad appeared on the doorstep. He introduced himself and said he lived in Ashtree Village. He was kidnapped by Choi Seofo, the director of NG Tech. The gnome stated that he had valuable evidence for the special investigator. Our friends, along with everyone else, didn't realize what valuable evidence we were talking about. The Marsh Elder panicked. What evidence was he talking about? And the dwarf was late for the trial. They were already at the end of the day. The dwarf pulled back the collar of his shirt and everyone saw the mark. Zyke realized it was a memory crystal. The head asked, it must be a voice. The dwarf replied that he was correct. His contribution to the Lonbass tribe's war was noticed and appreciated. Lorad installed this crystal to work for intelligence. When the gnome activated the crystal, everyone in the room heard Choi's voice. The people listened to everything Sopyo told him before the fire, and that one of the elders of Agiorus was on their side. The Marsh Elder became visibly nervous. He wailed what it was. But then all the elders heard it. The Bog Elders would be in charge of the investigation. It's going to be an interesting case. Everyone present stared at Lorad with their mouths open. He said that the Engkek had kidnapped him. That's when he wrote it all down. The kidnapping was in retaliation for his friend's search for those responsible for the Venethicone production. If he hadn't gotten out, he would have burned to death in Choi's fire. Zyke got mad. He said this would not do. He turned to the oldest of the swamps and asked if he wanted to deceive the investigator and destroy Agiorus. The head was beside the elder in a flash. He listed how many had gotten addicted to the Venetic, how many had already died. Turns out the older man was involved in the trafficking. Zyke said he'd do whatever it took to put him away. The head announced that all the military knights and guards involved were going there with him. Returning to the frightened boys, Zyke apologized. He said he didn't recognize the heroes of Agiorus right away. announced that he is the platinum head of the Information Guild and a special investigator on behalf of the elders, closes the proceedings of the case. Our friends rejoiced. When they heard the verdict, Engitech and pickup artists were involved in the production and distribution of Vanitic. Swordswoman K's veracity has been proven. All charges have been dropped. The evidence was provided by one of the victims of the pickup artists and Engitech. Based on what was said, Zyke declared Swordswoman Kia and Swordsman Mose as heroes, who had contributed the most to the investigation of the case. Mose was flooded with messages from the system. He was promoted to a rank higher than the unique artifact. He also completed the quest. The young man was satisfied. He had completed a number of seemingly simple missions, and the result was simply amazing. After the incident, an article, The Dark Side of Engitech and Mose, appeared on the Schematic Wizard forum. It immediately flew to the top and became a topic of discussion. Every player wanted to comment on what happened. The site went down because of the huge number of comments. The moderator had to delete the article. When Kia and Mose were about to leave, all the villagers came to the town square. The young man thanked them for always being kind to him, and now they've come specifically to say goodbye to him. That's nice. The elders replied that they should be the ones to thank the boys. They feel indebted, but don't know how to thank them. The elders apologized for being mistreated despite their good deeds, a stupid mistake by Azaris' elders. As an apology, they prepared a small gift for the heroes. This thing from time immemorial can only be possessed by the elders, the Olentori. It is a unique magical portal stone. The boy looked at this gift and couldn't believe it. A teleportation stone. Was he really worthy of such an amazing thing? The elders responded that it's a small gift compared to how much the guys have helped the town. This is their respect and gratitude. The young man bowed and thanked. He said he was honored. The whole village waved to the departing ship. They wished them a safe journey and to take care of themselves. Our heroes watched the village recede from sight. Mose asked his friend where they were going now. Somewhere in the castle, a young man with sword in hand asked his opponent how he could do such a thing to his own. The black-clad man didn't let the guy speak and sent him to the other side with a single swing of his sword. Two other young men knelt before him. One said, "He is Larifa, the sword of Luswana." The other, "Azira, the sword of Luswana." The man in black said that this immortal became a swordsman. Leaving behind a pile of bodies, the man and his two newly minted minions set off. Said there was still much to be done. Someone even got to Sharon. She sat exhausted and tied up. Kellyan stood tied up. He knew those arseholes hated him, but to use the Talopi to determine the coordinates. Kellyan thought they hid them in the White Tower too. That Mose guy, see if he can find them. Mose's musings were interrupted by Kea. She asked where they were going next. The boy asked if she remembered his friend Sharon. Kea confirmed it. Is the archer who fought alongside the immortal. Our hero was worried. Ever since she disappeared with that wizard, he can't get in touch with her. He doesn't think she's dead. As long as the player is in the area where Mose once was, he can make contact with him. He has one blind spot left on the continent. Tikris is a city of entertainment and gambling. It is also a city of contrasts. A splendor and splendor worthy of its reputation, and hidden behind the shiny facade is the downside. When they docked in the city, Mose remarked that the ships here were so luxurious that even the Skyway paled in comparison. Kea replied that that was a good thing. Our hero's attention was drawn to a loud noise. Someone was shouting that he had lost everything again. A man near the slot machine shouted that it was all his savings, what to do now and how to live. Another couple of men and women were discussing that they had another 300 coins, and they were going to try the game again. Our heroes saw an alley with arcade machines here. That's what Laura told them. Kea remembered her friend's words. Tikris is a beautiful yet violent city. Their hope and despair live side by side. A Limpu bunny came out to meet the children. He greeted the travellers. He asked if they were interested in arcade games. Limpu introduced himself. Foshi is a guide to the local alleys. He offered to win an Ormacon in exchange for 3 silver pieces, game token. Our hero wondered if it was possible to get Ormacons in arcades. Foshi said it's in one of the machines. All the people are trying to get it. Limpu continued to entice by saying that there's no point in playing arcades just for the sake of it. There are greater riches to be gained. Our friends looked at each other. Kea noticed something, looking at the bunny. The girl bent down and asked the little boy for 10 tokens. He thanked her and said he would bring them to her. Mose was confused. He asked if Kea really wanted to play. The friend said it was okay to try it once. He ran away. The girl quietly told her friend that Limpu children are exploited here. They have no alternative. Limpu can't expect to get a proper job. They're like half-elves sent to gladiatorial fights when they can't walk. Foshi soon brought a bag of tokens and wished good luck to the mistress. Mose called the little boy over and handed him a coin, saying it was for him. Limpu couldn't believe his luck, asked why. The young man explained that the man was very friendly, so he wanted to give him a gift. That's for his heartiness and kindness. The guy punished him so he wouldn't lose it. Use that treasure wisely. Foshi clutched the coin in his hand and cried. He said thank you. He said he could pay for his little brother's treatment with it. The little boy thanked, bowed and wished that the Lord's journey would be bright and successful. When the Limpu ran away, the young man told his friend that they would check to see if the luck in his inventory had run out yet. After a while, the guys were walking through town laughing. Mose said he'd blown it. Kia asked if he had really hoped to win the Ormacon. The friends didn't notice how they reached Tikris's information guild. As soon as they stepped inside, they were greeted by a girl and asked if they were the ones who had recently contacted them. The staff member announced that she would move them to a designated room. In a moment, they were already in a different place. They were met by Viren, the head of the Tikris Information Guild. He extended his hand and said he was glad to meet them. The man clarified, "So our friends are looking for someone here." Kia replied that they were looking for an immortal mage and an archer. Viren thought about it. An immortal and a mage is quite rare. There is information about one student of the White Tower who fits the description. The man said the only player he can think of is Kellyan, a truly unique player. Originally, immortals were not welcome in the White Tower. However, Kellyan had discarded his status as a player. The young man began to behave exactly like the locals. He fit perfectly into their world and became a full-fledged wizard in his senior year at the White Tower. But that's why a lot of mages hate him. Mose asked what he did wrong. Viren said he might be able to find out where Kellyan is now, but first the boys have to do him a favour. Our heroes were surprised to hear such a question. Kia wondered if she had misheard. The girl went on the offence, saying that the guild is committed to providing information freely. Viren replied that it was, but the information is special enough to divulge to anyone who wants to know. He would be very grateful if the boys would help him a little. Mose agreed to listen to the man, asked him to tell him what the problem was. The head told us that not far from here is Mount Malak. Its summit is crowned by ancient ruins known as the Olive Pass. The guys have to exterminate all the ghosts that haunt the place. The young man was amazed to hear about the ghosts. Viren reassured him that magic would not be necessary. A sword would suffice. All the preparations have already been completed. They will only have to show all their skills and abilities. As they left the guild, the friends were discussing why the head would suddenly condition them and refuse to give out information. Kia said they couldn't waste time. The friend didn't understand what was wrong if they agreed. The young man reasoned that it was more interesting than leaving for Aspargan and just going back to swordsmanship duties. The friend sternly pulled Mose back. He and Sharon aren't friends. He doesn't care what happens to her because he's immortal. The guy realized he'd said the kind of crap only a player could say, and right in front of Kia, for whom this world was real. In life, he's just a regular guy named Leek Kehoe. Here, he's Mose, the #1 ranker in the world of Scheme. Gradually, the gulf between the two personalities grows wider and wider. Kia grew visibly sad. She thought Mose was at least a little different from other immortals, because he's almost the only immortal who empathizes with them. But the young man is still immortal, and that means that one day he can easily adopt the attitude to this world that they are accustomed to. However, the pixie would want him to remain the Mose she had met, even if it sounds too selfish. The boy apologized to Kay for his words. He and Sharon are really partners and should help each other. Mose took the girl's hand and thanked her. He promised to always remain the same Mose. The boys heard crying around the corner. When they came closer, they saw that it was Foshi. They were surprised that Limpu was standing alone. Kia said hello and asked if he was going home yet. When the little boy turned around, she saw his wounded face. The Elfess stepped closer and began to ask what had happened to him. He crumpled. Mose asked if Foshi could tell what had happened. The baby cried. He apologized. He said that the coin he had been given had been taken away by Shireman. Foshi explained to him that the coin was a gift, not stolen, but the man called the kid a thief and a liar. He said Limpu should be sacrificed to the ghosts of Olive Pass. The friends approached a rich house behind a high fence. This is where Shireman lives. Apparently there are many guards. Mose said what about the guards? Whether they are there or not makes no difference. The master of the house was in his chambers arguing with someone over a silver ball. He told me to bring him someone who would be of some use to him. He didn't care how it was done. He just wanted to make sure he didn't die in 1 minute like the last one. The boys were hiding under the stairs and heard. Shireman said, someone got the place of the head thanks to the Silver Cat Society, but he counts the money. A man complained that they made 4,000 gold pieces this month. We should spread the rumour that there are 10 Ormacons in the machines. Let them bring in more money. And the little bastard had the nerve to rob him. We should destroy half of them in public so they don't do it again. Kia couldn't resist and jumped out of hiding. The master had barely had time to ask who was here before he was punched in the face. Shaman grabbed his nose and started calling for the guards. The girl smiled and said there were no guards. All his boys are asleep or gone to lick their wounds, and the girl went after the man, beating him up. Our hero didn't interfere. When Kia finished, she apologized to the guy. She needed to let off steam. Mose said the main thing was that she was relieved. The girl said it's okay to chat now. The guys asked what was going on at Olive Pass. Shyman started mumbling about how he was going to open his mouth after that. The elf said she could help. Mose could barely contain his friend. Realizing that things were bad, he confessed that the pass was a gambling place. Our friends were shocked to learn that people play with ghosts on the pass. They asked how this was even possible. There is a society of silver cats. It's made up of the local nobility. A hired mime necromancer sent a powerful ghost to Olive Pass, and he began to lure desperate fighters and immortals into battles, promising a huge sum in case of victory. But no one has ever been able to defeat this ghost. No one can last even 3 minutes against him. The girl screamed how many Shyman had sent to certain death for gold. Mose asked Kea to calm down and listen to the end. The man told me that tomorrow everything would change. He was told that tomorrow the strongest of the immortals would come to fight the ghost. Now Mose understood how it was related to the Information Guild. He understood Viren's plan. Kea couldn't believe that the guild was in on it. The girl got angry and said that now Shyman would answer her for everything. The man shouted at her not to destroy him. Mose stopped his friend, said she shouldn't get her hands dirty. What does she think people will say when they find out the machines don't have Ormacons? When this news becomes public, he will be judged by the defrauded citizens. Mose said it was time to go on a mission. The boys left Shyman and went on their way. Our hero was angry. He thought Viren was going to regret bringing him into this. Olintori is a huge library built by the elders of Ajaris to restore the lost history of the city. This place is secret. It can only be accessed with the help of special magical stones made of Avec wood. Mose looked at the teleportation stone and thought that they still had half a day before they had to leave for the pass. Maybe look over there. The young man asked if his friend wanted to go with him. She said no, especially since the stone was only given to Mose, and as a resident of Ajaris, she wants to follow the laws of the city. But the girl asked me to find one book for her, The Minstrel of Kefir. Using teleportation, our hero in a couple of seconds was already in the desired place. He was amazed at what she was like, Olintori. The system immediately issued a new quest, the Diary of the Blacksmith of Lavareg. He forged 11 engraved swords. Mose was excited. He forged the swords, so if he could find the diary, he'd find a link to the rest of the swords. At first, the young man enthusiastically decided that he would start right away, but then he wondered where to find him. He couldn't think of anything better than to try to use the voice assistant, but it didn't work. He would really have to search for the book himself in a huge library. After a while, our hero was already squatting on the floor among the many books and wailed, "Who gives quests to find books in general?" Luckily, the books in this library were organised by section, but there are hundreds of thousands of them, so there's an incredible amount of shelving. You have to look through every book to see where the right one is. The young man shouted to see who was who. He has endless stamina. Taking another book from the shelf, our hero realised that he had less time, but still. And so he finally found what he needed. The item diary of a humble blacksmith was obtained. The quest will open after using the item Sword Verma, Sword, Gorma Sword, Firma H, Gerva, Sword Marma. Mose got 5 quests to locate the swords. He thought it was some kind of joke at first. One quest interested the boy more than the others, the Sword of Zerva. It's hidden in the Olive Pass. That's lucky for him. He might not have found it because he didn't want to dig through that sea of books. Thank you, Kea, for knocking our boy down a peg. She's the only one he can be grateful to. The young man rejoiced. He must be on the right track if things are going so well. That's great. I'll have to find a couple more books for her. Our hero went back. He called for Kea, but she didn't answer. When he walked through the house, he found his girlfriend sleeping peacefully on the couch. He thought she must have fallen asleep while waiting for him. He sat down quietly and watched the sleeping girl. He thought she should have at least gotten on the bed. Only now was the young man able to admit to himself that he liked Kea. But living on 2 different worlds, does he have the right to reveal his feelings to her? All this time the boy had kept his mouth shut. It was too selfish to demand an answer from Kay. But isn't the reason for this unrest that Mose is taking this world too seriously? We've got to have a little more courage. At that moment, the girl woke up. She asked how long Mose had been here. She said she should have woken her up. He said he'd just gotten back. Kea saw the books she had ordered. She was excited and said it was the first time she had ever held one in her hands. Mose assumed it was her favourite book. The friend glowed with joy and thanked the boy. In a burst of emotion, the girl said from the bottom of her heart she was so glad Mose was her friend. The word friend confused him. The sun is setting, then it's time. Mose told Kea to move out, gotta get good at gambling. There was discussion. Swordsman Mose allowed the evil spirit to attack without any resistance. None of the participants expected such a weak performance. Bad luck for those who bet on him. Ghost said that no matter how good a guy is in the regular world, you can't get to him. But Mose wasn't backing down. He thought he'd try again. The day before, as soon as the moon rose, the carriages pulled to the top of the hill. All arrivals were greeted and escorted over the wall from the portal by a single man. Our heroes recognized him as Viren. Kea noted that only cat masks seemed to be allowed inside. Mose realized that all the guests were heading out to place their bets. The guy told Kia to get herself a mask and sneak in and blend in with the crowd. The girl was quick with this task. No one distinguished her from the others. The next thing Mose asked for was for Kia to bet 100 Ormacons on him. The girl asked if they could bet that much, to which our hero replied that she thought he would lose. The friend looked at Mose with confidence and replied that there was no way he was going to lose. He will win. The young man asked me to have faith in him. There's a way to win. If this place really is a ruin. Our hero headed for the entrance. He was met by a masked Viren. He must have asked Mose. The young man knew the man was pretending not to know him, so he just confirmed it. The man at the entrance said the guy could come in. The contestants come out in order of priority. There's a couple of fighters in front of him. Seeing the young man off, Viren said there was a line. He said to go through and not to worry. Viren greeted everyone. He said he could see the excitement in their eyes and their desire to enjoy tonight's spectacle. The host announced that this night would be a match the likes of which these walls had never seen before. The champion of Olive Pass was invited into the arena. He has 31 victories to his credit, the evil spirit Sumyong. A spirit from the soul of a swordsman who once thought to take a nap on an olive pass, forever bound to this place with no way to free himself. The second contestant was welcomed, an immortal who knows no fear. He took shooting lessons at the Black Spire itself, the Big Archer. Mose watched the scene. Were all the other fighters really players too? The young man thought that the players must have come here to make a fortune. Sumyon hasn't lost any of his fights. It's not going to be an easy fight. The Big Archer wasted no time in attack, but the opponent easily deflected the arrows. In response, the evil spirit released its blade. This is the skill of Sumyon. Seeing the spirit sword return, our hero realized it was one of the engraved blades. The Big Archer was shocked. That was the expression on his face that the spectators had gathered here for. In the next instant, the blade struck the archer. The announcer said that he did not meet the expectations of the audience. They announced that the evil spirit Sumyong had won once again. Silly boy, what did he hope for? Kia sat on the podium among the guests and marvelled at their cruelty. They said they knew they were losing, but not so fast. The host announced that there were only 4 Ormacons betting on the archer. A couple of nobles bid out of pity. Kia was angry at all these people and thought they were crazy. The host announced that it seems that Sumyon finally has a worthy opponent, the swordsman Mose. The tribune is whispering. The swordsman's the kind of man who does secret missions. Why is he involved in this? Kia was getting more and more annoyed hearing that the fight was being paid for. No one would bet on it now. There's no money in it. At this point, our girl stood up and yelled that she was putting 100 Ormacons on the swordsman. Everyone present was shocked. It was heard, "Wow, that's a big deal." The girl shouted once more that she was betting 100 Ormacons on Mose. The young man smiled. The audience discussed the rich upstart. She's not afraid of going bust. What a stupid decision. Viren wondered what she was doing. Their bets are shrinking. He said into the microphone that it was going to be an interesting fight. He announced the start. Mose easily repelled the evil spirit's first attack with his Sherman Karma swords. The host yelled out that Mose uses a similar skill. His swords hover. How unexpected and exciting. Our hero's swords flew out towards the enemy, aimed directly at the evil spirit. But Sumyon was as fast as the wind, and a moment later he was behind Mose, throwing a punch. Physical attacks did not pass on him. Our hero, only thanks to the skill earrings of Varabarden, was not chopped into a cabbage. The confrontation continued. Mose realized that only karma and charm could stop his fellow victim from attacking from a distance. But our hero's blades are designed primarily for stabbing. Mose can't parry the chopping blows of Jerv with any decent strikes, so he's just got to defend himself. Under these circumstances, there is no way for the young man to defeat the ghost with pure strength, so first he must find a way to stop the spirit sword. Mose had the right skill for that. Lyro gained the respect of the players by using artifacts. If some items are found in the ruins of ancient dungeons, they can be encased in an orb. Maybe it'll work on the spirit too. But to do this, our hero must first be able to touch the victim with his hand. The host gloated, asking something wrong with Mose's swordsman, said he felt sorry for whoever bet on the guy. Our hero didn't pay attention to the extraneous conversations. He had to focus on the sword, not the ghost. Kia jumped with excitement. The ghost's sword wounded our hero. As the spirit prepared for the next attack, Mose pondered that a sure way to stop the Jerva was to let the sword sink into the body. The boy put his shoulder under the enemy's blade, but he was immediately able to grab it with his hands and apply successful destruction. In the next instant, a large flash of light appeared in the arena. The spectators didn't understand what was happening. Through the clouds of dust and glow, the ghost's voice could be heard. He was thanking another wielder of the engraved sword. The guy had an orb in his hand. He realized he'd won, raised the orb above his head. The announcer said it was unbelievable. Mose defeated the all-time undefeated champion. The spectators wailed as they realized they had lost their money. They wondered about the nobleman who had bet 100 Ormacons. The host announced that the spectator who bet 100 would receive 231 Omicons. Viren thought he was expecting guests with such high stakes, but the money would be swirling around inside the Silver Cat Society anyway. At the dawn, Viren found a member of the society lying on the ground near the ruins. He realized that the one who had bet 100 Omicons was an imposter. The boys were sitting at home rejoicing over their winnings. Kia wondered what kind of magic Mose used. The young man smiled. He said that it was a gamble. If the skill didn't work, it would be the end of him. The girl said since they had done well, how about a spin on the slot machine? The boy refused. He didn't want to get into trouble again. The Tikris Information Guild learned of Viren and Shireman's machinations and put a bounty on their heads. However, they managed to cover their tracks. The Silver Cat Society was not mentioned or investigated. Neither was the involvement of high-ranking individuals in the case. But the fugitives will not have a quiet life. Knowing the price on their heads and how much money the Silver Cats have lost, not only mercenaries will be hunting them. After all that happened, our friends went to the Tikris Information Guild again. They were met by Rayron, the golden head of the Tikris Information Guild, asked them what they wanted to know. Mose said they're looking for an immortal male mage and a female archer. I hear immortal mages are rare. Rayron replied that this mage was a surprisingly famous person. It wasn't hard for her to figure out who she was talking about. They know he teleported before he disappeared. We've got a point of origin, but we couldn't find the point of arrival. However, they discovered that inside the White Tower, a forbidden spell called Telop was being used. It hides the teleport coordinates. The young man realized that he could have been abducted during the teleportation. If someone other than him was using the telepy, it was kidnapping. They can't verify a hunch. If someone died in there, they'd know about it, so he left the tower alive. The boys should go to Lundavaren. Someone in the tower was talking. One wanted to start, the other stopped them. They had plenty of time to make themselves known, and the girl had been asleep for 4 hours. But then they saw their arrogant, immortal mage awake. Kellyan woke up and remembered that he had definitely planned to teleport with Sharon into Toik space. But as soon as I moved, I realized I was somewhere else. And then the fellow mage was immediately hit in the head by someone from behind. Now that Kellyan had regained consciousness, he was telling Hospy to stop right now. Then he'd pretend he didn't know how he used the telepus. But the interlocutor snidely repeated the word pretend. With his magic wand, he hurt the young man by saying that he was an impertinent boy. The angry comrade laughed that he still didn't realize the situation he was in. Said pride is a sin. Let's carve that lesson into the boy's body. And when he swung his wand, the skin on the prisoner's neck began to burn. When the young man lost consciousness, the comrade asked Hospoy if he was alive. Hospoy said he broke a rib at most. The guy's a magician and immortal. The wounded Kellyan thought he couldn't unlog himself. If he doesn't deal with these guys now, Sharon will. The young man turned to Jarenvale and Hagen, Hospod's 6, asked if they were afraid he would die. Those kids always wanted to keep up with Kellyan, because they're nothing. They were in the same program, and if they want to blame someone, they should blame themselves for not putting in enough effort. Even when they mock a prisoner, they don't chicken out just because he's immortal. The young man shouted that such mages were defaming the name of the White Tower. Hospay with a smirk replied that pretty talk a guy can do, they know. Grabbing the guy by the hair, Hospy said they had to wag their tails in front of the teachers all year while he talked their teeth in. If the committee had known Kellyan was immortal, they never would have given him the title of mage. Slapping the captive across the face, the aggressor said that his mere existence had already tarnished the name of the White Tower. Twirling his wand in his hands, Hospoy said it was time to tell the prisoner of their plan. The guy said they'd start with this girl, Sharon, who was with the boy. Kellyan shouted that she had nothing to do with it, but his adversary replied that he could not tell from his reaction. The torturer told me there's a homunculus lab in the basement of the tower. Immortal, it could withstand a dozen experiments. This will allow them to better research the homunculus's combat power. It'll make for a great graduation paper. Kellyan shouted that Hospoy was out of his mind. His opponent replied that messing with him would help them get their mage title. Ordered Jarenvale and Hagen to bring the magic kaleidoscope of Daklamas. It opens a passage to another dimension through an intermediary. The enemy rejoiced. The young man would be the key to the door to a new dimension. No one knows what will happen if you open a portal with an immortal intermediary. They'll take a step in an as yet unknown direction of magic. They'll be pioneers. Kellyan has a message that the secret quest battle spirit has been activated. Lundavarun is the shrine of the mages. At its very centre stands the White Tower. Our friends reached Lundavarun. Kea noted that at first glance it was clear that it was a city of mages. The architecture here is peculiar. The guys didn't realise it was around the fountain. People passing through there are disappearing. Suddenly someone whispered in Moses' ear that this was a detour. Our friends were scared. The stranger apologised for his sudden appearance. saying that many people had been unable to find the Lundavaran Information Guild lately. That's why the guild sent the guy to them. He's Zaire the Inquisitor. The guy invited them to follow him. The boys sensed that he was incredibly strong. It must be easy to match Lydorn. Our heroes eyed the stranger warily. Mose asked how they knew he was really from the Information Guild. Zaya apologized for always being in a hurry. He said he was still learning. He began with the information that he was a mage-created White Tower mage and a dedicated guild information homunculus. The mark on his face was proof of that. Our hero was surprised. An artificial person, it means. Is it really possible? The boy replied that it's not easy to create life artificially, but the mages of the White Tower can do it. The city was founded by mages. Therefore, citizens and visitors can freely use spatial magic. These bypasses are part of the city's infrastructure. A huge spatial stone underground allows movement. Traffic only allows access to public areas. Special routes are inaccessible to the uninitiated. He can be a guide. Mose agreed. Zaya said they'd start then. He asked the boys to stand in a circle around him. A moment later, they were inside the Lendivaran Information Guild. The guy offered to follow him. The golden head of the guild was already waiting for the guys. When our heroes told what brought them, the guild leader confirmed that there was teleportation inside the tower. Mose said it's considered impossible to get in. The head confirmed what he said. He explained that the White Tower area is controlled by the Magi, and the Information Guild has no right to interfere. Zaya clarified that it's like a swordsman's shrine. The head said there was no other way to get into the tower than to pass the magician's test. He apologized that he couldn't give any other answer. When the guild leaders left, Zaire said something could be done. The homunculus reported that money opens all doors. That's true of the White Tower. You can hire a wizard to enter it. Mose asked his new acquaintance in a whisper why the head then said there were no ways. The interlocutor whispered back that being in mage territory was extremely difficult, and Zaire's here to help the guys get in unofficially. The young man took out his crystal ball and called some Raiden, said he had a favour to ask of him. He wants to introduce a man to a wizard, and he'd better do it fast. He agreed. He said to go to the southeast building. They would discuss everything in person. The young man stood up and beckoned the boys to follow him to meet the mage who had become their key. Zaire explained that they needed to get out of range of the spatial stone. There were shouts outside for the immortals to get out of this world. The guy said it wouldn't take long, and put the hoods of his cloaks over them. There was a rally outside against the presence of immortals in the city. The guide said they were Lidornovians. They follow the will of the late Lydorn. Their power grows by the day. According to the guild information, there are about 3 million followers. That's the number of people who openly express themselves. To them, you can add the tens of millions of residents who avoid the players. Zaya said Mr. Mose is the immortal who destroyed Lydorn, so he should hide his face. The young man suggested we go somewhere else before we got into trouble. Our hero agreed. Hearing voices behind him, our young man turned pale. The girl asked if he was okay. Mose said he was fine, just a little nauseous. As Zaya stepped away from the crowd, he heard a call. Raiden said there was a swordsman in the back. No, a man calling himself Master had arrived. The voice was frightened. Said the Master was from Liuzwang. That's why. The speech was cut off. Zaya called for Raiden, but he didn't answer. Through the orb, the friends heard an unfamiliar voice. He said he was looking for 2 swordsmen from Aspargan, Mose and Kay. Someone answered that they were here. Zaya asked why the Master from Liuzwan was looking for the 2 of them. They broke the swordsman's rules. Mose said that was impossible. Kay explained if they broke the rules, their mentor would come after them. Master Liuzwang had no reason to pursue them. Mose Kea said they should go to Aspargan right away to find out what the problem is. The guys asked Zaire what he would do, turn them into the swordsman. The guy said it was his job to help them anyway, especially the guys he trusts more than the swordsmen who attacked the Information Guild headquarters. Zaire said they would take a detour. The boys noticed that Kea was looking somewhere. The girl said something was happening to the tower. They turned around and saw a glow on the top of the tower. Zaya shouted that they were leaving now. They'll take a detour. There was panic in the city. Sparks fell from the tower. A fire started. The boys ran with all their legs through the alleys of the city following Zaire. A man in black appeared out of nowhere to meet them, the Master from Lausvan. He said they had finally met Mose. Our hero asked Kea who it was. The girl was silent. The man took the teleportation stone and said he had found them. 2 of his minions emerged from the portals. The warriors introduced themselves. Agera, the swordsman of Luzvan, answers the Master's call. Larif, swordsman of Lauswana, answers the Master's call. Kia shouted that it was the Master from Lauswan. It was his voice they heard from the crystal ball. The man said that for a long time he turned a blind eye to what was going on at the Aspargan sanctuary. Looking at Mose, he asked if he was the boy who destroyed Lydorn and became a folk hero. When he picked up the sword, he said the prince was young and foolish, but he was doing the right thing because he realized that the immortals were parasites in their world. So they'll do what they have to do too. The sword boys are also armed. Kia drew her sword, shouted, "Do the swordsmen of Lauswan realize what the consequences would be?" Agera asked what was wrong. Or doesn't she know that immortals mock and destroy humans for fun? His fellow swordsman died like a backyard dog accused of breaking the rules. He was replaced by some immortal. The girl insinuates that they're betraying a shameful organization like the swordsman. Larif replied that they had been through a lot. Keeping secrets and carrying out missions are the duties of swordsmen. They were the ones who kept the world in balance, but you took an Aspargan swordswoman into the ranks of those who upset the balance of the world. The girl screamed he has any idea how disgusting it is, called for the swordsman of Luswana to stop insulting Aspargan. The man in black said it wasn't an insult, it was a statement of fact. The right one will be the one left alive today. In an instant the man was at Moses' side. The man barely had time to shout a Torium. Our hero managed to repel the enemy's attack, although he was slightly hit by the enemy's blade. Kia didn't have time to move before Agura rushed at her. The girl dodged. The enemy said there was more to it, and launched an aura attack, but the girl was covered by Zair's energy shield. Larif joined Agua to take the boy down. He managed to wound the young man. Mose ran up to his comrades. Kia asked if he was okay. The boy said he was fine. And here's Zaire. Zaire said that the three of them would defeat these two swordsmen, Aga and Larif. But they will never defeat a master swordsman here, so we must leave and quickly. Zaire said he'd lead the boys to the bypass. The magic will only hold them back for half a second. That's long enough to keep them from being tracked where they're going. A new friend said he would have a chance to create a passage for them. Except Larif damaged his eye. Now it'll take about 3 minutes to prepare the spell. When everything is ready, guys need to try to keep their main away from the bypass. When he freezes him, everyone will run down the aisle as fast as they can. Kia asked if they could do it. Half a second, after all. Zaire said that if the enemies attacked head-on, they were finished. As the man in black approached, he said the boy wasn't bad for a homunculus. The White Tower scientists were not idle. Everyone saw something shine over the White Tower again. Something like a portal appeared on the spire. Mose shouted it was his job too. The man replied that it could be. He doesn't know anything about the business of magicians. But wasn't that outbreak because of the immortals? Everything strange in this world started happening after they appeared. The young man asked why the immortal was treated this way. The man has something personal. The man said that 17 years ago, as a young swordsman, he had been assigned to protect a village in the Gara Mountains. It was then that he realized the importance of the job. For a long time they have tried hard and have done their duty with honor. But now the people of that village are all dead, because the immortals have decided to turn that village into a base for their guild. And the villagers were driven into the mountains by hungry trolls. He saw it himself. He knows that immortals are greedy worms that devour the world. Swordsmen must destroy them. It's unacceptable to accept them into their ranks. Kia stood up to her friend, said the man was right. The immortals had brought problems to their world that they had never known before. But the immortal you just pointed your sword at is Mose. He fought evil, protecting the inhabitants of this world more than anyone else. And the man is blinded by anger, and he doesn't even want to understand the situation. His judgment is biased. The enemy agreed that there is nothing more pointless than fighting over ideology, for only the survivor can be right. The enemy got into a fighting stance. Mose shouted for them to attack and summoned his swords. Our friends had not yet reached the enemy before he abruptly changed his stance. Anticipating the enemy's movements, Zaire shouted to Kia to move away. The swordsman applied the 7th style Actica, Feather. A black dome appeared around him. The girl was thrown aside. When the dust settled, Zaire froze the enemy like he said he would. Shouted that now, and their half a second went by. The boys rushed with all their legs past the enemy to the place where the portal had opened. Mose managed to get inside, but when he looked back he saw that Zaire was beyond saving. And then our hero realized he had Kia in his sights. He rushed to her aid. The young man managed to cover his beloved girl. The entire sword hit him. 3% health left. Kia cried, "How could Mose?" But the boy pushed her away, ordered her to leave. The young man said he'd find her. He'll come back and he'll find her. She must survive against all odds. The girl ran. Our hero grabbed the enemy's sword with both hands, saying that the enemy is still him, and summoned his swords. The man ripped his sword from the boy's chest and was able to fend off his final attack. The enemy turned around and told his minions that one had been missed, and walked away. Mose was lying on the ground, health level 0, he's dead, unable to enter the circuit for the next 7 days in game 21. The young man woke up screaming in the real world. He immediately ran to the bathroom. It was nauseating. His demise in the game was reflected in his actual physical condition. His hands were ice cold. The young man thought of Kia. Just as long as she made it to the ship without incident, she'd be safe there. Back to the sanctuary, and there's Mr. Robin. 3 hours later, his thoughts never left him. Anything could happen in 3 weeks in the game. What if he never saw Kia again? Gina realizes that as an immortal he will surely return. He will find him again. And then today's situation will happen again. It's possible he'll methodically destroy the guy every time he comes back. Our hero needs to become stronger, strong enough to return and be able to defeat Jinir. In the game on the forest road were a girl with a limpu accompanied by a knight. The girl asked if the knight was okay. He said not to worry. He swore in Bellica's name that he would escort them safely to their destination. The girl wasn't so sure about that. She said it sounded very confident. She didn't think the guild could handle such a problem. The travellers looked down the hill at the glow at the top of the White Tower. The girl noticed that the knight wanted to return. She heard that it seemed that the town could use his help. A monster appeared from the glowing ball. He said that his sharp blades had finally opened the doorway to the world they so badly desired. Meanwhile, in the tower, Kellyan was screaming if Hospi realised what he'd done. He had opened a passageway to another dimension where the master dwells. Hospi said it couldn't be. The portal must have opened. It's just a gateway. The guy yelled that he was the one who created the inventory they use. It's not an empty dimension where you can just put things in and take things out. Hospi yelled back at him to shut up. He did it though, and the guy started fighting. Kellyan managed to intercept Hospi's magic staff. He cast a spell and disabled his opponent. Hospi's minions scattered when they realised he'd lost his staff. The young man realised that these boys couldn't compete with the mages. Barely catching his breath, Kellyan rushed over to Sharon. The girl was still unconscious. He read the spell and the girl finally woke up. She held her head and asked if she had fallen asleep. The guy asked how she was feeling, and then Sharon looked around and started asking where they were. She remembered running away from Lydorn. Kellyan apologised, explained that a lot of time had passed since then. He'll tell you all about it later. Right now, we got to get out of here. He grabbed the girl's hand and ran after her, shouting that there was no time to hurry. On the way, Sharon said he saved her in the battle with the Lydenovians, thanked her. The young man asked for no thanks. He's the reason she fell into that bastard's clutches and ended up here. She's been unconscious for almost 10 game days. The girl was shocked. She asked how many days and how such a thing was even possible. The boy said that the teleporter he used was a fake and had brought them here. Then the magic put Sharon to sleep. Kellyan said he knew the way, so she should follow him, led her to the wall and said there it was. The young man asked if Sharon was afraid of heights. She said she was afraid of heights. The guy said there was nothing to be done. He apologised for being rude and took her in his arms. Kellyan sprinted and jumped into the wall. The girl screamed without realising what was happening. They fell through that portal. Opening her eyes, Sharon realised they were floating outside the White Tower. When she saw the height below her, she screamed that they were falling. Another flash followed. Kellyan gently lowered the girl to the ground, said they'd teleported to Toiko. It's safe here. The boy had so much to say, but here it was better for them to say goodbye. Advised Sharon to log out and take care of himself in the real world. The girl said that's right. She hasn't checked in for 3 days. Maybe someone had already called the police and they broke in. Lastly, Kellyan said if Sharon has any side effects, be sure to contact him with the crystal ball. The young man says he'd love to see her again. He sincerely apologises for getting her into trouble. Looking after Kellyan, the girl wondered why he kept apologising. Meanwhile, monsters continued to enter the scheme world through the portal. They were born to conquer and colonise. Their deity has entrusted them with a task to subjugate another world. They intend to conquer it, and 1.5 million monsters with shouts of Lebkan forward went on the attack. The Manchurian quest with an increased level of ferocity began. There was discussion in the vicinity of Lundavarun that the forces of justice had only 300 men. One of the commanders stated that their 300 were far superior in power to their 2,000-man Imperial army. The other replied that they don't know how strong their army is. They have homunculi at their disposal, which are essentially weapons. The first one didn't stop saying that these weapons were created by mages. The second asked why he should not tell who had crossed the border of worlds here. They were able to learn that several hundred scavengers had fallen to them since the portal opened. The former did not perceive the problem as serious enough to involve the forces of justice, but orders were orders, and he could not argue. There was a shout that the scavengers were advancing. The first squad of the Imperial army was sent forward. The soldiers were fighting. The second in command didn't understand if they were talking about several hundred. There were far fewer, and they looked strange. But then one of the soldiers turned to the commander and asked Mr. Bede to come over. The soldier showed that there were some strange wounds on the monsters' bodies, not from their weapons. The commander thought the immortals had interfered. The soldier reported that the scavengers seemed to be running from something. It was only now that the commander noticed hordes of monsters on the horizon. They were crawling like goosebumps. Bede commanded the warriors to stand by. He ordered the men to regroup. Huge monsters rushed at the army with shouts of Labakan and the call to destroy everyone. The second squad has been ordered to take over from the first, homunculi to build barricades to block the way. A fight broke out, but the soldiers didn't understand what was wrong. Even the wounded monsters continued to fight. Then the mana squad used Star Rain against the attacking monsters. But There were too many of these things. The commander asked what kind of creatures had come to their world. That's where the Watchtower Players Guild came to the rescue. Immortals are those who are not afraid to die. So even in the face of mortal danger, the Immortals rushed towards the target without a hint of fear, threatening those trying to survive the battle. However, in case of threat of real defeat of the Imperial Army, the intervention of Immortals was only to the advantage, although it hurt pride. The Limpu girl saw the monsters coming. She reassured the baby that everything was okay. There was a knight with them. He prayed. When the saint gave him her answer, all living beings would receive infinite power and the ability to defeat darkness with light. The knight recited the prayer of contrition, the moral paladin, and the sacred prayer. Then he asked the monsters on the trail if they'd come out of that port. The knight said that the lives of the monsters could be the key to resolving the conflict, so they will not be spared. The warrior thought he didn't know where or how these monsters came from. Surely these creatures are a threat to this world. The young man said that though it was unfortunate for him, they would all die at his hands. The monsters said the young man was defiant. One of them reached for the arrows. Getting ready to fire the monster said the knight is like dust under his feet, talks a lot. But the enemy had no time to release the bowstring before the knight attacked by leaping from above. He quickly killed his enemies one by one. The monsters were saying amongst themselves that this guy is strong. It's on the level of the 1,000 seals. We should report him to the chief. A young man heard the designation of 1,000 seals. He asked if that was their rank designation. Approaching the rest of the monsters, the knight said that they wouldn't have to go. He would let them prove their existence on their own. The Immortals who came to the aid of the Imperial Army reasoned that if they continued like this, they would get a quest share. In that case, it would be better to wait for other guilds to join, and then start a full-scale war. The girl called for Commander Gilm, said the Labakans were coming back. Gilmer looked at the battlefield and said that the volume of the wave had decreased, and he's warmed up. He ordered everyone to stand by, stick to the same tactics as before. The priests will support the front line. The commander urged his subordinates to stop this wave and not to die. But when the enemy came closer, the army saw something strange. It was as if a wall was coming at them. They started screaming that this is crazy. Is it even a Lebakan or not? Gilmer ordered to use the intelligence crystal and show the image. The crystal shows the Lebakan moving inside the 4 walls. It appears they plan to breach the gates of Lundavaran. Only the back wall is undersized for some reason. There wasn't enough magic. It's an enchanted wall. The assistant commander suggested going back to the castle to wait for them to approach and attack from the rear. It's probably a strategy to keep as many troops at the gate as possible. They'll have to come out. Then you can squeeze from the sides through the gap. One of the knights said it's still a game, and every game has a strategy, and they're a bunch of mobs. Gwilmar reported that the watchtower will take over the troops to the left of the gate, place guild troops to the right of the gate behind the wall, archers to the rear. And now the enemy wall approached the castle gates, but nothing happened. The monsters did not come out from behind the wall. The warriors didn't understand what this magic was. It is higher than the walls of Lundavarun, all prepared to act when the walls opened. But they didn't open. Instead, black smoke came from the walls. No one understood what was happening. Monsters began to appear out of the smoke, jumping over the gates of the fortress. They shouted that Lebakan was the time to conquer. At that time, Kia was sailing on Moses' ship. She was crying. Elsha walked over and asked if the girl was okay, still grieving. Kia said Mose died for her. At that point, all she could do was run away. Elsha said her master was immortal. For her sake, he'll overcome everything and come back. The girl knew it was true. She said she wasn't shocked when his comrades died. However, she couldn't take Moses' death lightly. Elsha explained that it shows how important Mose is to the girl. Holding the book that the young man had brought, Kia said that she would like to give him the words written in the last chapter of the Minstrel Cafe. And when the friend returns, she will be sure to tell him these words. The girl asked Elsha to turn on the light. She had somewhere to go. Mose was doing the usual real-life stuff at the time. He went to the barber shop. When he saw the check, the guy was surprised. 130,000 won for a haircut. It took less than 10 minutes. I didn't think I'd spend that much. Our hero was wandering through the city and thought that today he went to spend money. His first demise in Sheem and 3 days in reality. Only when the game was blocked could he enjoy his good fortune. First of all, he moved out of his little apartment and signed a lease on a nice apartment. The guy gave 10 million, one each, to his parents. They questioned him in a scary voice, but he said he didn't do anything wrong. The young man didn't even think about a penthouse or an expensive car. He had his own reasons for spending so much, although it was enough for everything he wanted. It's been a long time since the game started. The average level of users was also quite high. As the average player's characteristics increased, quest rewards began to decrease. This made earning tokens more difficult. The real value of a single Ormacon token was close to 180 million. Last night, the guy switched 2 tokens. He still has 137 Ormacons left. Due to high prices, volume restrictions were imposed. He didn't need to spend more, so Lee kept the tokens. The phone rang. A friend started asking what house he had moved into. He saw in the profile. The young man said that his father's business had been going well lately. A friend asked him to throw a housewarming party. Our hero said he doesn't have a refrigerator yet. He'll call as soon as he's settled in. Friend said he'd be in touch. As he hung up the phone, Lee Kehoe wondered if he had gotten so caught up in the world of schematics that he had forgotten about everyone else. His sense of reality was slowly returning. Looking around, the guy thought maybe what had happened was a little good for reality. But then on the screen in the window, the guy saw the news of the seam. They were talking about the Manchurian quest. There was talk of the Labakan damage disaster. High-level players actively participated in the game, so the future of this quest looked positive. The young man opened his mouth when he heard that Lundavaran was half captured due to superior enemy forces. Ships are evacuating the inhabitants one by one. The ship Horace tried to leave with about 360 surviving NPCs, but was sunk. The presenters asked if Mose, the only user with a ship, was remembered. According to an eyewitness account, his ship was also destroyed. He was also involved in the rescue of the survivors of Lundavaran. It's a shame that almost the only user ship was shot down. Running home, the guy screamed that it couldn't be. He grabbed the virtual reality goggles and requested access. But the system says it's been less than 7 days since he died. He can't connect. The young man panicked and screamed again and again for access. But the program replied that it was impossible to connect. The boy fell to his knees and almost cried, begging to be connected. He thought she would be safe on the heavenly ruler. At that moment, there was nothing around. There was darkness and thoughts of it not being so. At that time, Elsha asked Kea what was wrong. She said she heard Mose's voice. Kea stared out the window. Elsha said they had crossed Mount Langaroo. She's looking for something there. The girl said she would try to find the man. He was the master swordsman of Aspargan. Meanwhile, a battle was going on in Lundavaran. Gilm's assistant reported that Jinsung and Youngju were hurt. They hadn't heard about the potions. The further you go, the more sophisticated the attack. Even some bastard had a level of 96. Gilmer was nervous as to why only the small guilds were struggling. The corporate guilds just shamefully ran away. The commander says we can't go on like this. They'll form groups of 10 and return to the portal stone. Back to work tomorrow. But spears and arrows flew into the army of defense again, a surprise attack. Resourceful creatures. The tanks were caught off guard. Gilmer shouted to his subordinates to use the portal stone to get back. He and the tanks will buy time. The deputy said they'd meet in 7 days when they'd had enough of fighting. The commander explained that dying in the scheme is not the same as dying in the game, but the comrades insisted that it would buy more time with them. Gilmer wept. He said that their guild had so many opportunities to be active. The boys rushed forward, but then some unknown force began to whirl the monsters upward. Timing started clicking like mad, the number of monsters destroyed. When the whirlwind subsided, a knight in silver armor appeared on the battlefield. Next to him was a girl with a limpu. She asked him not to help. The guys from the Watchtower Guild stood and watched with their mouths open. Walking up to the girl, Gilmer asked what level this player was. She replied that she was 84th. If you add in the buffs and equipment bonuses, it's somewhere around 200. The commander was shocked. Starting at level 60, the difference in stats increases dramatically. The higher the level, the harder it is to raise it. But this knight is closer to the 200th level. That's incredible. Someone like Gilmer is no match for that monster. In the nearby forest, another guild was watching. They realized that it would be a problem for them if the left guild got such a share. The participant asked what kind of monster. After he joined, the share of the watchtower reached 2%. Another player said that only Hemanjok could do such a thing. One of Khan's players activating Orodzai was asked what he was seeing. Looking at the knight fighting, Han informed his comrades that the buff would soon end. On the battlefield, after such a serious pushback, the Labakan began to retreat. The guys in the watchtower rejoiced. They thought they were going to die here. And now just by watching the fight, the level has gone up 2 points. Gilmer thanked Manjok. He said he would give him his share after the quest was completed. He said he was just minding his own business. The commander said if it wasn't for the help, they'd be wiped out. Greed for a share would make him an unworthy G-Master. Manjoka replied that it was a good guild. The way the group fought without hesitating to sacrifice themselves was sublime. Gilmer was confused after the word sublimely. He thought about the interlocutor's manner of speech. He's a user or an NPS. The commander asked the warrior if he was in a guild. The one was very surprised at the thought of a guild. He is a knight, as all can see. He belongs to the Knights of Colon. Their symbol is the smoky flower. The young man replied that it was the first time he had seen a user belonging to the Order of Knights. At first, he dreamed of being a knight. However, in this game where all 5 senses are involved, physical training is more intense than in a real army. Strict routines affecting real life, a test of loyalty and righteousness. Hearing the conditions are hard to meet, the guy just went to the pump. Doesn't mean the other rides are easy. But this man has been through a tough process. Awesome! Then Manjok shouted for the boy to take care of himself and pushed him away from the fire cloud. The knight knew it wasn't a Labakan attack. His buffs were running out. He would be hard to deal with. Guildmates asked if it was Labakan again. Manjoknim, is Gilmer all right? Just then, a warrior with a fireball in his hand appeared from behind the clouds of smoke. He interjected, "Cool, just defending." Turning to the knight, he asked if he was Nemesis Manjok. He's sorry, but he has to get him out of the system. In the real world, the girl was on the phone, said she slept in the game for 10 days. She said it would be a good idea to contact Mose, but should she write to the scheme office about it now? That was Sharon Kim Soo-young's real name. She said when she heard Mose's ship was shot down, her heart nearly dropped, but it was misinformation. The girl talked a lot more about the incident in the tower, that Kellyanne had helped her, and that she had slept next to him for 10 days. Soo-young said she's going to connect now. It's urgent to find out what's going on. We need to find out what Mose is doing. On the other end of the phone, the person on the other end listened to Ken Hong connect tomorrow. It was Uncle. He was driving and saying that he hoped to see his friend soon, Sharon Gale and himself as a swordsman. 2 more days have passed. That's 7 days of real and 21 days of game time. Mose was preparing for his return. He thought he'd gained so much in real life that he didn't need it anymore. The most important thing he'd lost. The young man thought it was too late, but he has to get back to where he got everything. The connection has begun. In the chapel near Lundavaran, it was said that Mrs. Bellica dreamed of an immortal being resurrected in that temple. While the eldest of the ministers said he didn't believe it. This place is so small. The resurrection can only happen in the great temple of Aspargan. A light shone near the altar and our hero appeared from it. He hovered in the air for a while. Getting to his feet, he felt his body feel so light, a sense of new rebirth. Thought that's what resurrection feels like. Where the hell is he? Only now did he see the 2 ministers of this little church. They were looking at the miracle of revival. The boy asked if all the immortals are raised in such temples. He was told that resurrection usually takes place in large temples. The priest explained that although it is called a resurrection, it appears with a flash of light. That's why they say it's a miracle. A miracle given by Bellica, and asked that Bellica be allowed to protect him in this life. The guy thought he knew what he had to do to stay alive. He had to get stronger. But before that, our hero was worried about Kia. He mentally asked her to stay alive. Although the Sky Ruler has collapsed, the girl may not be dead. If so, she's still in Lundavaran. Meanwhile in town, Manjok asked the warrior who he was. He's not here to fulfill a quest. The opponent asked if the knight was attacked. First, shouldn't he come up immediately? The enemy grinned, asked what was slowing him down. Did he get scared without the buffs? Manjok replied that the enemy had correctly observed, and then, as he wished, the warrior went on the attack. The enemy noticed if you swing something heavy like that, it becomes slow. The knight managed to hit the enemy several times with his spear. His endurance was less than 60%. Gilmer rejoiced. The opponent was not Manjoku's equal. The girl and the Slimpu watched intently. The enemy didn't realize what had happened. He had definitely dodged. Manjok asked him to continue. Just then, the group that had been watching before came out of the forest. The players asked how the knight had raised his stats to get such power. The wounded warrior asked if they were laughing. He demanded that something be done to his arm. The commander of this group asked Kanna to help the warrior. The girl grumbled why he had to go alone. Kanna conjured a sacred leaf of the herb that Armoz's hand had touched, and the wound healed instantly. The healed boy happily said that Kanna was a really good healer. The girl grumbled that it was a waste of mana. The knight asked the new arrivals who they were. Gilm's group prepared to repel the attack. The leader of the incoming group replied that the introductions were delayed because of this impatient guy. They're hunters, killers, enablers, a kind of professional for money, providing the services they need. The young man smiled, said when you order it, they make it. It's simple. Knight asked who ordered what. It had something to do with him. The guy replied that it had almost nothing to do with him. More specifically, he intervened. Manjok was asked not to do the quest anymore. Knight didn't understand why. This disaster affects the entire circuit world. This is a situation that everyone should work on together. The mercenary dryly replied that he didn't care about such noble causes. He explained that the major guilds are waiting for personal inquiries from self-employed owners of schemes affected by the quest without any interference. Manjok said that this disaster can be overcome now, but they are deliberately prolonging it. Deputy Gilm thought they were in big trouble. His brother can't stand that kind of thing. The commander was already furious. He said that the small guilds, including them, had been fighting for days to evacuate the city. Half of them died, and the mercenaries just stood by and watched. If they had intervened, Lundavaran would have survived. The leader of the mercenaries responded to have the guy say it to the big guilds. After all, money is important in any world, and reached for his sword. Since everyone was about to die, the mercenary told them to get a sense of reality, and the group went to attack the guild. At this time, Mose, walking through Lundavaran, was shocked at what was happening. In one of the burning, dilapidated houses where a little boy and a Limpu were hiding, monsters peeked in. The monster said there were some insects hiding here. The baby was hiccuping with fear, And that's when our hero came to the rescue. He easily defeated the invaders. A young man approached the boy, asked if he was all right, told him where the castle gates were. He made a path the boy could leave. The baby ran away, and Mose thought that if he were with Kea now, she would tell him exactly what to do. But right now, he can say for sure exactly what he needs to do, Sunstorm activated. The mercenaries, meanwhile, were fighting Manjok. They took turns attacking the knight in an attempt to kill him. A few wounds were inflicted on the enemy. The knight fell to one knee. The leader of the mercenaries going into another attack snidely asked that the young man's mace must be very heavy. Toth dropped his weapon and grabbed his opponent with his bare hands and started punching. But one of the mercenaries chained one of Manjok's hands and said he was caught. He's done. An arrow from Gilm's bow flew into the enemy's head. He shouted for the cowards to be damned. They are really going to play like this. He shouted to the knight that he didn't need to worry about his sister and Limpu. He evacuated them to safety. The knight was wounded. He said that Gilmer needs to get out of here. The mercenary's target is him. The guy gave Manjok a potion. But the mercenary leader called out to the young man, said he'd put an arrow in his boyfriend's head and now planned to just leave. Should have left when he had the chance. Now he'll make sure they're both out. After that, they can reunite. Knight replied that he appreciates his opponent's offer, but he refrains from contact outside the game. The mercenary leader said there was no time to waste and ordered his comrades to destroy the boys. But then system message boards flashed in front of the mercenaries. Someone was on a quest for a super clash of azure creatures. The timing clicked. Someone was destroying monsters 1,000 by 1,000 in every minute. Who's doing it? A subordinate yelled to the guildmaster that they should stop it first. As he left, the mercenary said that Manjok was very lucky. He hoped that next time they wouldn't run into each other like that. Gilmer shouted after them that they were uniting because they were too weak on their own. When the enemies left, the knight, who was holding on with his last strength, collapsed to the ground. A new comrade ran up to ask if he was all right. Manjok said he's not sure who he has to thank for that, but he's right that they were lucky. At the same time, Mose was destroying monsters by activating Solar Riot. The system warned him that he had 50% of his HP left. Our hero fought the monsters, but his mind was filled with fragments of memories of Kay. He ruthlessly avenged all the monsters for what might have been. She died with the ship. The young man thought that even if he did, it wouldn't bring the girl back. But that's why he can't let them live. The pernicious flame has been activated. It can be recharged up to 3 times. Mose has already used 2. In the southern region of Lundavaroon, all players hovered at system messages. Who could it be? Everyone was wondering which guild was doing it, but then everyone saw that one player was Mose. First place in the prestigious rankings. Some saw it for the first time, wondered what those flames were, what skill he is using. Some warriors decided they couldn't just stand still. We have to get out there. Our hero was already very exhausted. He crouched down on one knee. It felt like his body was on fire. When the wielder uses Solar Rampage, it activates in a rage state. When using the sword skill, Atoria creates a fire zone, damaging enemies within a radius of 150 meters. In addition, this fire deals fire damage to the user. This means that regenerative characteristics are useless. Rising to the battle, our hero thought how much more he could take with his HP. Seeing the advancing hordes of monsters, Mose thought that even if he died here, he would first eliminate them all. The next wave of monsters hit our hero. The armor was not penetrated, but he had only 12% of his health left. The young man stood his ground. A few more swings of his sword and there is no one around again, but hordes are visible on the horizon. The heat was searing him. He thought if he fell here and watched the enemy approach. The guy realized that all of this was nothing more than an outlet. He fell. That's what he came back for. But then a Sky Ruler ship appeared over the heads of the monsters. A grey-haired elf jumped out of the ship and landed next to the unconscious guy. He's already proven to be a lot of trouble. The guy thought the familiar ceiling always greeted him when he opened his eyes. Better to say unfamiliar since he moved into his new house. An everyday life in the real world that he must return to. There's no point in continuing to live in a vicious circle, because Kia's not with him. The young man opened his eyes and didn't realize what this place was, the Skylord, how he got here. He heard a familiar voice. She was calling for Mose. The boy saw Kea. She was crying and saying he was awake. The young man jumped up on the bed and asked Kay, "Is it really her?" The next second, our hero hugged the girl as hard as he could and cried. Without letting her out of his arms, the young man repeated that she was alive. She was really alive. Thank God, she cried. When the young man finally let go of Kea, she saw his tears. She asked what was wrong with Mose's face. Our hero stammered and said he thought she was, then exhaled and said he missed her. The tears wouldn't stop. Touching the boy's wet cheek, Kea said she missed him a lot too. After calming down a bit, the friends went to drink tea. The boy told them everything that had happened, that he thought the girl was dead. Mose wanted to destroy as many monsters as possible. Then he lost consciousness because of the sun's rage. The young man wondered if it was Kea who saved him in the middle of that army. The girl was going to tell him as soon as he woke up. She'd like to introduce a friend to someone. It's the grey-haired elf who happened to be around. While Mose was unconscious, the quest was almost completed. The major guilds began to interfere. The legendary item holders from each guild had tremendous power. After that, the course of the war changed. After all, the players they had to fight were immortal. No matter how fierce the monsters were, the warriors rushed forward. After all, in 3 weeks, all the immortals would return. The losses in the battle with the players amounted to 780,000 out of 1.5 million. Prioritizing the survival of their species, the Lebekan disappeared into the forest. There the flow of mana could not be detected. The quest ended with their retreat. The most discussed topic in this quest was the results concerning the share. Back to the present, our hero was trained by the elf swordmaster whom Kea found. The young man was nervous. He hadn't seen any of his punches. It didn't even mean he had a low agility score or anything like that. The man Kea invited to teach her is named Gant. He was a retired swordsman living deep in the forest. According to Kay, he willingly joined the Heavenly Lord. The girl said that his best student had gone to the dark side. It was a teacher who rescued Mose from a battlefield filled with enemies, and now the kid suspects he's going to destroy him. The old man sternly asked the young man if he really thought he had time to take a break, and in the next second our hero already flew away from the blow of his stick and banged into the wall. The girl standing outside the door only squinted at the loud rumble. The guy looked at the old man and didn't understand how he was doing such a thing with a simple wooden stick. Gant said he watched the young man fight from inside that ship. There he was fighting and his whole body was on fire. The old man asked the swordsman Mose was fighting to stay alive at that moment. Looking into the young man's eyes, he answered that he didn't. Mose thought for a moment. The old man said that he was not afraid of death because he was immortal. The master explained that one who does not value his own life will never defeat one who does. If you don't value life, you can die again. Gant's eyes lit up with fire. The young man thought he was on the attack. Mose considered that he'd barely survived, and if he died again, he'd have to waste another 21 days. The young man went on the attack, but the teacher again threw him over like a toy and tripped him up. Gant said he knew what he was just thinking. If he was going to die again, the guy was worried about what would happen when he was gone again. The old man said he had no intention of contributing to such a worthless death, dropped the stick and said he'd end it. The young man cried out for the master to give him another chance, to show him the way. The teacher looked at the boy, said the determination in his eyes wasn't so bad. Ganta explained that the reason he got on that ship wasn't just because of Jinir. The old man told me that in the mountain range behind Mount Langaroo is a place that is difficult to get to because of the constant lightning strikes. Of course, it wasn't completely impossible due to the characteristics of this ship, but Gant's sure it wasn't easy for her to cross all that, seeing her travel the perilous path to get to him. The old man was curious about the sadness of the immortal's death. Gant asked how the severity of the young man's death relates to this child's grief. The first experience of death for immortals serves as a starting point. They become overconfident. They begin to gain immense power, viewing immortality as a privilege. The young man wondered how an NPS could. No, this is an epiphany from the man. This old man completely understands the essence of the player's existence. Kea is afraid to see how he is constantly coming face to face with doom, so he begins to take death lightly, and even other people's lives, including her own. She's afraid to watch him completely disconnect from the life she lives. And that moment will inevitably come. Eventually, the guy will destroy Kea with his own hands. The old man stepped out. The girl bowed and thanked the master for his time. Gant told her to go look inside. The teacher told the girl sure her friend needed her right now. It was a little confused for me, confused. Entering the training room, the girl saw a young man lying on the floor. When Kea asked if the comrade was okay, he looked up. His friend saw the tears on his face. After a while, when Kea had treated Moses' wounds, she asked, how was it to receive blows from a master? After a little thought, our hero said he couldn't seem to find the answer. The friend agreed that of course he couldn't. It would be rather strange if he did it right away. There's no need to be in such a hurry. Kea put her hand on the boy's arm. Master Gant wasn't the only one who knew everything. She knew it too. The mismatch between Mose and this world. The young man realized that despite all the inconsistencies, Kea didn't want to let him go. Thank her. A meeting of professors was held in Lundavarun in the secret conference room of the White Tower. The conversation was about the utmost seriousness of the situation. The magicians could not prevent the publicity of the incident because of the large number of victims. Not even Urindal's son, Darren Hosfoy, will be able to evade responsibility. Urindal said they don't need to dwell on the association, provided they take care of the spread bowl, which has everything about the incident. The turning bowl, able to see the past of the particular space it was in. Darian thought his son was an idiot. How could he not know about the venerated chalice during his studies? What was he doing back then? The man led the professors to believe that if they could manipulate the cup, they would push all the blame onto the immortals. He was going to tell his son about it anyway, so he'd have to deflect, left the rest of us with the task of the bowl. One professor said Darian was right. Kellyanne was involved in this case. Blaming the immortals won't be that hard. The other one seconded, the idea is great. They should simultaneously eliminate the Academy's greatest humiliation, Kellyanne. We discussed if Urindol's position is strengthened. It will be favourable to the professors. They need to get started before the foolish chairman finds out. Outside the door at this time, some guy could hear all the talking. The young man burst into the secret room to apologise. In response to all the questions, he said he had urgent news. As they are talking here, the prince is on his way to the White Tower. Everybody freaked out. They said it wasn't the time for something like this. We should get ready and meet the prince in the lobby. The magicians are gone. The system reported that the effects of the shadow potion would wear off in a minute. And the guy who heard the news about the prince was Kellyanne. He said it was close to the truth. Kellyanne knew that at the trial about the portal incident, even though he was the victim, all the accusations would be directed at him, the player. So he had to prove Hosprey's guilt on his own. What he made was a shadow potion. No one expected to use the potion in the White Tower, but since the game was the guy's second life, he had no other choice. Hearing all this, he thought he would rather be punished for the potion than start a war. Even if expelled, he must preserve his life. And Hosprey will now just watch his father bear the burden of an unwise son. A commotion began in the hall. It had been 30 minutes since His Highness had been on his way. Seeing the pandemonium, Urindol asked the chairman what everyone was doing here. The old man replied that there was a report that His Highness was heading to the White Tower. The old man assumed that the prince was here to deal with the situation, since there was a serious incident. Urindol became nervous. Why the sudden visit? Then he realised it was a perfect opportunity to fabricate evidence. He'll make it look like an immortal did it, and he'll tip the scales here and now, rewrite the scene with Hosprey's act. Then His Highness will make his son his subordinate because of his courageous act against an immortal. The man dreamed that Hosprey would become a member of the imperial family. Urindol told the chairman that he could show the cup of change to His Highness. The chairman said that it should be brought here as soon as possible. The cunning man replied that he would bring the cup right away. He was sure Hosprey had already fabricated the whole thing. This was the perfect chance to finish Kellyanne off. Kellyanne showed up in the hallway. He said there was no need. His Highness isn't going to the tower. As for the cup, the young man brought it here himself. He took off his hood and everyone saw the immortal. Urindol shouted as the boy wondered where he was. His Highness would be here soon? Kellyanne repeated again that he would not come. The boy explained that the prince's visit was a lie he made up himself. The professors were outraged at how the young man dared to pass himself off as an envoy of the imperial family. Kellyanne says he's prepared to be punished for impersonating a messenger, but before that, the young man pulled the very bowl from his inventory. Urindol was furious. Where had Kellyanne gotten the cup from? The man yelled out where the guy got the bowl from. Hosprey was supposed to have it with her in the warehouse. The young man replied that he wasn't sure. Maybe he had fallen down the stairs. Some time ago, Kellyanne was able to use a potion to get close to Hosprey and neutralize him. The young man asked the chairman and the others to take a look at what really happened when the portal opened. Urindol shouted for the boy to be seized, but the chairman gestured for him not to interfere. Kellyanne turned the bowl around, and everyone saw and heard Hosprey's words, his entire plan and actions. Everyone there recognized Hosprey. They began to ask Sir Urindol what it all meant. The evidence was clear as day. The Hosprey who instigated the opening of the gate was presented to the public in the courtroom with irrefutable evidence. As a result, he was sentenced to a mid-level prison. The gate incident was closed. Kellyanne's quest of proving the obvious was closed. If he failed, he would be imprisoned in a magical prison forever. In the interior of the continent, a shining mountain rises behind a stormy mountain range, where winds and lightning rage. In this place that seems inaccessible to outsiders is a small peaceful village. Mose clarified, this place the swordsman's last hometown. Kia confirmed. Shining Mountain is where retired swordsmen stay with their swords until the last moment. Swordsmen who no longer wield their swords gain a stable life. All the while, they were creating new swords. Kia said that even her sword was created by a Garm who lives there. Our hero wondered. He had never been interested in his friend's equipment, so he asked to see her sword. The girl kindly let him see her weapon. The guy touched it and saw her story. Kia was the most beautiful child Garmom had ever seen. She wanted to hide that radiant beauty behind white misty smoke. The man explained that she possessed kindness and courage far more than just good looks. He said not to fear the simple beauty that people call a curse, not to hide behind the fog, and he gave me this sword. Mose thought that Kaer was really the kind of person who couldn't help but receive the love of those around her. Handing the blade to the girl, the young man said that apparently this Garm really cared for her. My friend was very surprised. Asked how he knew that. Did he just look at the sword? The boy hesitated, not knowing how to explain. Kia can't see the screen. He didn't win. Our hero got out of it by saying that there was no way someone would forge and gift such an exquisite sword without caring about her. Elsha informed Mose and Kay that the journey had been long, but they had reached their destination, the Shining Mountain. The locals greeted the ship cheerfully, saying they were finally here. When the teacher showed up on the doorstep, a woman rushed to greet him. It was his love, Petu. He apologized for keeping her waiting. Petu said she'd grow thorns in her eyes if she didn't see him for another day. Gant wanted to get a closer look at her. Some of the locals told the old men to stop making a real scene in front of the young people. The guests were invited to come inside. They must be tired from the journey. Our hero is already familiar with Master Gant. He was introduced to Master Shiaren. The young man greeted the master and introduced himself. Shiaren replied there was no need to be so formal. He is retired like other villagers. The man said he was just a blacksmith hiding in the village. Mose was surprised to hear this. Shiaren explained that he had come to greet them as a villager, but also at Kay's request. He asked to see the guy's gear, said it was priceless, and he was very rough on them. The man said it's definitely not just any equipment, but their maker is no match for him. The blacksmith asked the boy for 2 weeks, and he'll make him equipment to match the scale of the coming battle. The boys stayed in the village for a while. They lived a little bit of local life. Sitting outside in the evening looking up at the stars, Mose told a friend that he was very surprised. Everyone here was once a swordsman. Despite that, they just lived peacefully. Kia smiled and asked her friend if he thought all swordsmen died tragically. The girl said there is not much information about them. There are very few participants. Missions are confidential. Responsibility permeates all of life. But they are ordinary people who continue to live despite having to fight for survival every day. If they survive, they'll just grow old normally, go back to normal everyday life. Kia explained that living in the city wasn't an option. It's easy to get confused in social situations. Mose realized why everyone was trapped here. The girl said she experienced difficult emotions when she first came here, but over time this place has become a kind of hope. She thought that she too could live such an ordinary life if she lived to the end. That's the hope. The young man looked at his friend. She spoke of things that were given to him naturally. From a young age, she held onto her sword to survive. What she strived for through discrimination and oppression was an ordinary life. After a little thought, Mose told Kia that she would find it, the life she dreams of. Because no one else can tell her how to live her life. If she wants to live a normal life, she can. Kia replied that when she came here alone, she thought it was a dream. This ordinary and comfortable life is the furthest thing from a dream. She cried, took the guy's hand and said she promised she'd survive, because with him, Mose believes the dream is getting closer. The young man wiped the tears from the girl's face with his hand, said he too would live to the end. He would not die and leave her here. The young men kissed. The weight of Moses' life now seemed to him to be the heaviest in history. There would never be a second death, never. Meanwhile, 2 warriors were moving through the forest. They were discussing that 2 more had been defeated in the Pantheon yesterday. Damn the traitors. It was the guild master and his assistant. They were lamenting that now there was no one left but traitors. After all, Master Guinea is the leader of this rebellion. The sanctuary of Laozwang has been purged. Not only that, the guildmaster said that some of them have already gone over to the traitors' side. At this rate, even their comrades' can't be trusted. The girl indignantly told him to keep such speculations to himself. For now, these 2 needed to join the swordsmen from the Pantheon in Vandarfel. The guy said there's only a few traitors. If every sanctuary gets together. Before he could say anything, someone took his head off. The girl barely had time to draw her sword before she was overtaken by an enemy sword. When she fell to the ground, she saw Master Jinir in front of her, said he was a traitor. She asked how the traitors knew where they were. It was a secret route. The man replied that it was top secret or not. After all, there is nothing that cannot be overwhelmed. The master and his boys attacked the guild and ratted out everything they were interested in. In a highland village, our hero resumed his training with Master Gant. The teacher said he would see if the immortal was still afraid of death. Scanning the boy's condition, Gant said his mood had changed markedly. Probably thanks to this kid. The kid was embarrassed. The old man said if the young man got better, he had to prove it, so he went on the attack. Mose, trying to fight back, thought he still had no idea what to do. The teacher again gave the boy a few good whacks with his wooden stick. Gant indignantly said that in this situation the young man continues to attack. He seems out of his mind. Kia, along with the blacksmith Shiaren, watched from behind a tree as Mose was beaten. The boy was on his knees in exhaustion. The old man told him to imagine if he died one more time what he would lose. Our hero imagined that if he died, Master Guinea would surely destroy everyone around him. And unlike him immortal, they cannot return and will die forever. After realizing that there are things to protect more than his own life, Mose's character underwent a definite change. Initially, the system does not convert experience points into numbers. Direct experience and feelings are abstractly reflected and become experience. The realization of all that was happening sharpened our hero's senses. The old man asked if the guy felt something different, then he should check. The teacher went on the attack again, but now the young man felt it. He saw a hand with a stick, frightening appearance. Our hero was much faster than before and was able to react and block the teacher's blow. Kia and Sheeran were shocked. Mose blocked it, Master Gant's punch. The master attacked again and again, trying to hit the young man, but he was ready for more attacks. Ending his attacks, the old man said that this time Mose had not allowed a single blow to be thrown. Swordsmen scattered across continents and regions of the world have unique swordsmanship styles specific to their locale. The teacher suggested first to talk about the art of wielding the Aspargan sword. The Aspargan art of wielding a sword in detail in the wind, flexible and at times aggressive, capable of crowd control. At its peak, it resembles a rushing storm capable of piercing through everything and striking a merciless blow. Being Saravan swordsmen, they are primarily hired for economic tasks, therefore they do not rely on formalities. Above all, they focus on practical combat. They prioritize effective lethality. The sword art of Laoswan, this is a style specializing in the use of mana to strike. Combining 11 unique forms of sword wielding, it is both a textbook and most eccentric art. The teacher said he would now demonstrate the art of swordsmanship in a straight Tikris line. The swordsmen of Tikris possess an art that perfectly embodies the word honest, although it may have many weaknesses compared to others, but the destructive power of a straight line is absolute. It doesn't guarantee victory or defeat, there's a coincidence factor in battle. To counter Jinir's skillful wielding of the sword, the lad will need the most devastating power. The old man jumped up and made several notches on the rock. The boy wondered what kind of blow it was. A second later, the rock splintered along the notches. The master said those who have overcome the limits of sword wielding often gain enlightenment. Enlightenment comes simply by observing fundamental sword arts. The old man asked if Mose had gotten any benefit from just watching him. Our hero thought he might have to be the one to break the boundaries of the sword. Jinir is undoubtedly Luswang's strongest master. The young man cannot surpass him with his skill. But if the guy wants to face him, if he can make the best attack, then maybe the situation will turn out favourably. The efficiency of wielding a sword in a straight line is unrivaled. If he can strike further depends on the user of this art. The limit should be increased to the maximum in a short period of time. Kia watched the training session and dozed off a bit. She woke up and didn't realise where Master Shiaran had gone. Looking at the training site, the girl saw Mose. He was motionless. For a moment, the guy seemed to come to life. He jumped up and made a few movements with his sword. The rock from the impact of his sword also splintered just like the teacher's. The system reported that the boy had acquired the passive skill of wielding a straight sword. The young man was pleased. He heard Kia call out to him. The girl ran out to meet him and threw herself around his neck, screaming that he'd done it. Master said it's too early to be proud. Wielding a sword in a straight line doesn't guarantee victory. A young man must prioritize. The crystal ball rang. Master Robin called the boys. He said it had been a long time since they'd seen each other. The man said he was pleased to see that Mose was safe. Our hero asked the foreman if anything was wrong. Robin replied that I'm sure they were already expecting it, but Jinir isn't the only one causing a stir among the swordsmen right now. Jinir, Sidon, and even Yoren, the three masters, are leading the rebellion. Swordsmen who joined the Dorians and share anti-game ideals took part in the rebellion. There had already been a battle with the traitors in Tikris and Pantheon. There have been many casualties. Our hero realised that they didn't hesitate to swing their swords at him and Kia, and the cause of this rebellion is him, Mose. The master says the mission has begun, but he'll make it official now. Master Robin has officially called upon Aspargan swordsman Mose and Kia to destroy the traitors. Our hero has received a message that the high-difficulty SS Super Clash quest has begun. Yoran and Ginir, two masters from Laosfang, rebelled against them. Now when Mose thinks about it, he remembers that he has already met a swordsman from Lusvang. His name was Kalawa. Our hero met him on a mission to Gunassus. What happened to him now? Robin asked the master if he knew what had happened to the swordsman named Kalawa. Robin clarified that the boy meant the master from Laosfang. Our hero was surprised to hear the rank of master. Back then, he had interacted with many strong individuals. He didn't notice that his level was quite high. The man said Kalawa was a young man who had recently become a master. He's sure he wouldn't be swayed by that, but since the rebellion began, we can only hope he's safe. Meanwhile, Callahare was fighting the traitors. The opponent replied that even though he was a new master, he was not an easy opponent. Mose thought he'd do it. He tried out his new equipment. He now had a notorious summoning bracelet, minimizing the delay in equipping. The legendary Rising Sun Atoria armor with set effect instantly appeared on the young man. The outfit was incredibly light, truly the work of the best blacksmith among swordsmen. The main armor is covered with Veldran ore. It is much stronger and lighter than the original plate. The inside is lined with gold thread to protect it. The blacksmith Shiaran asked Mose to try it on. It's the best gift he could give him. Our hero asked Master Shiaran why he went so far for them. The young man had heard that Master Gant had something to do with Gwynir and the blacksmith. Sheeran replied that perhaps the boy was right. This gift is more for Gant than for the boys. Conrad wants to help the old man struggle as much as possible. It's Gant's way of atoning for his student who took the wrong path. When Sheeran saw our hero in his uniform, he said that he now looked imposing. Mose replied that Sheeran was indeed the best. How can such massive armour be so light? It feels like you're not even carrying it. The blacksmith, admiring his masterpiece, replied, of course, as the guy thinks who worked on it. The comrade said that Kea would be happy to see him in such armour. The young man blushed. Mose asked, where is Kea now? Sheeran replied that the girl should be given some time. She needs training too. Just then, behind him, the young man heard Kea's voice. She asked if she had made herself wait. Our hero was stunned to see his friend in her new outfit. She was gorgeous. The girl said his new armour looked cool. The girl said that his new armour looked cool. Kea told me that Master Shiaran made it for her. He made it from the boys' equipment. The blacksmith explained that he had chosen something from one of Moses' collections. The armour is made of fine leather to protect Kea. The young man remembered his black leather armour. It was a pretty decent piece of equipment for the early game. Master Gant came up to the boys. He said it looked like they had finished preparing for their departure. Mose asked if he was going with them this time. The old man said he was on his way. He's got business in the capital to take care of. The guy's having some trouble with that. He said not at all. Sheeran said it was time for them to leave. He shook our hero's hand and asked him to take care of himself. Old man Gant said goodbye to his sweetheart, said he'd see her again, and the ship set sail. At the Aspargan swordsman's hideout, Master Robin prepared his sword. He thought of his former comrade. When Robin first became a swordsman, Ginir was a highly respected elder. Together they defended a village whose inhabitants were immensely grateful to the swordsman that they could continue to live there. Did the fact that Robin recruited Mose affect Ginny's dislike of players? Joanne appeared behind Robin's back. She asked the man if he thought so. She said she didn't know. But why doesn't Robin ask Ginny himself? When asked if Robin felt guilty, the man said he didn't feel guilty at all. Mose became a swordsman and he never regretted it. Joanne asked, the man means to say that he can take responsibility for an immortal who will never die. How Robin plans to eliminate him if he breaks one of the rules. The master replied that now was not the time to think about it. O had betrayed no one. They did. The woman said that's right. She likes that the man doesn't change. Joanne rushed forward to attack. The two master swordsmen crossed their swords. Dismissing after a few attacks, the woman said Robin was still as uncouth as ever. The man asked Yoram, planning to completely destroy their sanctuary.